they just pretty much peel for reckless. And something that I want to focus in on is Hylissang's Braum. Because when we're practicing against Hylissang's Braum, this is the Braum that you learn from. He plays Braum in such a way that you can't really imagine, because he blocks the projectiles, he enables Reckless to carry those team fights, even when he's behind. It's all about blocking those auto attacks. The way he engages with Braum, the way he just uses the champion to maximum potential is absolutely amazing to watch.
I think one of the interesting discussions kind of coming into this matchup is it feels that Fnatic is a bit more one-dimensional than someone like Origen. We always talk about Origen's versatility, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. When you think about Fnatic, you don't necessarily think of them as, you know, a bowman, a swordsman, you know, they can pull out a whip. They're just like, they master one ability, and it kind of is mirrored in Reckless himself. You know, Reckless faces a lot of criticism about his champion pool and how it's more limited than other ADCs, but he's a master of the champions that he plays. He puts in the dedication and the hours, and I think that's something very similar to Fnatic with their compositions. They're not the widest spread, but they are masters of this style.
Yeah, and when they're master of their style, and when you mention Reckless and just that whole team, they're just so good when it comes down to the clutch situations. This is a team that you don't want to face when you get to the late game.
I feel like the main thing that speaks to how they play is the creativity. I think Hylissang as a player always does these crazy level ones. You have these cheesy kind of plays that sometimes work, and then you get Hylissang rolling. Later parts in the game, you see them doing the classic Fnatic bush, maybe hiding somewhere and just always creating new scenarios for themselves, and I think that's what makes them so dangerous.
Yeah, and speaking of the early level ones, for me, I feel like step one for Fnatic does start with kind of Hilly and Broxa and how they set it up, and then Broxa's jungle pathing. It used to be that Broxa was fairly predictable, that he would always, you know, clear out his jungle, he had very formulaic pathing, but now he will often sacrifice his jungle, so the enemy jungler is thinking like, he's got all of his camps on the top side, there's no way he's bot side, and then Broxa rolls out of a bush at level 2 and messes up your bot lane.
And I can tell you, preparing against someone like Broxa, when he's doing level 2 ganks on Skarner, usually the thing that every jungler agreed on was that Skarner is gonna farm to level 4, get his Predator, and then go. Here we have a level 2 gank, completely breaking the Draven lane, Vayne double kill. You know in your solo queue games, the game is just over when that happens. Following it up with a gank on top lane, all of a sudden the game is over. Only because of Broxa's creativity and just thinking outside of the box.
And against someone like Cold, who is such a pathing-oriented jungler, I think Broxa might be one of the hardest junglers to prepare for because he does have that unpredictability factor for himself now.
Yeah, a lot of pluses and I think a lot of positives for Fnatic. They've also been winning a lot in the last couple of weeks. SS 14-1 in the last 15 games. But then let's look at Origen, because as you guys said, I think it's very important to remember that G2 was at their peak and Origen still put up a fight. It does look very, very damning when you see that 0-3 scoreline. However, we can't forget that there's many good things about Origen. What do you want to see here today to give them a chance?
For me, Origen's kind of like this idea of, I know that they have the potential to be amazing. We saw it during the regular split, but I don't know if I give them the faith to reach that anymore. They have such a depth of different styles. They can play 1-4, they can play 5v5, they can play 1-3-1. But do they pick the correct one at the right time? And for me, I think the highlight is you have to go to the star player in Nukeduck. Like, you know Nukeduck can be an absolute god, but Origen often don't weaponize him. They don't put him on champions to try to expose people. Like, when you think about the highlights, you think about the Zed play, the Vayne mid play, but a lot of time he's kind of put on Zoe duty or Lissandra duty. I want the carry Nukeduck today.
Yeah, and I think that Nukeduck versus Nemesis is such an interesting matchup across the board. Of course, we can't forget Nemesis, he's played in front of big crowds back in the Superliga, but this is now where he really has to put his money where his mouth is, even though he doesn't talk that much. Yes. Versus Nukeduck, this is a real test for him.
I feel like these two players kind of signify what their teams stand for. I feel like Origen is the team that always adjusts to the enemy, and that versatility always comes from Nukeduck. He drafts the Zed against Caps, he drafts, for example, the Malzahar against others. You can just compare the champion pools right here. While Fnatic have the solid basis of the standard champions, the standard teamfight champions. We had some Kassadins that didn't really work out. Nico, Lissandra is the staple Nemesis champion, which kind of summarizes Fnatic's playstyle, I feel.
Yeah, what I think is really important for Origen and Origen fans today is to give Nukeduck agency, not just in his matchup, but across the map. You're looking for picks with high mobility and for him to be playing out in those side lanes rather than someone like Alphari, and to utilize a lot of that clutch experience that he has for being such an experienced player in the region.
No, totally agree. There's also a huge discrepancy in pro games played between Nemesis and Nukeduck, so he should completely be able to pick what he wants and take over these games. That's a positive for OG. Definitely so, no doubt there. But I do want to talk a bit about the things that they have to be wary of, especially versus G2. Some of the decision making in the clutch moments where Fnatic is really good in that department, that is where OG needs some work, I feel.
I think this series kind of made everyone worried about if they are in the same situation against Fnatic, this is where Fnatic live and thrive. They want to reach the 25 minutes, 30 minutes. They want to be on those team fights around Nashor, and this is what makes everyone worried. The decision making around Baron was way too slow and was very uncharacteristic from the usual OG that we see. The methodical, slow, kind of burn your enemy out and then take the victory with a knockout punch.
Yeah, but this is also, you know, they've worked towards this. They were great in the regular split. They have a lot of wins. They were number 2. We didn't see any of it versus G2, Frosk. So they'll have to tap into a lot at the same time, it feels like, for OG to get to that level.
Again, it's kind of like pick where you can attack. You know that OG have the potential that they can attack Fnatic, but you don't know if they'll make the right decision to do so. This word execution keeps cropping up when we talk about OG. It's what burned them in the early spring split, you know, all those isolated deaths dying for no reason, and it's what burned them against G2. They get a second chance here against Fnatic, but they better have better game plans this time around.
Yeah, and aside from the players, it's also quite a matchup for the coaches. The coach of the split, Gyotto, is up against the 6-star general HUnggary, looking to lead the Fnatic troops tonight. Let's see what he has to say before game 1.
Thank you very much, Shax, and thank you, Dre, for joining me ahead of your game today. Origins versus Fnatic certainly is one of the most memorable match in HUnggary history. So is it special for you to be part of this rematch today?
It's not necessarily special to have Fnatic play Origin again because the lineups are very different. But being in my own home country in Rotterdam, that really makes it special. And we've also been on our comeback journey, and we really don't want it to end today.
As you said, different teams, different history, different players. What is the key for you to take down Origin today with the teams you have?
I think both teams really like to play around the bot lane and get the early leads there and contest the dragons. So that is something that we're going to look at, and I think both teams will heavily contest that.
Awesome. When I talked to Peke, he told me, it wasn't really a prediction. He told me this would go to 5 games, no matter who wins. So what is your take on that?
My gut instinct tells me this is going to 3 games, and we'll see G2 in the finals tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you for your insights. Good luck on today. Back to you, Shax.
Thank you very much. What a title, the 6-star general. Well, we'll see if he can make it to the final and get a shot at number 7. This means we're only 2 minutes away from getting into that semifinal of Fnatic versus Origin. So let's go. Predictions.
Well,
What you got?
I think, no. I know Fnatic is going to take it home, and I'm going to tell you why. I think the star power alone in a big arena like this is what is going to make the difference. They have championship players that is going to make the clutch decisions, like Hylissang, like Reckless, and I know for a fact that Fnatic, the last time the finals was here in Rotterdam, they failed to get to the finals. It's not going to happen again.
All right.
I am also going with Fnatic here, and I actually have the same faith that HUnggary does in that I think it's going to be a 3-0. Unfortunately, I think that Origin is just too slow of a team right now to take advantage of Fnatic in the early game or try to contest them. I don't have faith that they'll attack, that they'll play to win the lane phase. And if you go 5v5 late game against Reckless and Hylissang, Fnatic will just roll over.
You are putting no faith in an Origin that became 2nd place in the regular season. And yes, they had a horrible matchup versus G2, but that could be the best team we've ever seen here in Europe.
In a case where OG spent these 2 weeks prepping only for Fnatic instead of G2, and that's what they showed up with, just some random draft, and they prepared very well towards Fnatic, and they show a big time play to Nuktak, make sure that Mithy and Patrick is enabled to impact the map, make sure that Mithy's intelligence is enabled, then maybe OG can take some games.
This is also Alfari's watershed moment. You know, let's go back to the 5-game SKT Misfits Alfari. Let's see him actually get a counter pick on red side and try to abuse Bwipo, who has been the most inconsistent member of Fnatic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for all the players in OG, you know, they want to make a statement. They want to get further than people think they can, and they want to build on that new legacy of Origin. But on the other side, it's Fnatic, the 7-time champions and the reigning champions here in Europe. Over the next 2 days, the first LEC champions will be decided here in the Ahoy Arena. And it all starts tonight with Origin versus Fnatic. Let's meet the teams.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Hoop, Holland, hoop! pathetic. Hoop, Holland, hoop! That is much better. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever LEC semi-final. We are moments away from a best of 5 that will determine which one of these teams will advance to the championship series tomorrow. As you can tell, Romaine's been trying to train this audience. So I have one last question before I introduce to you the teams. Rotterdam, what is your region? That's right, we are EU, and we're about to start the LEC semi-finals. For the first time in 3 years, I present to you Origin! The second best team from the regular season stands amongst the best in Europe here at the Ahoy. In the top lane, Alfari. Roaming the jungle, Cold. In the mid lane, Nuke Duck. Playing bot, Patrick. Supporting, Mithy. Substitute, Speedy. And coach of the spring split, Andre Guijoto! Standing in their way, back to back, defending European champions, Fnatic! In the top lane, Whippo! Roaming the jungle, Broxa! In the mid lane, Nemesis! Playing bot, Reckless! Supporting Hillsang! Substitute X Matty! And Netherlands, I give to you the 6-star General Youngba! It starts here, the LEC semi-finals between Origin and Fnatic.
Finals at home, and that final was one of the craziest series I've ever watched. When people think about Fnatic and OG going up against each other, they always think about that final, and they want to have that again.
I watched the final back then in 2015, and to be able to experience that myself, hopefully, that will be amazing.
I feel blessed to have the chance again to kind of redeem myself and be able to finish top 3 at the very least, but I don't see why I wouldn't want to beat the shit out of Fnatic.
Our goal is to kickstart the new legacy of our region here and surpass Fnatic and G2.
They always have a really solid game plan, and they go into the game executing. This is what they're good at.
Here comes the big snowball on the backside, but it's not going to connect. Killosang ready to flash in at a moment's notice.
When adaptation comes in,
Now NewTek is the one running for his life. Cold now in trouble as Reckless is here. Gonna get the kill down. Brox is here as well. NewTek cut down.
that's where they crumble.
I feel like Origin has a really interesting aura around them where they are really just an actual team. They're actually a full-on unit, and in an ideal world, that's how every team should look like.
They're playing the way they feel like the game should be played. And I respect that a lot because we got down and dirty, but we ended up winning. And that's the thing. We're committed to dragging people down into the dirt and making it a slaughter.
The Empress divide, and Whipper's gonna get. Oh! Where did that damage come from?
I'm really confident in my team. We've stepped up a lot the past few months, and we've started growing, we've started playing as a unit, and we all have full trust in each other, and I don't really think anyone will be able to stop us at this point.
We're just gonna go in with a winning spirit, and whoever is in front of us, we're coming to kill.
Hello, Rotterdam. I'm Daniel Dracos, joined by Indiana Frostgarden Black and Christy Ender Frierson to bring you the series. Now, throughout the series, you guys are going to be able to watch the action through the eyes of the players. For Game 1, Reckless is featured in our POV stream over at twitch.tv/RiotGames2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we were in Madrid last time. We didn't have English in-house, so if it's okay with you, I'd like to try something. Do we have any Origin fans in the house right now? Pretty good.
All right.
But I'm curious. I've heard that Fnatic has a lot of fans. Fnatic fans, what do you have to say about that? Well, the crowd is alive and well, and you can understand why if you're at home, if you've been following European League of Legends. This is a matchup of epic proportions. This is vengeance for OG coming back and striking back as we get ready for our first game.
And they're going up a very scary Fnatic, a Fnatic roster that has already won 2 best-of-5s here in the playoffs, and a team that it doesn't feel like has been fully tested, fully pushed to the brink here in all of their games. They've just drafted scaling, said, come at us, beat us in the early game, and we haven't seen a team be able to effectively repeat that against them.
Yeah, it's can you break them? Can you attack this Fnatic in the lane phase? Make them show a different strategy, see if they have more left in the tank. Now, I want to clarify, it was Origin that picked blue side here, and if you go back and watch the best of 5s of Fnatic and Origin leading up to this, there's been such a high priority on a first pick jungle pick. So for the likes of Origin, you're looking at the likes of Karthus or Rek'Sai, and there's the Rek'Sai that goes away, and Fnatic also really want those champions. So a lot of shared pool today between both Origin and Fnatic.
And I want to see who's going to end up with a lot of these contested picks. Interesting to see the Sivir ban now coming out. We've heard from so many different coaches, so many different analysts. If it gets to the late game, if Reckless is comfortable, this game feels nigh impossible for Origin, and they're trying to limit those options.
And right next to it as well, the Lissandra that Fnatic often look to get Nemesis early. Now, I expect to see a Karthus banned here, but if Karthus is left open, I 100% think Origin will snap lock that in. It's been such a good pick for both Cold and for Broxa, and that makes me think Fnatic have early game stuff prepared to shut it down.
And speaking of early game, here we go.
Lock it in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you get the Karthus, but we get the Sona Taric.
And it was just such a clear bait. You knew what Origin was going to do. But that just snap twist.
Oh, let's get it on, Rotterdam.
How deep do the mind games go? You have to feel like they were ready. They said someone's going to try this Sona Taric against us, but we have the secret sauce. We've got something ready to go, the Zed and the Blitzcrank.
And we've seen it in the NA LCS. We've also seen it in the ER leagues. The number one way to try to deal with Sona Taric is you must attack them in the lane phase. You need to kill them. You need to have the burst damage. So something like a Blitzcrank that can go all in, that has the ignite, that can have the burst damage. This is exactly what Origin need to try to break this. It just got worse.
Yeah, Origin must shut them down early because Fnatic have so much survivability. You have 2 invulnerables with the Taric and the Kindred. You have the sustain of the Sona as well. And what does Karthus do against that? It's not going to be easy.
Here's the thing, Rotterdam. If Origin don't pop off on this Zed, if he doesn't actually springboard ahead of the clock, trying to 5v5 Sona, Taric, and Kindred. I don't even care what Fnatic's last 2 picks are. Between the Kindred Respite, the heals, and the Athene's Unholy Grail on Sona and Taric, you cannot break that. That is an impossible team to 5v5.
And just thinking about this pick from NukeDuck, he doesn't know what's going mid lane. He's just throwing it down the gauntlet here for Nemesis. We've talked about it. Nukeduck is the rookie killer. Well, Nemesis is coming in. He sees what his counter matchup is going to be, and without the Lissandra on the table, I'm wondering what he takes against it to try and contest.
And both of these first section of picks from each of these teams, both 3 picks on each side, are such a statement for how these teams want to approach this series and this first draft. And now we have to see how they round it out, what else they want to bring to the table to make this perfect draft in game 1. Aatrox is just immediately going to get locked in. Very comfortable blind pick for Bwipo here.
Bwipo talks about this all the time on Euphoria, how his go-to blind pick is something like that Aatrox. We've seen him absolutely pop off on the champion. So now, Magnifying Glass on Alphari. This is what he kind of failed to execute on against G2 in that 0-3 best of 5. He needs to now make a statement. I have the counter pick, I have the information. It's time to throw down the gauntlet.
Yeah, well, a criticism of Origin when they played G2 was they were maybe putting too many resources up into the top lane. Well, this game, when you have a Blitzcrank down bottom, you absolutely believe they will be focusing Reckless and Hylissang. And that feels like it's the best way to beat Fnatic. Shut down Reckless before he can carry lanes.
And now we look at it, the cannon locked in for Alphari. Comfort picks in so many of these lanes. The bars as well for Patrick to try and secure that lane priority. But what will the final pick be? And it is the Sion.
So flexing that Aatrox there, unless Nemesis holds Sion.
No, I'm thinking Sion could actually go mid up against the Zed. I mean, how do you kill that guy? He just stacks armor. It becomes very tough to deal with, actually.
And there is one of the advantages of having Sion in the mid lane versus the top lane is his access then through the river to either side lane, using that ultimate so he can make those ganks happen and try to follow Nukeduck as he gets unlocked on this Zed.
Exactly, and when you think about it, we say shut down the Sona Taric early. Well, look for plays pre-level 6 around that bottom lane. Look for dives potentially, or utilize this Blitzcrank. If Sion can just counter with a quick roam or the teleport as well, you can actually match in numbers and stop that from happening.
I love how you talk about the level 6 dive potential. Varus, his ability to get priority on a wave instantaneously, to have that shoved in. If you can get Taric and Sona under their tower, if you can unlock Nukeduck at level 6 plus a Karthus ultimate, that's exactly the type of springboard early gameplay that Origin are looking for to put themselves in a winning position with this type of comp.
Yeah, and also think about the power of the Blitzcrank silence on the ultimate against a Sona and the Taric. Taric's ultimate is already delayed. If you can silence him before he brings it down, or stop Sona from self-peeling with the Crescendo, stop her from healing up underneath the tower, you can get a lot of work done against it.
Absolutely can, and already just here in game 1, we're seeing 2 incredibly explosive drafts. Nukeduck's Zed versus the Sona Taric bot lane. 9-7, or 9-6 rather, just continues to develop. And I cannot wait to see how these 2 teams clash on the Rift. Game 1, critical. We heard it from Xpeke. The person who wins here, very likely to get that momentum in the series and potentially take it all home. Are we ready, Rotterdam? Are you ready for game 1? It is time. Fnatic versus Origin.
The crowd is ready, I am ready, and already I'm just tracking what do these teams do at level 1. We know Fnatic set up so many smart plays, but this is looking like something straight out of solo queue. There's a Blitzcrank on the enemy team, just 5 stack in the bush and wait for them to come to you.
Moving in though, a little bit of vision placed down. That ward will get cleared. A bit of extra experience, I believe, going over to Alphari. 5 stack coming in for Fnatic, but taking some poke damage from Cold. Mithy looking for
he got one.
He's gonna grab. Ooh, Nemesis not quite the target you want to grab. That's the 3-man knockup. This could turn massively. The Sion zombie is going to be huge here. Mithy running for his life now. OG on the back end of a bad trade, but they will grab the kill, and that's going to turn things in their favor.
So the key thing that I want to highlight after it was all said and done is that we had 2 critical flashes burned here. You had Hilly, who flashed forward to try to make sure that Fnatic got something in return. It didn't turn on the scoreboard, but Patrick with a delayed flash and cleanse.
Yeah, you talk about critical flashes. Origin lost flashes on every single member outside of Nukeduck, so it definitely leaves room to have an explosive early game. The next 5 minutes are going to be critical, and you don't really think of Kindred or perhaps the Karthus as being super gank-heavy junglers, but with setup like a Blitzcrank or a Taric, you absolutely can.
That's the thing for me. It's now Broxa on this Kindred. He knows that there's not a lot of access to the flash summoner against his opponent, but Kindred really needs to sit time in that jungle. She's trying to stack up, get that extra auto attack range, wants to farm up her camps, so she now needs to weigh, is it worth it going for the gank here, trying to punish the lack of these summoner spells, or do I need to prioritize myself and get ahead to make this comp work?
And Brox is a jungler, of course, so unpredictable. Will he play for himself? Will he sacrifice his camps to try to play for his team? Now moving into the enemy jungle to look to contest.
Yeah, and he actually avoided the vision. So this is very good scouting by Fnatic to know where the wards are. Now, of course, he will be seen on this top crab, and he gets unlucky with the RNG. The first mark will be on the bottom side of the jungle, so Cold should know that Brox is here and be able to take that one away.
And while we do have a minute to kind of focus in on the Sona Taric, again, it's been played globally, so a lot of regions have gotten their hands on this. One of the issues with Sona Taric, especially when Taric doesn't have access to the flash, is that Taric is a melee champion that needs to walk up onto the minion wave to help contest and fight for priority there. And when you have a Varus, he's never going to get it. But it means that they're going to lose complete control over the bottom side of the map, because Blitzcrank and Patrick should always have priority there, and that opens up so much space for Cold.
And really, if you are reckless playing the Sona in this lane, what you're looking for is the full upgrade on your Spell Thief, so then you can eventually farm as Mithy hits level 2, gets a good hook, and this is what we will continue to see in the bottom lane, is these aggressive trades. But really, again, we're watching Reckless. He can't actually farm until he gets the upgrade, because that won't stack on the gold return when he does proc that Spell Thief's Edge. So it will be Hylissang taking the CS for now until the transform is complete.
And you know, while we were talking about on the analyst desk that Reckless has a smaller champion pool than, say, other ADCs, so it probably feels like the viewers, you weren't expecting the likes of a Sona Taric.
Oh, another hook. Mithy absolutely just sniping these out.
But I do need to reveal that we did peek in on Reckless and Hilly's solo queue, and he has certainly been spamming the Sona. So if we found it, Origin certainly found it and had the Blitzcrank prepared today.
And right now things look good. Very hard to force this duo out of lane. There's just so much sustain, but repeated hooks connecting is good news for this team overall. But Nukeduck suffering in this 1v1 matchup. Broxa is here and ready to punish. There's not going to be a shadow available quite yet. Nukeduck has already used it. Are they going to commit fully to die? The flash from Nemesis forcing the flash out from Nukeduck. In return, taking the tower shot, but a good exchange overall.
You can see early in the lane how Sion does actually have the ability to sort of bully out the Zed a little bit. Of course, he does have the jungle attention of Broxa, but this is what you expect, because the Karthus jungle needs a little time to scale, and even though Kindred's not super strong early on, she does have the ability to proc red buff from range and look for some plays with lanes that do have CC.
And this is interesting because we wanted to see what kind of champions Nukeduck was going to play in this best of 5. When we saw their matchup versus G2, it felt like he was utility, but now it feels like OG are shifting the focus to more of this damage, more of this split push style for Nukeduck overall.
The key word for me there is split push. Nukeduck is a phenomenal Zoe player, but I don't like Zoe for a team like Origin because it means that Nukeduck has to be parked in that mid lane. They are actually really successful alongside G2 at playing that 1-3-1, but it's utilizing the experience of someone like Nukeduck to recognize when to push waves.
Now we see the gank coming in, however. Cold laying down the wall, but the turn. Classic TP's bot lane coming in from Fnatic. Nemesis ready to turn this play. Hylissang is going to give up his life in the exchange, though the knockup now comes in. Will they make it the 1-for-1? Mithy on the retreat. They are going to make it out. Fnatic, that TP not earning them anything. Cold now looking for the follow-up.
Yeah, Cold still getting the slow. He has the red buff if he wants to go for more, but it will just be the chunk, and ultimately it's a teleport wasted here by Nemesis. He loses so much in the mid lane because with that barrier from the mana shield on the Blitzcrank, he was able to survive, and Nukeduck gets massively rewarded for it.
But it's the difference between a Sion losing a big wave like that versus the Zed getting it. You know, it's not going to hurt so much on Sion. He is a fairly low econ champion and being successful, which it means so much more for Zed to get that early plate and to get any sort of advantage that he can.
So checking this out one more time in the bottom lane. Again, no flashes on these supports, and Mithy just walks up towards Hylissang. We're going to have to put that on pause because Brox is getting invaded by a level 4 Karthus.
And man, Cold, I feel like already looking quite comfortable in the series, getting that first blood just to start this game off. Now an assist as well. Exactly the kind of start that he would want heading into this series. And when you already start with a 400 gold advantage, it makes it much easier to play this kind of aggressive style.
I do think it's worth checking out what the gold differences are between these teams, because overall, it's 2,000 in favor of Origin. And yes, there are some assists here for the Varus, but notice, bottom lane, relatively close. It's 300 here for Patrick, thanks to those assists, whereas top lane, 600 here for the Kennen with a 20 CS advantage. Mid lane as well, 400. So the difference is not because the Sona isn't CSing, it's actually the solo lanes where Origin are making up a lot of ground.
And it's so important for Alphari to get a lead here, because if they want to contest Fnatic in a 5v5, they need to have their Kennen up and ready to go for these big team fights. You know, the nice thing about Kennen, and especially Alphari on this pick, is that he can play the 1-3-1. He can unlock a 1-4 or a 5v5 style, but it only works if he's going to make an impact in these fights.
And for me, it's so critical that OG have made it through the very early stages of the game with a lead, with an advantage, because very often we see Fnatic just take over, whether it's a level 1 play or a level 2 gank. We haven't seen any of that come to fruition for their side. Now OG Going to take a very aggressive Ocean Drake here. Cold almost dropping down to this, but the whole team is here using that pressure bot lane to secure a big objective early on.
Yeah, it's just very smart play at the start of the game from Origin. They know they can bully the Sona Taric, and it almost feels like they saw it coming because they snap lock in this Karthus, and they have immediate answers, right? The Blitzcrank is obviously something they prepared for this specific matchup, and they said, hey, we can blind the Zed as well to try and snipe out this Sona within teamfights before the Taric ult can come down and save her. So I already like what we're seeing here from Origin, and it is very different from the team that went 0-3 against G2 last week.
And now we're about to have that cresting over of that level 6 mark. It's Cold right now, sitting at level 5, but Nukeduck has access to his ultimate. The TPs will be up fairly soon. And again, this was kind of the big window where we wanted Origin to get a lead. This was supposed to be their watershed moment to springboard the composition.
Check this out top lane.
Hold it.
Whippo using the ulti here. It's just going to be forced back, however, Broxah here to force him, help him force out the wave. Could look to extend this, is going to get the resurrection off the turret shot. Well played by Whippo, but ulti burn there for ulti.
I do think it is worth bringing up what Broxah just did right there, because Broxah, as a player, doesn't play for himself. He plays for his lanes, and you can see that it was a good timing play up there to help Whippo push in his wave, whereas there's a blue buff up on the bottom side of the map. He has his Krugs as well, but he sacrificed farming camps for now, slowing down his own clear speed just a little bit so that he could get a safe recall for his top laner. And he does it all the time, whether it's getting those good recalls or looking for potential dives when big waves are building up.
And something else that Whippo does so frequently is he's very willing to trade aggressively, to trade ult for ult. And this is especially crucial against a pick like Kennen, where you see that ult can be a team fight definer, whereas yes, Aatrox's ult is good, but limiting Alphari, who is such a fantastic Kennen, making sure he can't use that ult aggressively, does feel like it gives Fnatic a small edge. But Crosscurrent, you've talked about it, we got to hit it again. The level 6 is finally here from Cold, and I got eyes on Nukeduck now. I'm just waiting for the play to happen.
I actually really like the vision that Fnatic have defensively on the bottom side of the river, trying to catch out when Origin decide to get priority of this mid lane and start cheating down towards the bottom lane. Now, they don't need to force the dive. It's also just about exerting that pressure, forcing Fnatic to lose EXP, to lose gold, like you can see Reckless zoned away from the minion creep now, and to continue to throw wrenches in Brox's pathing.
Yeah, and speaking of Brox's pathing, he's going very defensive right now. He actually walked into his jungle for a bit, but as soon as Nukeduck left the map, he just stopped in mid lane, stopped moving entirely because he wasn't sure, was he being invaded? Was there a Cold and a Nukeduck there? So he is playing this very cautiously at the moment because he knows that in both mid and bottom lane right now, he doesn't really have that much pressure from his lanes.
Nukeduck thought he had the perfect lineup on dodging that skill shot. Is not going to dodge out. Just a bit of damage though in the end, but now we see the all-in on bottom side. Explosive amount of damage there from the level 6 Blitzcrank and the level 6 Varus, and no level 6 for the opposite side.
And credit to Patrick and Mithy. They've been manipulating this minion wave and holding it to force Reckless and Hilly to come out from underneath their tower, opening up grabs and plays like that.
Really nicely done here from Origin. They've got 2 turret plates, almost a third. They also got the Ocean Drake a little bit earlier on and are just invading on towards Nemesis, trying to force him out. That's the ulti.
Well-timed Deathmark to catch him with the Blast Clone, now running for his life. Will it be enough damage? Unstoppable. Cold gonna commit the Requiem. Then a healing comes out. Has the stopwatch, though, denying that first card assault.
Stopwatch just came up for him 10 seconds ago, so a very short window where he would have died had that play just been called shortly before that. Still, though, the game is entirely in Origin's control. It feels so good for them, and it's exactly what they need to do, because we've already mentioned it, Fnatic have the scaling advantage. Even though they went Sona in the bottom lane, Sona scales very well. All the healing, as well as having a marksman in the jungle, will make their team fight still powerful.
But you see that confidence there, the fact that Mithy's rocking up on the creeps, he's throwing out the silence, and he's just throwing punches, seeing what he's gonna get.
And we look back at how this plays out, and they have no reason to be scared because there's no level 6 here, and that's really just all she wrote.
That hook just barely snuck past the minion. I don't think Hylissang thought he was going to get hit by that. He just barely tagged him, and of course Cold is behind him. And if you see where the control wards are in the bottom lane for Origin, there's just no way Fnatic can ever expect a play is coming their way.
And I do want to kind of talk about this idea that we keep talking about Fnatic scaling on this composition. You know, they're not down and out yet. The fact that Origin have everything going their way in the early game, but we actually don't know if Fnatic can actually execute on this style of composition. You need to layer your cooldowns very appropriately. You really needed Broxah to get farther ahead because you have so few damage threats, especially in kind of the mid game with this style of composition. So there's still a lot of questions here for me for Fnatic. I don't think they're out of the woods just because we can say, yeah, but they're team fighting. How are you ever going to kill Kindred, Sona, Taric?
Absolutely true. We do need to see that execution. We will see a contest now coming in there on the Herald. Cold has to run for his life, and they're backing off. Trying to protect this one, but very difficult to hold. That Mithy flashing forward, trying to get knocked with the silence coming out too! Oh, the hooks are just too clean from Mithy, but Blippo wants to extend the play. Reckless is on the way in. Deathmark comes down. They're going to find the knock-up on a Nuke Duck. That's the chain CC they need. Now he has to retreat, pulling back. Blippo still in the midst of everything. Fnatic could look to turn the flight. Mithy now in trouble. It will at least be the exchange here as Nemesis grabs the kill. Hylissang looking to extend the play. There's the dazzle. Stunning. Blippo coming in as well. We'll have the Umbral dash. Nemesis going to look for the knock-up here shortly. Blippo, do they want to keep it going? Cosmic Radiance.
Yes, they do.
The tower. Alfari locking them up under the tower, using all of that ulti. They have to be careful as they extend the play. They're out of invulnerability.
Fnatic are not out of it just yet. They're still on the hunt. 4 members in.
Here comes Nemesis ready to go. They're going to trade tower aggro using the Scion passive. Now going through, trying to find more, but they die. The double dropping for Nuke Duck.
This is a disaster.
This is a bloodbath, and it is all turning in the favor of OG.
3 for 1 for Origin. It's only Reckless that survives. It's a 3-0-1 Nuke Duck that wins out massively. He has the Yomus already, but he's going to go back and start working on the Duskblade.
Just a little bit too greedy there for Fnatic. That was a huge blunder. The fact that they couldn't say, are we committing past the tower? Are we disengaging? It looked like messy comms across the board there.
And it was a 4 versus 5, right? Patrick was just solo pushing down bottom lane, picking up plates.
And I do want to say, it started looking good for Fnatic here. The fact that Reckless cheekily knows exactly where Zed's going to come out of his ultimate, and if you watch this on the replay, he actually tags Nuke Duck with the Sona ultimate immediately out of Deathmark. Boom.
Yeah,
He's always
very
going to
nice.
land behind you.
Oh, man. And then it's the full channel on the knockup from Nemesis as well. They're actually going to use the Herald immediately towards mid. They pick up 4 plates right there just before they fall and chunk out Nemesis as well. This means they have priority on the Infernal Drake. They can pick that up for free.
And we look at across the board right now, there's just not a lot of damage on the side of Fnatic. Kindred still on 1 item. Blippo hasn't finished anything. You've got bits and pieces from this Taric Sona bot lane. The Scion as well, working towards, something significant. But you look at Nuke Duck, we've already got double lethality items working towards what appears to be the Knight's Veil and almost level 11 as well with cold power farming. And we've talked about Fnatic late game team fighting being, an out, but at this point it feels like OG just have absolute control of the game.
I kind of want to put a close-up on Patrick's itemization. With Varus, you obviously have the option to go for the lethality, or you can go for the Blade of the Rune King. I really like his choice here because taking Poke versus someone like Sona Taric, when you're competing with those heals as well as the Scion, I think it fits best, again, that they have insurance policy for a 5v5 from Fnatic, that they have a more team-fighting-oriented Varus build.
Exactly, and actually going for the Ginsu's Rageblade next against so many untargeted abilities and sustain coming through from Fnatic's side means that you're going to have a lot of time to stack that up, to get the Phantom hit on your Blight stacks as well. So this is certainly the proper build here for Patrick. And Origin with the 7,000 gold lead after taking that bot lane tower, taking 4 plates in the middle lane as well. They are in quite the position now. The question is, can they force? Can they actually finish? Because that's one thing they actually lack a little bit. You have the Bar Assault, which is an okay engage tool. Blitzcrank with flashes can look for hooks as well, but Kennen isn't going to be able to do it out of the top lane unless he's getting a really sick teleport flank, and that's where Fnatic might be able to stall out the rest of the game and get to a point where they can win the 5v5.
And we're now at a good point where Reckless has that completed support item and can start to get creeps, can start to get a lot more gold under his belt. You see the Lost Chapter completed as well, so finally we'll start to see the Sona output a little bit more damage. So if they do find a situation where they can lock Nuke Duck up, where they can stop that Deathmark from being effective, maybe they can kill him too that time around.
I just feel like Fnatic fans are having a horrible flashback of Reckless on Chana, and they're like, no, not
Back
Sona.
to 80 carries, please. Next game, it's Karma. It's coming back.
No, Ender, don't do that. But we can see, obviously, OG pretty comfortable in this scenario. They have level 11 coming through on a lot of their major carries. Alfari, Nuke Duck, Cold working there as well. And for Fnatic, they have to play very smart, very defensive, and a lot of pressure on them not to mess anything up. Of course, we do have Blippo using ultimate, pulled back out here. Is going to get the revive and move forward, but I feel like it's still just a death sentence. The whole team is now collapsing. Immediately, the ulti comes out. Brock's trying to save him. They're trying to step away. They might just be set up for Alfari to step forward. Karthus ult now coming forward. A lot of damage, but no one's going to die. Hylissang is there with the Bastion and the heal as well.
But the damage has been done. It was making sure that Origin didn't overcommit for that type of fight. They came there for their tower. They're still snowballing up their gold lead, and they have pressure everywhere across this map.
Yeah, they knew if Blippo was going to stay alive, Fnatic would have to send multiple members up towards the top side. Broxah played it very smartly to be there when the dive was coming through, but it meant that there was no one defending mid lane. So it wasn't just the tower top, it was mid lane as well, which blows the entire map completely open. Now with no towers, it becomes so much easier to walk into the enemy jungle with a sweeper if you are Mithy and look for a Kindred that steps just too far.
And just so incredibly difficult now for Fnatic to do much of anything. Blitzcrank when you're behind is just such a terrifying champion. Good news is Fnatic do have a little bit of vision defending them on the bottom side of the map, but as OG continue to pressure on top side, as Nukeduck is now up there, this is not the point anymore in the game where Nukeduck needs any support to find a solo kill. If you miss position, this Zed will absolutely kill you, and second item very much on the way coming in for Patrick, whereas Reckless he's doing okay in Gold Income, but really needs to get the full Seraphs to come through.
But this was the moment against G2 that Origin really started to stall out. Their indecisiveness about how they wanted to set up the Baron, how they were going to split up and play around the map. I don't necessarily think they need to immediately turn towards the Baron, but they definitely need to create the safety net for Nukeduck to continue to abuse how far ahead this set is.
And of course, they can't immediately turn. We have 3 minutes till Baron comes up. That's how fast-paced this early game has been. Really, the laning phase felt like it was almost non-existent after that first initial bot lane play.
But it's the fact that this composition doesn't need to rely on Baron to siege because of the nature of Fnatic's comp. If they don't have the Scion, it's hard for them to find the hard engage outside of a Flash Sona ultimate, but so far, because Fnatic is constantly split apart, they haven't even gotten to use their 5v5 or stack all of these ultimates. Whereas Fnatic's composition, I think, is much more reliant on Baron if they want to siege towers.
And right now we are seeing a bit of that 1-3-1 that we talked about with Origin, putting Nukeduck into the bottom lane. I think that Nukeduck has a much better time matching up against the Aatrox than he does against the Scion, because you can look for quick bursts, you're in and out, that means Aatrox can't actually hit you with a lot of Qs, whereas against a Scion, he's pretty beefy, he can clear away waves relatively easily, so you will see Whippo just sitting under his tower for the time being, and the rest of Origin potentially looking for a play, but it's a good ward to stop the potential dive.
Now we look for a little bit more here. Potentially on the bottom side as Hylissang and Nemesis are just waiting in that fog of war, looking for an opportunity, hoping that someone gets over-aggressive and dies. That's a very tasty level 9 Sona, OG are saying themselves, but an even more tasty Taric. Oh, Hylissang stepped over the wall, does manage to flash to safety. So clutch in the exchange. Here comes the arrow. Not quite enough. Just a sliver of health. Whippo leaps forward to defend his teammates.
That was so well played there by Mythy, just chaining the CC. What? Whippo just died. They have so many ults to keep him alive, but they don't use it. The tower's gonna fall as well. And Mythy always behind this wall, waiting for Fnatic to make a huge blunder.
And it's because they have that momentum that they're already able to get these deep wards up to open up positions like this. And Nukeduck right on time. I prepared this wave earlier. Nice rotation from Origin, immediately from mid, now to bottom.
Where was this Origin roster last week? It looks completely different. The early game, they came in with a beautiful plan. This is what we expected during the regular season from this team, and it is just perfect macro play to take down 5 turrets before Baron even spawns.
I mean, that said, Fnatic's composition doesn't have a lot of the tools that you're used to seeing from a Fnatic. You're used to seeing the likes of the Skarners, the Jarvans, these other big hard engage tools, and you're used to seeing them in hands of someone not like Reckless. You know, it's a very different playstyle to be on an ADC Sona or a marksman Sona that you need to start a fight here, because they're basically looking for Nemesis ult or Sona ult.
And we look back at this and it's just Whippo not ready for the sheer amount of damage. We talked about not having the best immediate hard engage, but when you're trapped under a tower, it's much easier to land those hooks, to land those Varus ultimates, and we look at the difference in bot lane. The Sona, this pick that we've seen be so incredibly powerful, nearly 4K gold behind.
The Sona is not working up against this composition. Origin have just been playing it beautifully, and you can see, you asked the question in hindsight, well, obviously this doesn't work, but it has been. In other regions, it has been wildly successful with teams that are not able to close games very quickly. And that's what makes me so surprised, because usually you think about Origin that takes the game slower. They choke you out rather than just blasting you in just a single team fight.
I love that read, Ender. It's this idea, again, every coach that we talked to said that Origin was the slowest of the 3 teams left in the LEC playoffs. And this feels like Fnatic making a bet, because it felt so telegraphed that everyone knew who was going to pick. If we leave the Karthus open, it's going to be snap grab, but that's fine because we can counter the Karthus ult with the Sona Taric. But ultimately, the bet didn't pay off. You know, Origin is playing much faster, much more decisive around this map.
Yeah, and you think about this Fnatic team that says, we're going to draft scaling until you can prove to us that you can beat us early on. Well, Origin have made a statement here in Game 1, and we're going to have to wait and see how the rest of this transpires, but I don't think we're going to be seeing the same thing from Fnatic as we move onward in this series.
And the question is, how much deeper does the Fnatic playbook go after this game turns against them? Do they stick, you know, with the Sona Taric? Do they ban the Zed away? Do they try to run this draft back? just with a few different modifiers, or do they have more in the tank, more strategies that we have yet to see? Because right now for OG, this is a huge confidence win. If they can get a win on Nuke Duck's Zed on a dominant bot lane for Patrick up against a player like Reckless, that's absolutely massive.
I mean, the fact that they got to attack in every single lane, that they got a possible counter pick of getting Alfari on the cannon, that they had immediately into the Zed, the confidence there, and that Patrick and Mithy weren't on Tom Kench duty. You know, this wasn't the Tom Kench Ashe. This was an aggressive, forward-oriented Origin bot lane, and that was completely gone against G2.
Alfari waiting off of the flank, unstoppable now for the side.
Teleport
the
side.
side from Patrick. Now moving in for a little bit more. Bwipo wants to find his way into the back line, has the ultimate ticking. Maybe the Sonatara can take over the team fight, but the Sion is already gone. Patrick now locked up, but just throwing out the auto attacks fully stacked here. The Phantom hits are going to do so much damage if he gets the time. Throwing out the arrow, but no kill is going to come through in the end.
Fnatic trying to force there because they saw Nuke Duck had reset. He wasn't with the rest of the team, and Cold was also a little bit low on mana. Still, they could not get anything done because their engage is terrible. It's a Sion charging forward. That's just not enough to catch out Origin.
The fact when it's Bwipo looking for the flank on Aatrox as your primary engage, you didn't execute on what you needed to.
Difficult position, most certainly for Fnatic to find themselves in. Of course, just a massive gold lead in favor of OG. 5 towers to 1, the 3 Drakes backing them up as well. 8-2 the kill score, but the gold just nearly 10K, only 22 minutes into the game. OG, we talked about them. In the G2 series, hesitating to take Baron, but with a lead like this, I feel like they just take it right now.
Yeah, you have Karthus and you have Blade of the Rune King plus Ginsu's Patrick on the Varus at the moment. I can't even remember the last time Fnatic approached the river. It's been a long time with how dominant Origin have been. Mithy will walk on. He will be spotted here on this ward that Bwipo used to teleport, but again, it's just one hook that could end the game for Fnatic.
Biding their time, waiting, still with enough confidence to step forward here, but waiting for HUnggary to step into the front. This could be a massive fight coming out here. Moving up, they don't have vision into the bush. Mithy stepping forward, look for the hook. Nice sidestep comes in from HUnggary, but over the wall, Alfari could look for the fight. Not going to commit the flash, though, despite 4 members grouping up. Does not want to risk the Sonatara counter-engage.
It's the patience of knowing that they're playing around the objective and playing the pressure game. They don't need to force the fight and possibly fumble the game here. You can have Nuke Duck cheat towards mid or towards the bottom lane, and again, continue to stretch out Fnatic. Don't allow them to group up and use the 5v5.
And a stunningly clean game thus far from OG. Living up to a lot of fans' expectations. Baron has been started up, 8K and dropping. Proxa can move to contest, but his route will be spotted as he wants to move forward.
They have no blue trinkets up here for Fnatic. Origin know the timers, and they know Fnatic must walk in. It's got to be getting low. It's down.
Baron is going to be massive. Cold does manage to take it. Nuke Duck not going to commit anything else. They have the Baron now, and the victory in their eyes. OG, 11K gold lead, 24 minutes into the game.
Origin now can just play all 3 lanes. Alfari bot lane, Nuke Duck top lane, and laugh in the face of Fnatic as they try to force a hard engage, because it is not easy to clear away these Baron buffed minions here with Fnatic's team comp. They will be forced to fight.
I mean, it feels BM to say GG next, and Fnatic to start, kind of problem solving. How do we fix this? What are we going to go back towards the board? What side are we going to select?
They were problem solving from minute 1.
Things were difficult in the laning phase. The Sonataric exploited the wave, pulled away from them. HUnggary, every time he stepped forward, Mithy was there with the hook, and not a matchup they expected to be losing. Wanting a lot more out of this bot lane, but not able to find it. We know that changes will have to come in for Fnatic in Game 2. If they lose this game, it will take a miracle for them to come back.
So the goal here right now is Fnatic need to defensively clear out their jungle. It's what you can see. They're kind of sitting together, turtling a little bit. At least clear out some pathways so they can get to reliable and safe farm. And again, it's the stall game. It's the turtle game. It's sit underneath your tower. Hopefully Origin mess up if they try to look for a dive, get overzealous, and you can punish them with things like the Sion passive and like the CC and crowd control that you have between Sona and Taric.
Yeah, I think their best bet is going to be to force mid. No flash on Patrick.
We're going to run at him.
Mid lane.
He has no flash.
Knockup going to come through. He burned it earlier. That's the shutdown on the Patrick. Mithy could be next on the menus, but does manage to step forward, but they will back off on the side of OG. Nuke Duck, meanwhile, on the top side is looking for that inhibitor. Fnatic now rushing to get something done, but Alfari is on the bottom side. They're being pushed and pulled across the map.
Yeah, as long as Origin just sit next to their minions, they can chunk out these towers. Kennen Auto's going to do a lot here with the attack speed boost, and Fnatic, they still want to force, but they used all of their spells. It no longer is feasible for them to continue the chase.
I really like the lane assignments here, though, of making sure that it's Sion that's matching up across from the Zed, because it means that Nuke Duck can't just ignore him, and he can't just kill him. It effectively stalls out and saves this tower on the top side. Very well read by Fnatic.
Fnatic also had to force in the mid lane, because if you try to force on one of the split pushers, you're guaranteed to lose an inhibitor as the 3 members of the mid push out. But they knew Patrick didn't have the flash. It was a very brief window that they punished, and now have been able to cut off crucial minutes of this Baron buff timer.
This was huge. I thought Fnatic were dead in the water, but to find a small error like that from one of the less experienced members on Origin, didn't have the flash, didn't respect the Scion, and was way too far forward. Excellent catch.
And let's be clear, Fnatic are not into this just yet. It's still a 10,000 gold lead here for Origin, but what they've effectively done is stalled out the end of the game from being first Baron buff to potentially second, unless Origin can find a fight where they completely wipe Fnatic.
But that's more time. You look at Reckless, his items look completely different than the first time that Baron went around. This composition is actually going to start to work, and hopefully we can see how invulnerable Kindred, Sona, and Taric can be in these 5v5s.
But OG, with the last of this Baron buff, are looking to force down the tower. They want to get something here. Breaking inhibitor will be huge, but the ult is coming in once again. That's going to be the 2-man ult. A massive combo coming in. Taric as well. They're going to be invulnerable. OG now have to peel back. They have to be smart about how they use this. Alphari trying to peel. No one has gone down yet. Nuke now ready to step forward. Fnatic just do not have the stats. Out comes Cold ultimate, but in comes the Kindred to save the day. There's too much invulnerability, but the pressure from OG, the triple Ocean Drakes, keeping them healthy, allows them to push in here.
And Fnatic are just way too low. This inhibitor will fall. Origin have broken into the base with the last seconds of the Baron buff. They're able to find their mark.
Very well played around the cooldowns, however, but like you said, it was the fact that Origin didn't come there to kill Fnatic. They came there to empty out the base and to secure and open up the potential of the next Baron.
And Mithy played that fight so well. He actually hooked, I believe, Whippo out, or Nemesis rather, outside of the Taric ult coming down. They're not done just yet. Baron looks like it's expired, but their push hasn't.
Trying to siege again. They know the major cooldowns are gone. All the invulnerability taken off the menu, and now Nemesis is going to get deleted. Patrick taking down 1 kill. They have to respect the zombie Scion. They will back off. Nemesis still can continue to push, though. They are unconcerned with Fnatic. They know they just have the gold advantage, the item advantage. There is nothing for Fnatic to do in this fight.
Yeah, Origin have another wave. It's pushing up. We're 8 minutes into the game. Origin now have 2 inhibitors. Are they looking to end here? They're still going.
X-Flash coming forward for Mithy, gonna fish for the hook, looking for a little bit more. Alphari going down a ton of damage. The Kindred immediately taken out. OG on the cusp of ending game 1 here. Fnatic, they wanted to stall, but they may not get the opportunity. Whippo focusing on clearing the wave, but another one is moving in topside with the super minions.
This is a completely different Origin. Old Origin last week would have waited for the second Baron. This one is all fire ahead.
Pushing in though, Whippo getting a lot of damage down. Resurrection now coming in as well. Nuke Duck gonna move forward, immediately gonna try to delete Reckless. Now coming out, flashes back to safety in the fountain. They want to get something, they're so desperate, but OG have set their sights on the towers. Now trying to pull back. Patrick doing so much damage onto Whippo. They are gonna get the 1 kill back, but the knockup is there. Reckless waiting in the backside, knowing he can't step forward, knowing that OG are saving cooldowns just to finish him off. But Cold is gone. Out comes the ultimate from the Karthus. Not gonna find a single kill, but Nuke Duck has his eyes set on the Nexus. Mithy focusing it down. I don't know if they have enough time here. Reckless now stepping forward. OG may have overstayed their welcome in the Fnatic
That's
base.
A big slow. They're gonna get
down.
him.
Nuke Duck taken out, the shutdown. Mithy taken out as well. Fnatic keep their hopes alive in game 1.
Fnatic have no Nexus towers left, but the Nexus itself is still alive. Minions continue to flood into the base, but hey, they live to fight another day.
That was a big heads-up play there from Origin. Like I said, last week Origin would not have gone for a play like that, but they waited out the risk versus the reward. Yes, Baron is about to spawn. Yes, the death timers are there, but there's no way that Fnatic can even burn the Baron because they don't have the damage, but can leave their base.
Now we have to find out where it goes wrong here for Origin. They get the pull in towards Whippo, but he does survive. And remember, there are still towers under the base. Nuke Duck dodges the crescendo, but is unable to kill Reckless on the back. Reckless sustains and keeps the rest of his team alive, while Nemesis jumps forward, gets some damage down, and they just kite this out beautifully. I mean, it's really well done. And Reckless, look at the damage. That's just insane.
It just always feels so bad. Yeah, he plays this fight correctly. You get to see how obnoxious this composition can be. But, you know, this isn't what you want Reckless to be doing. You don't want him kiting back, being that support. You want him in the front lines, using his front line, using that 5v5 style, and pushing forward.
In the end here, we finally see one good fight for this team composition, but it feels like it's already so close to the end.
Reckless got 10 stacks on his Dark Seal in that fight. He's turned it into a Mejai's. He knows that if they lose a fight, the game is over. Get the Mejai's. If you can win a fight, go to 25 stacks. It doesn't matter if you're down 4,000 gold compared to Patrick. You can pop off.
It still just feels dirty to see Reckless on a champion like Sona instead of a traditional ADC.
Now we see the Baron set to fall. This could be Fnatic's death sentence, the final nail in the coffin here in game one. They're set up to push a single exposed inhibitor and the Nexus stand in front of them.
So we're going to see if Origin take another run at this and try to redo the 5v5, maybe layer their cooldowns a bit differently, look at different target selection, don't take as many towers that don't exist now, or if they're going to play the smother game. If they're going to feed in through all 3 lanes and just try to bleed Fnatic out.
They're not playing the smother game. Infernal Drake just spawned. They say, we don't care. We have 3 minutes to work with the Baron buff. You have 1 inhibitor and you have 1 Nexus. We only have to kill the Nexus. We're going to move these minions in towards your base and put Fnatic in an impossible position. Again, you don't necessarily even have to take the fight if you just smack the Nexus a couple of times.
And eyes on these major cooldowns. The Taric ultimate, the Kindred ultimate are going to be crucial, but on the opposite side, you have to look at Nuke Duck and the Zed's Death Mark, as well as the Requiem, which will be up shortly for Cold. And it's going to come down to a single fight. Fnatic doing what they can to clear out these waves. Bwipo trying to zone Nuke Duck off of that remaining inhibitor. But it feels like it's going to be just too much pressure for Fnatic to deal with. There's too many minions. There's too many strong members.
Here we go.
Now stepping forward onto Patrick. Patrick, of course, the flash available or not quite available. They're going to look for a little bit more. Reckless onto the backside. His managed to live. Kindred ultimate now coming out, but Nuke Duck is just going to step forward. They set their eyes on the Nexus. Fnatic do not have the damage to kill every remaining member of OG. If they just focus, if they just burn down the Nexus, and they are going to get it. OG make a statement in game one.
Fnatic came in with the Sona Taric bot lane, but Origin, they did their homework. They instantly snap lock Zed and Blitzcrank, and they obliterate Fnatic in game one.
It felt like so many mind games. We knew that Karthus was going to be the priority pick between both these teams on blue side. Origin had it clearly planned out. They picked blue side, they picked the priority, and they picked the snap counter.
I'll be honest, I had no faith in Origin coming into this series. Against G2, they looked like a shell of their former selves. They looked weak, but that was not the case in this match. It was a different idea, it was a different style. They popped off early, and they closed in clean and true Origin fashion.
And I want to give huge credit to Miffy in particular on that Blitzcrank, hitting grab after grab, being so aggressive with getting that deep vision and opening up these plays, not only in the information on giving it to Nuke Duck in the side lane, but also, hey, you want a free kill? I just snag someone over a wall.
Yeah, snag people over the wall, pull them out of Taric ults, Kindred ults, silence them so they can't use those critical defensive spells. That was the defining pick of game one.
And now just a ton of confidence coming in from this team. I think good to see the development here. But to break down how Origin took the lead, let's check in with the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, guys. I've also brought in some firepower to analyze this game. Febiven from Misfits, Jankos from G2 Esports, who's playing tomorrow. Yeah, first, welcome. Febiven, of course, I gotta say, it's awesome to welcome you here in the Ahoy. Does it feel nice to be home?
Yeah, it does actually, but it really sucks to not play here.
Absolutely.
But it's still really nice to be here, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. We're happy to have you. Jankos, welcome as well. I know you're not going to give away too many secrets, but I hope you can share a bit or help us analyze what happened here. First question for the desk. Where the hell is Fnatic?
Ooh. I mean, honestly, I think Fnatic played their game. And I also believe that Reckless, I think, played 20 or 30 Sona games just before the final, like over the last couple of days. So I think Fnatic played what they wanted to play. It's just Origin really showed up.
Yeah, so that was good preparation then from the side of Origin.
Like, I want to speak about the Sona Taric lane, because this is not something we've seen a lot in Europe. And I think Sona Taric can be abused, and it was exposed for 3 reasons. Origin drafted a split boost composition. This is a composition that doesn't want to team fight, they all just want to play on side. They drafted the Blitzcrank. This lane, Sona Taric can't really control where the wave is, so Taric needs to kind of farm the wave in front of the Blitzcrank, and Blitzcrank could just hook him, and it happened. And then they set up the ganks with the Blitzcrank. So they had all these tools to counter the Sona Taric lane, which kind of plays into this idea of Fnatic. They all want to reach this team fight composition situation, 25 minutes into the game, Taric Sona just dominating, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, Febiven, what did you make of both the compositions? You seemed quite surprised in the cast room. You said, what is this? What am I making?
When they looked in Zed and Blitzcrank, I was like, what? I thought it was going to be a troll game, you know, like a casual, normal game you play. Like, but I mean, I think OG played really well, actually. Like, I didn't think that they would snowball so well, especially against Fnatic, since they actually looked really good and stable, but they seemed to actually play really bad, at least the first game for now.
I mean, I have to agree, and that was what most surprised me about Origin, is that we criticized them heavily, Amato, also for versus G2 not doing anything when they had the advantage even. This just feels so completely different.
I feel like the big difference here is that Nuktak was on a champion that puts him in the driver's seat. No Lissandra, no Zoe. He's on the split push champion, and I think when he's in playing those champions, he knows exactly what to do. He tells his teammates, I need to be here, I want to push here. He knows how to dictate the game, and I think that is a big changer here.
Yeah, Jankos, you played them, of course, last week. Are you surprised that Origin's playing so strong in game one?
I don't think Origin changed much, actually, from last week. I think they play quite similar. It's just that the draft really did play in their favor, and like Yamato said, the preparation was good, and they had Karthus, they had Zed, and they just kind of rolled with it, And also Fnatic normally plays around bot lane, but this game they could not. They have Taric Sona, they need to farm, they need to play slow game. Origin didn't let them, they just kept going for the plays, and it just seems like Origin played really well.
Yeah, and Origin, great preparation. That's something we've praised them for many, many times. Yamato, you love this lane. You even said if you get Taric Sona, you have a free game. So what happened?
So this is usually what we saw, but I think this Blitzcrank pink is just genius. Because as I mentioned before, Sona and Taric, they can't really dictate where the wave position is. In early game, Taric is the one that needs to CS. And when you have a melee champion walking up on the wave against Blitzcrank, it's like just free candy for him.
It is, and they also got kills. Cold was also very active once again. They got 3 kills early. Did you guys think after 3 kills early for OG with this comp, it is over? Or could Fnatic have done something different with their composition to come back?
I mean, if there would be 2 Cloud Drakes maybe, and if they would have played it better, like from the snowballing part, maybe a little bit more safe and give more things up. But as soon as you get the lead, you can get the Herald, you can get mid tower, and then you can just start split pushing. And they had Prio on 3 lanes, so it's really hard to make a comeback, especially with they didn't have that much engage, I felt like.
No, I think I agree.
There was also the dive top. That was a disaster. It was a mess. They used the Taric ult just a tad bit too early, and everyone just kept dying under the towers.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at it once again because it all happened so fast, but it was truly disastrous from the side of Fnatic. I think they also felt the pressure, They had to do something, Yamato.
I feel like when you're playing this composition, you know exactly that the further the game goes, you can actually rely on your scaling, and I felt like they kind of threw it away very, very fast by throwing it into this dive. It's about understanding when you need to give up and waiting for your spikes, which is something that G2, I think, did phenomenally in Game 1 against OG when they were behind, and they just kept trading sides, and then eventually they were in a position to just smack them in the head.
Is this one of the things that we see very often with Fnatic? Guipo, for instance, and Hilly, even if they're behind, if they see a target, they're going to jump on them. Is that working against them here?
I mean, honestly, I don't know what the call was here. It was really disgusting. I think in those situations, you kind of have to keep your head cool in the game. And, even though you're playing comp that dives in, just wait for another 10 minutes, and then you're actually like unstoppable. Because if Sion pops ult mid lane, Varus has to flash every time. And then one time he doesn't have flash, he just dies, and the fight is just lost. So I think Fnatic was really impatient during that Herald play. And, they lost Herald, they lost a couple of kills, and then the game was just out of control.
Was out of control. They now have to forget it. Well, maybe not entirely, because don't make the same mistakes again. Of course, Youngbuck said right before, 3-0, no problem. Not true. We can say that in all definity. Froskarin said the same thing. So let's look ahead now. And I want to start with OG, because they played this out perfectly. I want to remember back to the final where they played Fnatic in summer, and they won Game 1 as well, and they were super convincing. Gyoro had a fantastic draft, but after that, they got figured out. So how does OG keep this going? What do you want to see from them?
I mean, probably the same. They played super well. I just think that no matter what Fnatic drafts, if they play like this, they will just lose 3-0. So I think if OG plays like this again, I'm not sure what they have prepared, obviously, but they probably have something. So it just depends who plays better.
Who are you predicting?
After seeing this game, I think OG will win probably 3-1.
Jankos?
Well, I think that OG is kind of easy to figure out. So as long as Fnatic gets their head still in the game and doesn't tilt, and they go into the game with like a 5-5 draft where they don't run it down, top tower or
Just
something.
don't run it down, please.
Yeah, don't run it down, please. And, if you have comp that scales, just scale. I think Fnatic will win the next game.
Yamato?
I feel like Fnatic did the mistakes OG did in your series. I feel like they're trying to draft something where they can't play the usual style, where they play around the bottom lane. They have the Broxtown and jungler that can be creative. Kindred is like farm, and what else do? You play with the Sion, and I think it was just looking rough from the beginning. I think they need to come back, get a lane they can play around, put Helisang on Braum, and there we go.
Yeah, I'm honestly
Fnatic.
confused. I mean, I get that this Taric Sona lane is rumored to be very good, and we've seen it be very good as well. I don't want to see Reckless on Sona, though. Like, this is the guy who stopped playing when he had to play supports in the bottom lane and give it to someone else. I want to see him on an AD carry, but of course, that's not our job to make. That is a coach's decision. But you going forward, what will you draft for that bottom lane?
I think the bigger question is what do they do about Zed? Because I wasn't really convinced with the Sion. I think that's the first step, because usually they have something that can impact the bottom lane with the TPs. The Sion TP on bottom didn't work out because they had the Taric Sona. So that's the second problem. Give me something with CC, because I think when they're playing the Braum and the Sivir, for example, I think they're pulling off things that usually other teams can't do on very, very weak matchups that scale very, very well. So this is what I love from Fnatic.
Well, a shocker here. OG, fantastic in game one, and Fnatic with their backs against the wall. Origin on their way towards a showdown with G2 as they look to take it to match point when we return.
Minty looking
he got one.
Ooh, Nemesis not quite the target you want to grab. That's the three-man knock. This could turn massively. The Scion Zombie is going to be huge here. Trying to protect this one, but very difficult to hold. That Minty flash and pull. Trying to get knocked. The Silence coming out too.
No, fight the passive. Kill Atrix, kill Atrix. We kill. I'm just fighting the passive right now. Kill the wave.
Alfari trying to peel. No one has gone down yet. Nuke Dog now ready to step forward. Fnatic just do not have the stats. Out comes Ultimate, but in comes the Kindred to save the day. In the Fnatic base. Slow. They're going to get down. Nuke Dog taken out. The shutdown. Minty taken out as well. Fnatic keep their hopes alive. Kindred Ultimate now coming out, but Nuke Dog is just going to step forward. They set their eyes on the Nexus. Fnatic do not have the damage to kill every remaining member of OG. If they just focus, if they just burn down the Nexus, and they are going to get it. OG make a statement in game one.
Powered up. Get the Baron Buff Power Play with Shell V-Power.
Welcome back to the Hoy Arena, the stage for tonight's semifinal between Origin and Fnatic. And after what was an incredibly OG dominant game, I feel like we have to redefine expectations for this series.
Yeah, it was such a surprise coming in because everyone on the desk, everyone behind the scenes thought this was a Fnatic favored matchups. They were the favorites coming in after winning so many games in the second half of the split, after taking down Vitality and Splice in such convincing fashion. But that was not the case here in game number 1.
And I feel like it's kind of redefining themselves past just this 90 percentile team. You know, people say that Origin are a slow-paced team, they're very methodical, they kind of have that old school Korean style, if you will. They always look for the 90 to 100% play. And what that means is they won't take a lot of opportunities that other teams will, and that's what we saw against G2, where they just rip open the game. That wasn't the case this time. They made calls which were high reward, medium risk, whereas normally they do high reward, absolutely no risk. So a much faster tempo of Origin.
And things have changed as we enter game 2. Fnatic now on the blue side. The question on everyone's mind, does the Sona Taric reign its head again? Will we see Rekkles on a non-traditional AD carry?
I can't do it again. I do not want it. I just think it's a completely different playstyle. It doesn't showcase Rekkles' strengths. And the thing is Fnatic made their statement in spring by first picking Lucian, by first picking Galio, by blind picking Vayne. They attack in that bottom lane. They play aggressive bot laners, and Sona Taric is so defensive.
It absolutely is. And I expect change here from them because yes, they throw down the gauntlet. They say, who can beat us early on? Well, Origin absolutely proved that here. Now, when we see Fnatic pick the blue side, we look at what is the first pick going to be, and it forces bans here from Origin. It's Kayle, it's Sylas, it's Karthus. Lissandra is now open.
Also
Fnatic,
Rek'Sai.
Also the Rek'Sai. There is the Jarvan to respond. I expect it to be the Lissandra with Nemesis in the game. You can secure that for your mid laner. It's great roaming potential for dives on either bot lane or top lane and a strong mid jungle 2v2.
But what will come through in the end? It looks like jungle priority may just be the name of the game here. As predicted, Ender Rek'Sai now locked in.
Yeah, Frostgirl nailed that one, but it's actually a surprise to me because in their series last week, they actually valued the Jarvan over the Rek'Sai. They were comfortable taking that matchup for the stronger teamfight engage. But what this says to me is they care less about the teamfight and more about the early game and setting Brox up to empower his lanes.
The concern is the second rotation could be Jarvan Galio and looking for the all-in cannibal.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay, this is crazy. So I was curious if both teams could play it. When we were doing our prep for Fnatic, we saw that Rekkles was playing the Sona Taric, but now this adds another dimension to the mind games. Was it a denial because you also know that Patrick and Mithy play it? And will this be the defining duo of this series? Will we have people banning the Taric and the Sona because it's clear that Fnatic can't play it very well?
Yeah, or will we have teams saying, yes, take it, we can smash you early on, and that's exactly what Fnatic are drafting for. They snagged themselves the Lissandra, so there's very strong ability to move towards this bottom lane and set up plays because when Blippo is on the Aatrox, he is very self-serving. He goes top lane when he's level 6, you cannot punish this man, so he can be left on an island to let Fnatic snowball and shut down this ball.
And on the side of Fnatic, comfort picks are the name of the game. You got the Rek'Sai for Brox, you got Blip on the Aatrox, you got Lissandra in the mid lane. We're almost at that picture-perfect Fnatic composition, but it's Origin who are throwing us the curveball, who are running it back, who are saying anything you can do, we can do better with the Sona Taric.
I mean, this looks almost exactly like the graphic we ran in the pre-game show. The only thing you're missing is the Braum and the Sivir, and it looks like Origin are just tunneled in on that. Get rid of the Sivir, we'll see if the Braum goes next.
Braum, very good for setting up plays around the bottom lane. We actually heard Yamato Cannon talk about how good he thinks Hylissang's Braum is. But Origin, they don't want to taste their own medicine. The Blitzcrank banned away here, and I wonder, is this just a pick that everyone is practicing to try and shut down the Sona Taric bot lane?
Now, what I think's interesting here is that we've talked about kind of that Sona Taric don't really fall on that attacking-oriented bot lane. It's a key moment for Rekkles and Hilly to kind of go back to that style to say, okay, we know how this works, we know how to counter it, let's play an all-in kill-oriented bot lane. But for Patrick and Mithy, I actually think it works a lot better for Origin holistically for them to be on more defensive picks than it does. Than it does for Fnatic.
What season are we in, Dracos?
You know, sometimes you miss Yellow Star. He's right there on stage, baby. Hylissang busting out to support Annie. This is what I love to see. We wanted a go button. This is a go button. The flash Annie ult, the Lissandra, the Aatrox, the fall from Rek'Sai, and a twitch for Rekkles to dish out so much damage. But now we have Cold on the Skarner, and we will see the last pick save for Nukeduck to make sure he would be comfortable in that matchup, that there was no crazy flex coming out. It looks like the Rise will be locked in.
Fnatic have the ultimate seek and destroy composition. You have Rek'Sai, Lissandra running around the map. You have an invisible Twitch here for Reckless that can pair up with something like a Moby Boot Annie with the flash to find the engage and to find those AoEs. They are going to be looking to blow up this Sona Taric duo before they can even have the Cosmic Radiance come down to save them.
But on the other side, you have so much mobility and the ability to play a 5v5 as well as start making these picks. So if Fnatic aren't able to immediately blow someone out with this seek and destroy composition, it's very easy for the Skarner to come wiggling out of the woodwork, for the Rise to use the Realm Warp, and for Origin to collapse upon Fnatic and rip them apart.
And after what was just an Origin-dominated Game 1, Fnatic fans are looking for Fnatic to make a statement, and Annie Twitch bot lane is absolutely a statement. But if it falls here, if they lose to the same lane they pulled out in Game 1, that has to destroy your mental game.
And the question was, what has Fnatic shown in playoffs? Well, clearly not all that much, because they play Sona Taric in Game 1. They've got the Twitch Annie here in Game number 2. They have been sitting on these picks, and they are now ready to show up in Rotterdam.
Absolutely are. Well, we saw an impressive Zed from Nukeduck in Game 1. You can check out his Rise on the POV stream at twitch.tv/RiotGames2 as we gear up for our second game. And I mean, we got this is insane.
I knew it was going to be the bait, though, for the POV. You see Nukeduck there. He's playing Zed. Everyone's like, yes, smash that. I want to see the Zed played again. This game is Rise versus Lissandra.
Ooh.
I'm going to tell you, not much is going to happen in that matchup.
Aftershock v Aftershock. Who can do less damage to each other in the lane phase? Well, we will find out. I think all eyes have to be on the jungle matchups and on those bottom lanes as we get ready for our second game. Origin currently have the one-game advantage. Can Fnatic pull it back? Can they show us more here as we get ready for Game 2?
Hopping into this match, I can't help but look at the rundowns of what these players are taking, specifically honing in on the Twitch and the Annie. And for Hylissang, I was actually wondering, was it going to be something like a Glacial Augment where he goes to a Twin Shadows to have a little bit more CC? Instead, it is the Electrocute. So it's less about the crowd control and much more just about blowing you the hell up.
That's the most Hylissang thing I've ever seen.
But
Electrocute Annie.
This is perfect, though. Again, Hilly is a player that plays so much with confidence and momentum, and when he starts getting going, he completely changes games. And so I need Hilly to really pop off, if you're a Fnatic fan, for them to find success for the rest of the series. I feel like if they're stalled out here, you know, going down 0-2 games, you think, okay, Fnatic are a team, they have enough experience, they'd be able to come back possibly in this best of 5, but you're not going to get the same performance out of Reckless and Hilly, who have really reached into like the Mary Poppins bag to pull out this Twitch Annie. I don't know what else is in there.
Is it going to be bottomless? Is this going to be enough? Already seeing some early aggressive trading in the mid lane, and the bot lanes now going to take up their places here. Reckless and Hylissang are getting to the lane first and can get lane priority if they want to, but have to be careful. Obviously, Sona and Taric still a decent threat here early on in the game.
I still just feel that this is a play style that matches to Patrick and Mithy's wheelhouse a bit more. They play a lot of the Ashe, the Tahm Kench, so more of these kind of like defensive-oriented bot lanes. So I think they'll probably have a better go at this than Reckless and Hilly did, whereas, you know, the kill-oriented lane, Twitch and Annie, this is exactly what I wanted from Fnatic. They made the adjustments. Now can they execute on it?
Yeah, also notice some differences in summoner spells between Patrick and Reckless, because in Reckless's Sona game, he was running the teleport, I believe, whereas this time around, Patrick has the barrier. So he knows that when you're going to be getting jumped on a whole lot, having multiple shields with the Seraphs as well when it gets completed is going to help you out.
That's the respect Twitch and Annie summoner choice.
Not even taking the heal. Respects the Ignite as well.
Mithy's got the heal for him. They're full
Survival
defense.
is the name of the game here on the bottom side.
But then that means, what can they do with the rest of the map? You have Nukeduck, who on the Rise is just going to go back and forth about the priority between him and Lissandra, that classic tug of war in the mid lane. It should be all about Alphari, abusing this Jace pick right now where he has the priority. So I don't know if that necessarily means spamming him with ganks, but at least isolating and protecting him so he can try to look for the 1v1s.
Jarvan pick coming out for Alphari. I mean, just generally, when Alphari is looking comfortable, OG just looks so much better. And Whippo, we've seen be a monster on this Aatrox. So having something that can bully him out a little bit, that can shut him down early on and play aggressive on the top side is a good look for OG.
Also, this Jarvan matchup is very strong into a lot of picks because of his heightened range. You know, he has 175 melee range on his basic attacks, but also poke with the Q as well as the E. The flag and drag combo, very powerful here to bully around this Aatrox before he hits level 6.
Still needs to be very careful, and I feel like the top lane's really going to go down to the junglers, and again, not necessarily spamming ganks in the lane, but who gets control over that top scuttle crab, because Whip was like, my jungler's not here, they're looking for the invade on the blue buff, I just have to take this, because it can be a skill-based matchup.
Now check out what Broxa is doing here. He cleared his whole bottom side of the jungle, waited around mid lane to see where is Cold. He spotted him top side, clearing away the scuttle crab, picks up the scuttle crab, and then has priority. So it's a very smart timing play from him to walk in to take away the blue buff and get the 3 buff up against Cold.
And we saw this exact same early game play in our previous matchup where bot lane priority was used to pressure out, to invade that early jungle, to disrupt a little bit. But last time around, it was Broxa being disrupted. This time, he's on the forward foot. He's on a more aggressive early game pick like the Rek'Sai.
And now because Brox actually saw Cold down there on the bottom side of the map, his bottom lane is relatively safe. You know, they got a ward in the tri-brush to spot out a potential lane gank from Cold, and Broxa, at the same time that Cold is going to be walking topside to clear his own camps, will then clear out his camps that he left for a little while. That means he's going to be pathing down, so the next time Cold has a window to try and gank this bottom lane, Broxa will also be there to punish.
And now we should see the dynamic shift towards the top side of the map. Both top laners should be aware that Fnatic or both junglers will actually be on this top side of the map, so they really need to neutralize that lane. Alphari can no longer just play hyper-aggressive here.
I have to call it out again. Broxa playing for his lanes. You know, a lot of people might watch this and say, wasted time, but he says, okay, Cold, he just went back to base, he has Predator boots, he could look for a gank top lane, so he spent some time there, but he missed the window.
Alphari now stepping forward, Cold gonna look in, they're gonna try to finish this kill off. Whipple has the flash, he's gonna be forced to burn it now. Stun comes in, but the flash committed, first blood. TP on the backside though. Fnatic ready to turn this play. Rek'Sai moving forward, Broxa ready with a flash of his own if he needs it, but they're gonna take the 1-for-1 onto Cold. Well played by Fnatic to get the exchange.
Fnatic always do this. You make a play on a side lane, and they have double teleports to try and respond. This time it's Nemesis coming top lane to help out Whippo, and if you noticed what was happening on the map, Nukeduck had just finished his recall channel. He didn't have mana, so he wasn't comfortable teleporting in to try and make that a 3v2.
Yeah, excellent call from Nemesis right there to immediately pull the trigger, and this is kind of a different change of pace than when we saw Nemesis first joining the squad. He looks like a completely different mid laner, and showcasing why Fnatic have so much faith in him, and why Fnatic fans need to have faith in him.
Yeah, and I think a big change for Fnatic when it went from the 1-5 Fnatic to the team that won all of their games in the second half of the split was between Broxa and Nemesis. Broxa became much more active early game, and Nemesis was playing not so much for his own lane, but to roam and set up his side lanes for success.
And I do want to point out kind of the little mini lane swap that's been performed between Whippo and Nemesis here. The reason why they did this is that Alphari didn't have his flash and then didn't have his TP, and so he was trying to be greedy, wait for the wave to get pushed in underneath his tower and pick up all of that CS. But by sending Whippo into the mid lane, Nemesis and Broxa forced Alphari off the tower, making sure that he also lost something in this exchange.
And while the dive was good and the first blood is obviously very good for OG, it feels like with Nukeduck's back timing, with that smart swap that you were talking about, it doesn't seem like Fnatic lost anything outside of that TP. It feels like they matched very equally in the trade without potentially giving up some CS in the mid lane in favor of Nukeduck or really anything else.
Yeah, you can actually see in their CS across the board in both top and mid lane that they're even, if not slightly ahead.
Yeah, it's a very big difference from game number 1. Meanwhile, bottom lane, going to be the biggest difference where Rekkles has that 600 gold lead over Patrick before he can try to farm up. Again, you have to wait to have your support item tick over before you can look to get those minions.
Patrick playing very safe, Rekkles going to back off here in the end, but a very different game as well in the sense that Patrick and Mithy have relatively gotten through this lane unscathed. There's just not the burst at this point. There's no Blitzcrank hook here, but when level 6 comes around, it could be a very different story. The burst of the Annie and the Twitch versus the unkillableness, let's say, of the Sona and Taric.
Yeah, that's the terrifying thing. You're then also giving Twitch a free lane of all champions, and he is absolutely devastating.
See what's happening though. Fnatic let the lane push in for the very first time. They have a good control ward to let Broxa sneak in, but Cold smells it. He's on a ward, but Fnatic, they're looking for the 3v3.
Coming out, trying to find the opportunity to turn the play. Dazzle goes in, Mithy flashes to keep the play going. Brox is now on the backside. They desperately want to kill Hylissang. They're going to get one. They need to turn on the Brox, but that is a level 6 Rek'Sai now coming in. No level 6 for Patrick. He has to pull back. Healing coming out. Will it be enough to deny the Rek'Sai? Not quite, but Broxa should go down in the exchange. Rekkles going to be the last man standing as Patrick finds the kill.
And right now, Nemesis is walking down through the river. He was trying to reply, but it's not going to happen. Cold, with a great move to come in through the lane, they're able to burst down this Annie, who has very low base stats when it comes to HP, but man, nice start for them.
Nukeduck actually did his responsibility as well, pushing forward to keep Nemesis locked down so he couldn't also respond. But because he was so low mana, he wasn't going to pull the trigger in the same way that Nemesis did early on by teleporting bottom.
And it does feel like Nukeduck has had all of his mana forced out, just trying to clear this wave, hasn't been able to roam out of lane to find it in these plays, and has been limited under this tower. We'll see how it works as he gets a bit more mana under. He has the tier, he has the fairy charm. And for now, Nemesis, holding on to this lane priority.
This is worth pointing out that Fnatic didn't opt for a heavy early game. Twitch isn't an insane early game champion when it comes to playing around him. The barrier also coming in clutch from Patrick right there, and you can see the flash follow there from Mithy. Hylissang popped his own flash a little bit too fast, and because Broxah went for the huge wraparound and wasn't able to be in the fight from the start, the 3v3 was a loss. Had he been there initially, I think they actually would have won.
Still, faster reset from Fnatic. They still have control of that bottom lane, and it does extend into a trade for the Infernal. So still lead for Fnatic here.
Absolutely is the case. Of course, just checking in across the board. Gold relatively even. The Infernal, as you mentioned, really the only thing to show for it thus far, but his level 6s are now coming in. This could start to be a series of explosive plays as Patrick steps forward, ready to just bully Brox out.
Yeah, because Nemesis was coming off of a reset. Nukeduck was able to move over first, so Broxah was not able to repeat and steal away that blue buff. Still, Fnatic should still be looking to play around this bottom side of the map. Both of the bot laners from OG lost their summoner spells. Patrick is very, very vulnerable at the moment, and Fnatic still have all their beautiful vision to set up for a gank here from Broxah.
And not only do they have the advantage of Nemesis having so much priority over Nukeduck in this Rise right now, but his teleport's going to be off of cooldown because Nukeduck used his TP to get back into lane. So there is a big cooldown mismatch, and that's why Fnatic are going to constantly look for this play for kind of the next 3 minutes.
Moving over the wall is going to force out immediately the ulti. Can they turn on to Broxah? Very difficult position to find themselves in. Reckless ready to step forward, but forcing that ultimate out of the turret gives them a big window of opportunity.
Do you think that was a fake out, using the claw to try to get the Sona ultimate and then not pulling on it?
Yeah, I absolutely do think it was, because ultimately you're never going to be able to make that play work without a flash on someone like Brox to start that one off, because the crescendo always comes in. The big flaw from OG was actually using both of those ultimates. The communication should have been, crescendo is enough to stop the engage. We don't need to use the Cosmic Radiance. So that's why there's actually a lot more resources from Origin coming down bottom side. They're freezing the wave under their turret because they know without flashes and without the defensive ultis, well, they're just sitting ducks waiting to be killed.
Absolutely, and the difficult spot now is that we do not see the fully stacked Frostfang in the pocket of Patrick yet at this point of the game. Really needs to get that fully stacked, only at 445 gold, and if he's trapped under his tower, if he can't hit his lane opponents, he's not really going to get any more stacks. Now, however, we see the dive on the top side. Alfari in trouble, tries to use the Cataclysm, but just gets absolutely dunked.
And Alfari now no longer has the benefit of having his jungler behind him to keep him safe, and Whippo and friends make full abuse of that. And those guys were just bottom and suddenly instantaneously topside.
Yeah, solo plate there for Whippo as well. You can see Broxah starting up the Herald. This is what Fnatic do so well. Play around tempo, around their mid laner to look for dives on the opposite sides of the map. You don't have to just say, we're going to split the map down mid and play purely for bot. They can also look for the top half as well.
Right now, things are looking a little bit difficult for the side of OG. The Sona Taurak just hasn't, it doesn't really feel like it's ever come online across the series thus far, but they might be close.
Give it time, this game. Give it time. I don't think it's too far out just yet.
Well, it's only about a 600 gold deficit this time around, where it feels like Reckless was put so much further in the hole by that Blitzcrank from Mithy.
Interesting time for a replay.
They're okay in the mid lane. Don't worry about that. But you can see this dive. Again, it's a reset from Cold and Nukeduck at the same time. There's a huge wave crashing top lane. This is showing a little bit of difference in the pathing of these two junglers, where Cold didn't actually expect Fnatic to be so active and make the play bot immediately rotate top, whereas Fnatic, they saw the window and they went for the play.
But I do want to go back to that point that you were bringing up, Dracos, about this idea of, give it time for Sona and Taurak to really show what this duo can do, because there's a lot of key differences in this iteration of the Sona Taurak composition versus what we saw in Game 1. And the first one for me is that there are so many more hard engage options rather than just a Scion and flash crescendo.
Speaking of hard engage, Cold is on his way up top for Whippo.
Whippo has to be smart about how he's going to play this one out. TP.
It got canceled.
About to see how that one happened. Now the flash forward is going to look for the stun here. Whippo in trouble. I believe no passive. Not going to be able to get anything else. Ultimate doesn't come out. Cold going to grab the kill.
I believe that was Nemesis trying to come up, but canceled out there by Nukeduck. Good move there from Cold, and now he's the one on the Herald. Fnatic can't make a response play. If anything, should maybe be looking to go for a dive around that bottom lane. Patrick actually just lost his flash and barrier. I'm not sure how that happened, but A big lack of summoner spells for that carry.
I would imagine just having to respect the positioning of Hilly. Anytime this Annie walks up, the Sona really needs to respect it, because the potential of dive is massive, and you can see the Fnatic are trying to set up for just that, actually going really deep around a lot of this vision.
So now what is the difference here between these two teams? Well, Patrick is going to be heavily denied. It looks like the support item did tick over and upgrade, but Fnatic are going to take this first tower in the bottom lane. There's only 30 seconds now for Cold to use the Rift Herald if he wants to get plates himself, but instead he takes the 4-second recall timer and is not going to pop that immediately.
So in general, taking this early game from the previous game's early game, it still feels better for Fnatic because they are the 5v5 oriented team, and they're now actually going to get to a point where they'll have a successful 5v5. Whereas in the first game, Origin were so good at ripping across the map and pulling Fnatic's 5v5 apart and dominating with that 1v1. Now, on that side, Origin also have a very strong 5v5 with the Sonic Taric, and I'm wondering if it's going to be enough to contest Fnatic where they're strong.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the replay of what happened bottom lane. Hylissang was just sitting in a bush with the Hex Splash and the stun on Tibbers. It's been unfortunate we haven't seen a whole lot out of this Annie and making use of the ultimate, trying to shut down this Sona Taric, but certainly going to be seeing more of that now as the flash is back up, and Fnatic post 15 minutes should be looking for more skirmishes around the jungle to try and snowball a little bit more.
And with Moby Boots available for Hylissang, as well as the invisibility that is there for Rekkles on the Twitch, it feels like they can appear anywhere if teams are not ready for them. One item Twitch, obviously not super terrifying, but if he gets the jump on you, can be a lethal threat.
Oh, Broxah sniping away the red buff and forcing Alfari out of the jungle. Notice there are no Origin members near this top lane tower, so with the minions here, Fnatic might just take another. They've got another wave on the way as well. Origin, they do have the Herald and can look to push mid. That could be a big difference maker in terms of tempo.
Yeah, that's that key thing. It's that they have the Herald, and that's why they have the confidence to do that. There is TP available on Nukeduck, but I'm curious when Fnatic are going to call their bluff, if they're going to look for a flank at all or try to push through.
So right now, Nemesis moved down Broxah as well, and after they take the turret, they will make the rotation as well. So Claw comes in, and look at the respect Origin are giving them. I don't think they actually have good vision spotting out the moves here from the side of Fnatic, so they don't even reply with the mid lane tower.
Not going to get anything there. Crushing. Definitely not what you want to see on the side of OG. They were so incredibly far ahead in our first game, and now it's a very, very different story as Fnatic just continue to build up this gold lead. 3 towers to 0, an Infernal to an Ocean. Massive difference here early on, and Hylissang just waiting, looking, fishing for that opportunity to find a kill.
So I want to point out kind of something cool about Fnatic's compositions, because they like the Kai'Sa, they like the Vayne, and now also pulling up the Twitch. Now, we usually think about Fnatic as kind of that 5v5 or that 1-4 team, but when they faced Vitality, and now when they face Origin, teams that are known to go into 1-3-1, they like to put Rekkles on these ADCs that can also play out into a side lane because they have either assassination or dueling potential. If you think about the Vayne, her ability to assassinate or duel. If you think about the Kai'Sa, her ability to swing out with W, and now the Twitch, the same thing. I think it's just kind of a very creative element of their drafts of, okay, we don't know what kind of look we're going to get from our opponent. If they fight us in the 5v5, we've got late game scaling insurance policy. If they fight us in the side lane, we're also able to match that with these specific champions.
And interestingly enough, we see Fnatic just taking control of just about the entire bottom side of the map, setting up Whippo to sustain that split push. We're now checking on the mid lane. Origin doing what they can to hold. Sona starting to CS is a good sign, working towards that Archangel staff. But Rekkles on the way to a second item already, and Twitch, like most 3-item carries, is pretty terrifying once he has a bit more attack speed and an Infinity Edge to back him up.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Twitch, especially here in Europe, but the late game AoE teamfight damage with the spray and play, as well as the breaking the attack speed cap with lethal tempo, means you can get so much damage out on this carry, especially in those tight corridors where multiple people are lining up for those shots to go ahead and hit you. But if we actually reframe how we're looking at this game and look through the lens of Origin, I think one thing to point out, by the way, Cap's joining us after the game. Hello. He also showed up in the announcement.
Whoa! Is it going to be enough? They take down Patrick before the invulnerability drops. Nukeduck now desperate to get something back. Hylissang has been taken out. Mithy going to try to find the kill, going to try to extend the play. Still a ton of healing for the Taric here. Nemesis locked up under the tower. Whipper doing what he can to pull back. Wanted to tank the turret there, but Nemesis is going to be able to make it out. Fnatic now have to back off.
Oh, they're not. They're going in.
Taking out Whippo. Huge play from OG to turn.
Classic Fnatic, use caps as a distraction, look for the dive, but they bite off more than they can chew, and a good swing for Origin here.
That's actually another really poor turret dive. The first one happened in game 1 from Fnatic, another one right here. They had the right idea. Assassinate Sona at the start of the fight to eliminate the healing, the massive healing coming through from Origin, but unfortunately, it's 17 minutes in. 5v5 under a tower is not a good look for the squad.
It's also about that very quick assassination and burst, instantly deleting someone, because in sustained fights, it's not just about the Sona, it's also about the Taric, it's also about the Rise and the Skarner. Sustained fights are really hard to fight into Origin's comp.
And you look at the Rise damage right now, definitely going to out DPS the Twitch in a lot of these circumstances, and I feel like we have to look at Reckless to a certain degree to see if there's any follow-up.
Yeah, but check the flank here from Hylissang and Broxah coming in from opposite sides. They get the immediate explosion, but Nuke Duck absent at the start of the fight. Realm warps in, and when Reckless has to run away, you realize Fnatic don't actually have a fight anymore. They're stalling out underneath the tower, buying time to try and flash away here if you are Nemesis, but that's the fatal flaw. Bwipo turning around for one extra Q. Nuke Duck sees the moment and grabs it with the flash forward.
But it's just the kill that Origin are picking up, because Fnatic did a good job making sure that both the bottom wave and the top wave, which you can see Origin are now trying to reset, were pushed far forward. So it's not like Origin could grab the kill and then immediately rotate it into an objective. It was basically just a map reset after that.
That's fair, but if you are in the mind of Origin, like those are the wins you're so happy to take, because again, trading even or trading even slightly ahead is so good with this composition. You just need time here for Patrick to finish off the Lichbane, get some more damage in these fights here if you are the Sona. But on the side of Fnatic, what I will be looking at as we move further into this game is when does the magic resistance come in, because it's a Rise and it's a Sona. There's not a whole lot of physical. It's just going to be the Jarvan and a full tank Skarner as well. So Fnatic, if they're able to stack the resistances, should have a much better chance here against OG.
And it just feels like a shotgun from Fnatic. If they can find the shot, if they can get that point-blank shot onto the front line of OG, they can just rip through this entire team, the back line rather. But if they can't, the sustain on the opposite side is just so incredibly immense, and if the Twitch is in the, it's just a lot of pressure.
I just feel like this is a situation where both teams of comms are like, it's fine, we can do, like, we have X, we can scale with the Twitch, we can play out in the side lanes with the Jarvan and the Rise, we can look for better lane assignments, so it's really unclear, like, both teams probably feel comfortable and strong where they are versus someone being like, back up.
Flash forward, Hylissang might not even get a chance to use the ultimate. Reckless waiting in the wings, but not going to even step back. Hylissang taken out, OG now with control over the mid lane.
Yep, Fnatic were not willing to play the QSS tax against the Skarner, so Cold will use the flash to get the kill. They're not actually moving in towards mid because they don't have the minions to actually take the tower.
But again, it's one of those situations, Origin find a pick and they expend a lot for it, a Skarner ultimate, a flash, and at best they're going to finally push down this mid tower. Maybe, it looks like Fnatic are trying to set up a fight here, Alfari on the flank. This could be devastating.
This should go down.
Nemesis has the TP. They are going to try to step forward. The stun comes in. Chain CC follows up. Bwipo potentially in trouble. Out comes the crescendo. Now comes out the Tark ultimate as well. They're going to be invulnerable under the tower. Reckless is going to get taken down. Massive. Nemesis now here as well. Alfari could lose his life in the exchange. Tries to flag and drag his way back, but Fnatic holding onto the tower. Alfari guaranteedly dead here, and another fumble dive in this game.
Yeah, I don't know about that stopwatch there from Alfari. He was pretty dead there. They do trade the kill on towards Reckless, so in terms of overall map state, it is worth, but now it's Fnatic with control of mid.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the tempo back in their
side.
Whoa.
They look for the re-engage now, trying to find it, but there's not a lot of sustained ultimates available on the side of OG. They're still trying to find the kill onto Hylissang. He could just get taken out for the shutdown now onto Nuke Duck. That's the major damage source. Broxah taking down Patrick on the Axe side, and it's going to be a wash. Absolute destruction for Fnatic.
It's a triple kill for Broxah here on the Rex side. They move straight over towards the Baron. OG overstayed and got collapsed.
And reminder how much they gave up trying to make that mid tower fall. It was a flash Skarner ultimate on the initial pick. It was then the Taric ultimate, the the stopwatch from Alfari, and they didn't even get the mid tower and now lose the Baron.
And they say, hey, we got your AD carry. We can still fight in this mid lane, but mid-game Rek'Sai is nothing to laugh at. Fnatic's composition just smashed Origin. And all of a sudden, the game's blown wide open. It was close just a second ago.
And that's the risk. You play this composition against a team who's practiced it themselves. They know how to shut it down. They take the Sona out of the fight. They take the Rise out. They know all the damage is gone, and it's all too easy. And in this Alienware replay, we can see exactly how this tower dive went wrong.
Yeah, so this is the initial play from Origin after they killed the Annie. You can see Alfari waiting on the side. He thinks he's just getting a Bwipo, but it's like, oh, 2-for-1 deal. Reckless without the flash will be taken down immediately. But as Origin have to walk away, you realize Alfari doesn't actually have a flash of his own. Nemesis entered the fight as well, so he was going nowhere, regardless of if he used the stopwatch. But this fight, this re-engage, watch Broxah. What does he do here? Because it starts off with Hylissang jumping forward and finding the engage onto Mithy and Nuke Duck. Broxah looks straight for Patrick in the bat line. Through barrier, he's still able to assassinate it. The true damage coming in from the E, it's massive. He snipes the last kill there on towards Cold, gets the knock up for the extra last hit as well. He really just killed one person that fight, but he picks up 3.
Oh, Bwipo sound effect.
And we wanted to know what Fnatic mental looked like after that first game. Well, it looks like things are still pretty good. And Cold, yeah,
I don't know about that one, guys.
Todd's shaking his head. He pushed stopwatch, and that 2.5 seconds, his entire team died. It was not a good look. But now, Fnatic poised in the mid lane. They have the Baron buff as well. Massive advantage to this team after what was just a crushing Game 1 defeat. They have brought it back here in Game 2.
Look what they're doing, too. It's so good. After changing it up and picking up the Baron, they sent Broxa over to the side lane who can reposition and get over with his tunnels relatively quickly. You know that Bwipo is probably more valuable in a siege because of that revive passive, and Broxa can just sit here laughing at Alphari as he buffs up the minions, and the rest of his team sets up the 1-3-1 to close out just like Origin did to them in Game 1.
And the thing is this time around, Rekkles is going to have Flash, so you can no longer just ult on top of him as the Jarvan, and with that one team fight, he also itemized into the QSS, so he has paid the tax, and there's not a viable target of trying to get this Twitch, so he just disengages for that next big 5v5, and he's going to lay out so much damage.
And Hylissang with Flash level 11 as well, going to be massive on top of the Shurelya, so ready to kick off a fight at a moment's notice. OG have to play this perfectly if they do not want to just get deleted in what is an instant.
So again, what it has to be an engage onto the core 3-man unit here of Fnatic as the waves are coming in, but Fnatic giving respect here against the potential all-in. They're waiting for these side waves to collapse before they step up.
The problem is that this early in the game, everyone on Fnatic still does ridiculous amounts of damage. Even if you do manage to find a good target with that crescendo, let's say it is the core 3, you're still going to get blown up by the Rek'Sai. You're still going to get blown up by the Aatrox.
Brox potentially caught out here. OG need to be careful though. Bwipo now moving forward as the rest of the team is in the mid lane. Bwipo buying time for that tower to be taken down. Now pulled back and vulnerability is there, but no one's actually doing any damage to OG. Feels like a big fumble on those cooldowns. Origin have to respect the potential for a re-engage here. Eyes on Hylissang. Where's he going to go? Good stun to stop Nemesis. Annie is ready. Moment's notice. OG group up. They are all but certainly set to die here.
Fnatic, they're still playing. They get the inhibitor, they go in!
The middle of the team. Hylissang now going to look for the follow-up. Eyes on Twitch now. All of the damage going to come in, but the power cord is there. No, the instant QSS. Rekkles now firing free into the backline. Nukeduck desperate to get something back. OG are surviving for now. 4 members still alive, but the tower is being chunked away in a very close fight.
The towers are not your friend. They're the enemy, Fnatic. You got to leave it alone. Underneath the structure, Origin are able to kite back and take a winning fight.
But ultimately, their inhib is still down, so still a big win as Fnatic have really cracked open this game, and they're only going to scale even harder. We're in a situation exactly like game number 1, where it feels like this is just going to be a secondary Baron rinse and repeat. I don't know how strong this Sona Taric combo is going to be. We said, is this going to define the series? Is this going to be about trading back and forth? At this rate, Origin have failed with it, Fnatic have failed with it, let it die.
And it has defined the series in its own way, Proscore. And now we see how intense this series has become. Fnatic poised to take the Game 2 victory to tie this series up and take us to 3 potential final games in this beautiful engage.
Yeah, I feel like Origin just had the wrong read initially here, looking to force on towards Broxa, but then it's a huge overcommitment from Bwipo, who used the World Ender, his ultimate, earlier to zone away all the members of Origin while the rest of his team took down the inhibitor. So it was a rather big blunder there from Fnatic, overreaching to try and get a second inhibitor tower.
And a great Cassandra from Patrick, even if it was QSS by Rekkles there, still denies a lot of the damage, a lot of the follow-up here from this team. And Twitch, we're kind of waiting to see that third item. Once IE comes out, it's going to be a very different story in these fights, but for now, OG holding their own, and the Sona and Taric just continue to get stronger and stronger here.
Yeah, they have this window where they can creep out of their base. They have to run it down the mid lane because they have to push back against the super minions. And now that they've gotten control over this mid lane tower, they can start pivoting and start getting control of the Scuttle Crab and defensive vision around this Baron.
Well, as we gear up, a reminder that after the game, you can watch the Spring Split MVP break down everything as Caps join Shox and Yamato Cannon at the analyst desk. But as we focus back in, Baron 49 seconds away. OG actually in a decent position, I think, to contest this time around. It feels like they're going to have all of their major team fighting ultimates up and available.
Yeah, because they won that fight in terms of numbers advantage, they pushed through the mid lane and got vision down on the Baron. They took the Scuttle Crab. It was the only time they were ever going to be allowed to enter this river and put down vision. Unfortunately, the problem is that Rekkles just completed his Infinity Edge. There's a Guardian Angel now on towards Broxa. The team fight doesn't look good here from Origin.
So we need to pay attention to how Origin are then layering their cooldowns. Who is their target selection? Because they still have all of the tools on this kit that they can deal with a massive Twitch ultimate as long as the invulnerability comes down, as long as the crescendo connects. You know, maybe they grab the Skarner, they force out an early QSS in a very defensive positioning, but it needs to be picture perfect.
Absolutely has to be, because there's no flash for Rekkles. Yes, he has the heal. Yes, he has the QSS. Skarner going to find him a difficult target, but Jarvan can leap straight onto him, can lock him down and make the follow-up easy for the rest of the team. Cold now running forward. Hylissang ready to re-engage at a moment's notice.
Yeah, they use the Shurelya's Reverie actually to disengage there, so Hylissang using that both for the offense and the defense. Notice where Nemesis is at the moment. He's on the side inside of the jungle here for Fnatic, going to be regrouping with the rest of his team, because what Fnatic want to do is they want to push out this next wave as far forward as they possibly can, because that means when their own super minions are going to come, Origin can't clear it at a neutral position in mid lane. They're going to have to wait very far back, which gives them so much more control over the jungle and as a byproduct over the Baron.
It's a very quick trade of who has tempo and who has control. It feels like Fnatic are trying to make Origin bend to their will by pulling them around with the minion waves, but Origin still have teeth.
Engage coming over the wall. They're trying to delete the jungle. It's going to open up the path for them to go straight to Baron, and they've got their eyes set on the prize. OG need to respond or they're going to lose this one and likely a few inhibitors as well.
But without the jungler, you can't go for the steal. You must go for a 4 versus 5 fight. Now, a ward over the wall will see Broxah enter the pit. They have vision at the moment. Do they find the engage? Can they find Reckless without a flash?
Still has Tibbers up and available. Hex Flash available as well. He's going to go over the wall. They're going to try to find the chain CC. Hylissang off to the side. Patrick still alive and well. Invulnerability going to fall. Hylissang ready to get on the backside. OG need to find a win in this fight. Nukeduck stepping forward. Hylissang trying to delay the Sona. It might just be enough. The shutdown is coming through the Baron in the hands of Fnatic. But OG ready to wipe the fight. Realm Warp comes out. There is no right choice for Hylissang, and he is doomed to die as the triple comes out for Nukeduck.
Where Origin were united, Fnatic stood apart. They had different ideas. Do they want to leave the pit? Do they want to turn and fight? Origin just waltzed in with 4 people and slammed them.
Because they had the tools. You had Hilly on the flank. You could have had the Lissandra Claw come over this wall, and Nemesis and Hilly could have attacked as one instantaneously. Instead, the decision to try to secure the Baron mean that Origin get the first punch.
Yeah, and Nemesis immediately falls down. Then Reckless is stuck inside of this pit because he has nowhere else to go. Origin corralled him into the wall and meant there was no escape. Hylissang tries to escape here. It's not going to end up happening. They still have Crescendo out of all of that, so it's just one Baron buff on Broxah that remains, and that's not enough here for Fnatic.
I mean, the nice thing about it being on Broxah, at least, is we see that Fnatic feel comfortable sending him out into a side lane because he can skirt back with his tunnel access, but still, that is absolute disaster for Fnatic.
And we talk about the late game scaling of Twitch, absolutely terrifying. You see the 4K damage there, but look who is matching it on the opposite side. Nukeduck, no doubt someone you would herald as the captain of this team. When he is playing well, it feels like OG are unstoppable. And in these fights to come, it just feels like Nukeduck versus Reckless.
Yes, it absolutely is in terms of damage, and it brings me back to the point, Fnatic, without a really strong tank frontline, are not building much magic resistance. It's basically just some QSSs and some Mercury treads, but that's not enough to survive the consistent DPS of a level 17 Rise. Now, he has finished the Rabadon's death cap, so he's nothing to laugh at in these team fights.
I mean, that said, Reckless still does have the range advantage against someone like a Rise, but he has flash back up. I expect that Alphari is going to try to force that flash out again, and then kind of the next repeat team fight would be the big window for Origin if it gets that far.
Hylissang, though, stepping forward. They desperately want to get this inhibitor. It will be a massive advantage. Oh, knockback from Whipple, but they're still going to try to find the fight. The invulnerability is going to come in. How much damage can Nukeduck get down before the invulnerability fades away? Nukeduck zoned away by the Lissandra. It's a clean fight so far. Reckless waiting for his opportunity to get in the fight, but he does not find it. OG taking this fight handily. Reckless running for his life, hoping that stealth will save him. Him and Whippo in the same place, on the retreat. Alphari now on the chase. The knockup comes out. Whippo desperately trying to buy time as Reckless.
They saw him on the water!
The flash! Oh! Nukeduck now dominating. We said it would come down to these two in the fight, but it is Nukeduck who reigns supreme.
Once again, it is just Broxah escaping barely there, but Origin, they find the fight, they found the scaling, and now they've closed the gold gap. Their inhibitor has respawned. They're right back in this.
Their ability to just chop up Fnatic front to back there from the team fight because of the damage coming out of the Rise, the range advantage for Twitch doesn't mean anything. And now Reckless has burned the flash. This is such an easy team fight for Origin. The next team fight, that can be the nail in the coffin for Fnatic to put them up 2-0.
Yeah, and just watching this fight, I believe Reckless gets jumped on towards and can't get auto attacks coming down. It's a good stop on the initial engage there on towards Alphari, but Reckless, okay, the invulnerability comes down, he flashes away. Where are the auto attacks? They're just not happening. OG are taking no damage from the prime carry source of Fnatic, and that is just a disaster for their team fight.
Absolutely the case. We now see the Mountain Drake being taken as well, so the next Baron no doubt can beat a massive
that
arena.
ward too, man.
Cannot make it away to safety. This team is so incredibly mobile with the power of that Sona, the Rise, the movement speed steroid as well. And you look at the last team fight.
What? Wait,
Alphari? All right,
there's no way that's
I'm
right.
to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, that is not how I expected those numbers to look. But this...
I mean, he did sit on that back line. That's basically Reckless's health bar.
I mean, that's like 4 Reckless health.
I know, but he's like a good chunk of that.
Massive performance from Alfari. Even after getting the initial EQ combo knocked into the fight, does so much over the course of that.
I will say, looking forward to our next break points, especially on the Fnatic side, because it's very clear now that they are not winning the team fights. And I think you see their composition sort of thrown together. They don't have a great front line. They have the tools to pick you off one by one and to jump on you from a mile away. But now that Reckless has hit level 16, that is massive for the damage in these fights.
And that's the expectation we set for the Sona Taric in game 1, is that if you try to team fight them, you will absolutely not win. You have to blow somebody up. But we never saw it come to fruition. Fnatic were simply too far behind. But in this game, even when Fnatic looked so far ahead, OG have held on long enough that it feels like both of these picks are online.
But it feels like it's really scary now because the game is kind of that gravitation towards Baron. You know, we're going to see more big 5v5s unless someone tries to play cheeky with some of the vision, maybe set up some traps. And at this point, this is exactly where Origin want to be. They're grouped up, they've got the Sona behind them, they have the Taric, and they're just going to grind through them.
In a difficult spot to be, most certainly. I mean, after the crushing 3-0 versus G2, not a lot of people expected from OG coming in this week. There's a reason so many people predicted in favor of Fnatic, but in this series thus far, there's no doubt that OG have been the superior team.
This is also Origin, if they win this game, showing that they can beat Fnatic in the early game, snowball and close appropriately, and then also contest Fnatic in a 5v5 late game.
TP here from Alfari. They're looking for the engage.
Almost as well. They're trying to find the Reckless caught in the middle of everybody. He's all but set to die. Reckless taken down is massive. Hylissang next on the menu. Nemesis desperate. They just need to find the disengage. Baron 22 seconds away. It feels like it's all but guaranteed to go to OG.
It's the perfect engage from Origin. They have the teleport flank wards. They use the Realm Warp as well to deliver cold on top of Reckless. And with Baron spawning so soon, it makes it so easy for them to secure their first of the game.
Alfari stepping forward. Nemesis just going to take the claw out. 2 seconds till the Baron is up and available. OG should shift their attention there, but Nukeduck down on the bottom side, answering to Bwipo.
And you can see the call from Fnatic is, okay, if they're going to take the Baron, we don't want to contest it. Let's race up the mid lane and try to change an inhibitor. But good read from Origin to at least push Fnatic off the initial race.
Broxa here.
He's on wards, though.
Yeah, but maybe he can make the miracle steal. It's
Has
going
the
to be
blast
difficult.
cone.
Has the level advantage as well. 3K dropping. Where's it going to be? Knockup comes in from the Baron.
They're still hitting it.
Coordinate it. Going over the wall. Power cord is going to miss. Brox is in the middle of the pit. Who's going to get it in the end? But no. Cold manages to secure the Baron. Absolutely massive for the OG team. Hylissang now on their retreat, but Fnatic meanwhile are in the base. They've broken 1 inhibitor. They've broken 2 inhibitors. They're stalling. They're buying as much time as they can. The GA now popped. Hylissang on the retreat. They are going to be able to take down Broxa in the end. Moving.
They're looking for more. Look at the other side.
Opposite
It's
side of the
fights
fight.
everywhere.
Nukeduck has been split up, but Nukeduck is just simply too far ahead. It's the strongest members of OG right now taking on the individual soul laners of the opposite team. It's an absolute mess. Nemesis just barely able to make it out alive. OG had the Baron, but they haven't been able to do anything with it yet. Bwipo next to fall. They do take him down. Patrick now on a rampage.
This is a Baron buff mid lane pushing Origin now storming towards Fnatic's base, and their backs are so delayed.
The game's just falling apart here from Fnatic. Origin take a gold lead for the first time in forever in game number 2. There's still so much time on the jungle and top laner of Fnatic. It is at least 1 inhibitor if you are Origin, and they have the tools. Just keep pushing in.
Power cord almost up, Cosmic Radiance almost up, Impale already up and available. No Cataclysm, but they might not need it. They can continue to push forward. Reckless stepping forward. So much damage coming out from the Twitch. The issue with this is, are they going to be able to survive? Yes, the Cosmic Radiance comes down. They buy a bit more time, but Alfari sacrificed in the exchange, just burning the GA. Nemesis now trying to run, does get taken down. It is Reckless versus the world, and there is just no hope here. In game 2, OG have turned all of the predictions on their head. They are set to move up to 2-0, to move up to match point versus Fnatic.
I don't know how they did it, but Origin turn a tragedy of a game into a victory here. They were down, they were out, but they trusted in the Sona Taric in the bottom lane. They had clutch engagements around the mid lane, and they found Reckless every single time.
And you could see it on Fnatic's faces. Look at Broxo, look at Reckless, just shake their head, heavy sigh. They know that that was their game.
And it would be monumental now for Fnatic to turn this series back in their favor, because there is no doubt that OG have the momentum. They have the play in their favor. They absolutely out-executed. And Reckless, that late game insurance, the thing that everyone thought would be the difference maker in this series, fell apart for Fnatic in that game too.
Yeah, I mean, you have a late game team fighting AD carry, but you don't have a composition built around it. Sure, you have the option, you have the hope of a perfect fight if you are Fnatic, but the snowball could not come soon enough, and they were left exposed.
And I thought at this point in the series that I would have all the answers and it would be very clear about who was going to win, and now I just have more questions than ever before. You know, halfway through that game, I'm saying throw out Sonateric, find something else. But now when you find the victory, when Origin actually are able to execute on this composition, suddenly, Fnatic, you're down 0-2. Do you risk bans on this? Do you grab this for yourself? Because Mithy and Patrick looked so much more comfortable on that, as well as Origin as a whole, than Fnatic did.
And when you look at it, it started in the laning phase, and we saw that there wasn't the same amount of pressure without that Blitzcrank. And Hylissang on the Annie, we saw a few moments where it came through for some pretty strong team fights, but it never felt like they got the perfect wombo combo.
Yeah,
we talked about it. If you can't burst that combo down, they don't die. They never die in those fights.
Yeah, and their clutch changes too, like the barrier on the Sona. Even then, you were getting killed in these early fights, but we saw a few crucial moments where Fnatic overreached for kills, overreached for towers, and that ended up costing them in the end, because the Origin Game 1 victory against Sonateric, they were up 10k gold at 20 minutes. In this game, it was not that substantial of a lead, and it showed that if you can't beat them early, you can't beat the Sonateric.
It's a terrifying combo, most certainly. I do want to take a chance to look back at that mid lane fight and kind of break down what happened here. We can see kind of some of these quintessential fights where it turns against Fnatic.
And again, it's just Reckless gets jumped on towards right at the start, and with the sustain coming down, the invulnerability coming down, he cannot do a thing. And Fnatic's composition, while they have a lot of damage sprinkled around, they have a lot of champions that can do damage in 1v1s, in teamfights, I just don't think it is the case here up against all of the survivability that Origin have at their disposal.
And if you don't get that clean shot, once again, if you don't just combo someone out right off the bat, how impossible is it to actually coordinate that fight as a team? Because half the targets you call are suddenly invulnerable. You can't even click on them. You can't do anything to these champions, and it just feels, when this bot lane takes off, if you don't shut it down, it actually just feels unstoppable.
Yeah, what it ends up feeling like is comms are very quiet during those fights, where everyone just has to be watching intently who is
Look at that
invulnerable.
drop-off.
That drop is just nuts here for Origin when they took control, but I think it comes back to this point where Fnatic had the tools to split up the map with the Baron and to close with ease. They decided, we're going to group, we're going to try and take an extra inhibitor. That cost them. And then around the Baron, again, they decided, or they couldn't decide what they wanted to do, and that was the last nail in the coffin.
An insane game, sure, most certainly, but Origin are just one win away from securing a spot in the final versus G2, and as we're gearing up for match point here in the Ahoy Arena, don't go anywhere. Sun comes in with a flash committed, first blood. TP on the backside though. Fnatic ready to turn this play. Rek'Sai moving forward. Brock's already with a flash of his own if he needs it, but they're going to take the 1-for-1 onto Cold.
I'm coming with ult, I'm ulting Annie, I'm ulting Annie. Annie's dead. I still have too deep. Yeah. No flash Twitch. Twitch is out of the fight. No flash Aatrox.
They're still trying to find the kill onto Hylissang. He could just get taken out, but the shutdown now onto Nuke. That's the major damage source. Brock's taking down Patrick on the axe side, and it's going to be a wash. Absolute destruction. Hylissang now going to look for the follow-up eyes on Twitch now. All of the damage going to come in, but the power cord is there. No, the instant QSS. Reckless now firing free into the backline. Nuke desperate to get something back. OG are surviving for now. Invulnerability going to fall. Hylissang ready to get on the backside. OG need to find a win in this fight. Nuke stepping forward. Hylissang trying to delay the Sona. It might just be enough. OG have turned all of the predictions on their head. They are set to move up to 2-0, to move up to match point versus Fnatic.
Hercules. I have been expecting you.
And I brought you a gift, so you can fight properly. Red Bull.
Ooh, how nice of you, but also rather foolish. Mine. Mine.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back, everyone, to Rotterdam and to the semi-final where Origin are on match point against the reigning champions, Fnatic. Something I didn't expect to say so early in the day. I'm also joined by some special guests here to talk about what could be the final game in the semi-final. Schalke's Amazing and Caps from G2 Esports. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I am a bit stunned, to be honest, at what has happened so far. Can you tell me, Amazing, from watching the series, what do you think has happened? And are you surprised that OG is playing so well?
I'm not surprised that OG is playing so well. I thought they were really collected. Like even in the losses against G2, they didn't look terrible. They just looked a bit out of sync once in a while. But throughout the regular season, they have been in sync. And I think here again, they just saw early game plans and they execute on them. But the Fnatic is just really weak. They make a lot of mistakes that are so uncharacteristic for them, where they just overplay stuff and they don't force at the right times either. And it just looked completely lost almost.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the Fnatic we've seen the last couple of weeks. Caps, what do you think of both teams and how they've played so far?
I mean, so going into this series, I had Fnatic 3-0 OG, so I'm definitely surprised with the result so far. But at the same time, I don't think it's like as bad as we maybe make it out to be. You know, like Fnatic also had the lead in this game and stuff. So I still believe in Fnatic bouncing back, and yeah, that's.
Short, from what you've seen here so far, are you scared of anything for tomorrow?
I am not really scared. I think what both teams are showing is something really weird. Like we're seeing is like some Zona Taric, and we see random answers like Blitzcrank, and we see the Annie and stuff like this. I'm not really sure why they're doing all these kind of things. I have the same feeling that when I saw LSK, like the Talia Pantheon, you know, I think people can just like play a bit more standard. And that might sound weird from me, but I think you can just play a bit more standard and then just play something you're really confident on. And I think you'll have a lot more luck, especially when it's like on the big stage.
Okay, does it make it extra hard for tomorrow? Because obviously you don't know who you're playing until this series is over, and now they're playing every pick in the book.
Well, I mean, I think we're still just gonna go and play our own style, play the same things we did all split, and then if they want to pick Blitzcrank, if they want to pick Annie, if they want to pick Zona, you know, then let them come.
Let them do it. Okay, so let's wrap up how we got here. OG is on match point. Yamato, in game 2, it looked to be all Fnatic all the time, but in the team fights, OG completely came back and demolished Fnatic.
I feel like Fnatic built a massive lead in this game, and I think they should have taken it home. They had the twitch on the scaling, but I feel like all the time they're very overzealous in the dives. Just before this, we saw Beppo diving, giving away kills. This time around as well, I think rushing the Nash after the Skarner kill might seem logical, but you have to be careful when you play against Zona Taric, because we've talked about how strong their ultimates are in those team fights.
Yeah, and of course this was very interesting because we saw Zona Taric game 1. We all said actually it should win because it's super, super strong. It didn't. Why did it work in this game versus this composition?
I feel like this time around, Zona Taric picking it against Fnatic that always want to team fight, it's perfect. Because they are not known to split push, they're not known to hope or whatever. They're always going in. And if you get perfect Zona Taric ultimate, you're going to win those fights.
I also just think that OG is really good at utilizing CC in general in team fights. They're a team that is really collected, and whenever they can look for a pick, they can actually make that happen. Whereas Fnatic, honestly, they need Reckless on a carry in a honestly semi-final matchup. There's no other way. You cannot have
the carry.
Yeah, you cannot have him on Zona Taric as they had in game 1. So
yeah.
I think that's where the difference comes from. Whereas Patrick, he can actually be on that pick and still have an effect for Origin.
Yeah, it looks absolutely crazy. Caps, you've been on this team, on Fnatic last year. How do they handle a situation like this? How do they handle being down 0-2? You weren't that often, you know, just in the final at Worlds, I believe. What is going on now in the team?
I mean, so we had a lot of downtime, you know, like even at Worlds 2017, we were like 0-4 down, you know. So we definitely had a lot of talks where we're like, what's actually going wrong, you know, and thinking about, like even Schalke last year, we lost the first game. So I think it's something Fnatic is good at, and that's why I'm still confident in Fnatic taking it back. Because I think those first two games were, yeah, as I said, like Zona and Taric and all these kind of things happening. And I think now they're going to go into the game and either just play like a normal game, or they're going to ban Zona and Taric, and then I'm confident they'll turn around the series. But,
okay.
But
yeah, we'll see if that happens. I also wanted to just take a look at who's been playing really well so far. And I think Nukeduck is a guy we got to talk about. We talked a lot about Nukeduck versus Nemesis, and we talked about the fact that if OG want to win, they got to give him the weapons to win the game, Yamato, and that's what they've done so far.
I feel like they're finally putting him on champions where he gets a lot of advocacy. He played the Zed, he split pushed, he played the Rise, he team fought, and also, of course, split pushed as well. Wins the split against the Aatrox later in the game, and I think that's massive for them. I think when Nukeduck is in control of the game, it shows, and I think he's the person that can lead from his position.
Yeah, amazing. You know him very well, of course. Is Nukeduck going to be the key to OG taking game 3?
I mean, in general, OG is a team that obviously they need to control the game, basically, control the pace of the game. So having Nukeduck in general, just being on a strong champion or basically counter matchup, or anything that he feels comfortable on to beat Nemesis with, is going to be really important coming forward, and has been important throughout the series.
Yeah, I totally agree. So now on match point, OG can bring it home and face G2 tomorrow. So let's wrap it up then. If you're OG, you cannot let this slip through your hands, because you don't want to give Fnatic an inch, because we know what they can do with that if they get to a game 4 and 5. Yamato, Fnatic is on blue side. On OG, what do you make sure you draft going into game 3?
I think 2 games we saw very refreshing new strategies. The question is, OG, do they have a third one? Fnatic, are they going to ban the Sona Taric? Are they going to go back to the classic Braum? Because that's what I want to see from Fnatic. I want to see Hylissang on Braum or Rakan, because that's what you're scared about. You count the items of Reckless, you see 1, 2, 3 items, the clock is ringing, and all of a sudden you're in a tough spot.
Yeah, Caps, do you agree? What does Fnatic need to pick on blue side?
I mean, I think, as I said, like, I think if they just go back to playing like they played last week and the weeks before that, and they just play more standard way, because as the reason we didn't see the Sona Taric last week, right? They probably hadn't practiced it much, and they probably haven't practiced it much this week either, right? So it's not something they're super confident on. So I would just go back to what they're good at, and then I want to see a 3-0, right?
Amazing. It sounds difficult. Just go back to what was working for you when you're in this arena, when you're down 0-2.
There must be a reason why they're doing what they're doing. I think maybe they didn't have the stream results, maybe they just don't feel comfortable on actually like playing the meta against Origin, who's actually good at adapting to a team that has played a certain style all the time.
Yeah, it has been fantastic adaptation, preparation, and play on the Rift for Origin. They are doing the unthinkable, and they are now on match point versus the reigning champions, Fnatic. Let's see if they can do it, and we send it to the casters for game 3.
Here we are, Shocks. Do or die for the side of Fnatic. Of course, in this game, you can watch through the eyes of Bwippo over twitch.tv/RiotGames2. He is going to need a monster performance to look for the reverse sweep to bring this series back. But it has been an incredible level of performance for OG. Not a lot of people expected it after that round 2 versus G. I would almost say, but just about nobody outside of the OG faithful expected this kind of performance, but they look so incredibly good as we head into game 3.
Dragos, we called up like 20 people, and 3 of them got behind Origin, and 2 of those people were Origin members. So this was a huge undertaking here for Origin. I feel like everyone counted them out after, like you're saying, they got slapped by G2, but it's just a completely different form. The agency, the decisiveness, the playmaking potential, and not just Nukeduck. Like, I'm glad that the analyst has grabbed hold of him because he's having a superstar performance, but Mithy is popping off these games.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Blitzcrank was just a beauty to behold for him down in the bottom lane, and they beat Fnatic in game 1 with heavy early game, innovative picks. Game 2, it was about the scaling. They outlasted Fnatic, and now with Fnatic once again on blue side, I wonder, do Origin get the Sona Taric account? Is that allowed to happen in game number 3?
And you might have said for some of these teams that they may try to hide something going into the games versus G2 tomorrow, but Fnatic have to put everything on the line here. They decide to ban the Sona.
It was a game of chicken, and Fnatic are the first team to crack. They're like, we're not going to play it. We don't have the confidence in it. Just ban it away. And this is exactly what I wanted to see, and I agree with Caps. I want to see standard League of Legends from both these teams. For Fnatic, because hopefully they get a fighting chance in the series, and for Origin to prove that they can beat Fnatic in every iteration. We can beat you in the early game. We can beat you in the late game. Let's play standard. Let's see how you fare.
And with Skarner and Karthus banned away, it feels like we will once again see the Rek'Sai picked up by Broxah. However, I imagine the Jarvan will be a quick response.
Jarvan is the expected pick here, especially with that Skarner ban. Now, the question is, like, how does this draft fit play out? Because the last 2 games we've seen Sona Taric snapped in immediately. I like the Lissandra pick to deny from Nemesis, but I don't like blinding it for Nukeduck. It's something they did a lot in their series against G2, and I think Origin are much more successful when Nukeduck is on something that can make plays solo.
For me, I think this is going to be the Jarvan lock-in in second rotation. It has so much potential because it has the flex between the jungle as well as the top lane, so you still get that capability of playing with the counter picks on red side. And like you were talking about, you know, you could blind pick your mid lane here. You could go for the Lissandra, but Ryze just has such a comfortable matchup because he has the scaling potential that Lissandra doesn't.
Exactly. Both Ryze and Lissandra are valuable flex picks, but it is the ability to play a side lane much more frequently, as well as that bonus damage. Now, Fnatic, I like it. We're going back to the Vayne for Reckless, and of course, the Lissandra, which, if available, Fnatic will always take for Nemesis.
And coming into the series, we talked about Vayne for Reckless, and it felt like any time Fnatic was playing in the playoffs thus far, if Vayne was up, they were willing to pick this champion. Now returning to those roots, maybe something that the analyst desk talked about, where they are just willing to play this standard League of Legends. But Origin taking away the Braum here feels like a very good sign for this team.
And the question is, are we going to get any crazy picks now remaining in these last two options? So far, it's, again, very heavy 5v5, a lot of potential, the flex potential as well as playing to those side lanes.
Rakan now banned away, limiting some of the more aggressive engage options for Hylissang. When Braum is off the table, he almost exclusively plays these roaming engage style champions.
Yeah, and Fnatic often, counter to a lot of other teams in the league, save their support pick for the second phase of the draft. That's why you see, Rakan, Alistar banned away from them pretty heavily. And why they do that is because they're very comfortable giving Bwipo or Nemesis safe blind picks, like the Lissandra here, which they still can flex around, and they value getting a very strong 2 versus 2 to try and win the game through their bottom lane, which is surely what they're going to try up in this one.
This looks like the easiest and safest option for Patrick right here. Again, hiding the fact, is that a Jarvan top? Is it Jarvan in the jungle? And allowing Alphari more information and more time if he's going to be the weapon that Origin use in this game.
And potentially a situation where we could see positive lane matchups for both Alphari and Nukeduck. Huge, as the bot lane is already opting for a very defensive route on the side of Origin.
And I sort of expect to see the Aatrox again now for Bwipo. It's been a very good pick for him in the past. They should lock that in, which means that Origin could be very comfortable sending the Jarvan up into the top lane to match against the Aatrox. The difference is, with Skarner banned away, Cold would have to jump a little bit further down on the jungle tier list, whereas he is very comfortable in matchups that he knows quite well.
Pike
yes.
Now coming out. Hylissang, one of the best Pike players in Europe, if not the best. Have to see how he can perform in this game. A ton of pressure on his shoulders, and this is the game that he opts to go for it. You may see now the Kennen coming into the top lane. It was an okay matchup for Alphari in game 1. It's going to look for the rinse and repeat here. Cold will commit the Jarvan to the jungle, and the Rise will go mid lane into the hands of Nukeduck.
And very standard compositions from both teams. They have played these champions so many times. If you are a fan of Origin, if you're a fan of Fnatic, this is exactly what you wanted to see both your teams slated against. And it feels like it's kind of like the same game. If Patrick and Mithy are known as being kind of this more defensive, utility-oriented bot lane for Origin, and Fnatic are all about trying to attack in that bot lane with Reckless and Hilly. Hilly now on his Pike. Can they actually break Patrick or Mithy, or will they hold strong again? Because so far, Patrick and Mithy have just been absorbing Reckless and Hilly every time.
And with Ezreal Braum, you expect to see much more of the same. I think looking at the holistic composition here from Origin, they just have a lot of options, whether it's the 1-3-1 with Kennen and Rise in side lanes trying to break down towers, or the team fights, which again, they have a lot of really solid tools to work with. I think that they're much more flexible in the way they want to play the game, whereas Fnatic have a bit more narrow of an approach.
But now Fnatic in position to play a composition that they are incredibly comfortable with. So many picks that we have seen before this season. OG on the cusp of a 3-0 victory. The OG faithful can be proud, but Fnatic fans, if you are out there, your team needs you more than ever. It will take a reverse sweep for them to bring this series back. Rightfully so, I think doubt in the minds of many after what has been a crushing performance in favor of OG thus far.
Yeah, Origin looking to rewrite history. The last time we were in Rotterdam in 2016, it was an Origin G2 series, G2-1, and Origin want to get back there and say, no, it's our time.
They've already shown us that there is much more for this team than the 0-3 they showed in round 2. Cheeky fans. Breaking the tension for a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready for game 3. Match point for Origin. It is going to be a bloody game, no doubt. The reminder, it does certainly start here, and it will end tomorrow. But only one of these teams can move on to face G2 in the finals. And it is certainly do or die.
Fnatic leaving the base and knowing that this is their last chance. They must win 3 games in a row if they want to move on towards the finals. And they've got a much more standard draft, I would say, but a lot of people's eyes are going to be moving towards this Pike in the bottom lane. Hylissang has been known to play this champion. He's been known to try and terrorize games on this pick. And you'll actually notice he's starting with the Ancient Coin here for the lane. That's a really good lane option. You lose the push of that Relic Shield, but get 5% CDR, and for a champion with cooldowns of 14, 15 seconds on his Q and E early on, that's going to be strong, as well as the added mana sustain to help him throw out those spells a little bit more frequently.
You can see the rallying cry for the Fnatic fans out in the audience, trying to drum up the hype, drum up some cheers for his favorite team. But now we're looking at this early game, and Just gonna have to see how the laning phase unfolds.
Yeah, I like that you see the fan there too, because when Fnatic retook the stage, coming out of the break, the crowd erupted. You know, when Origin came out, it was loud, but when Fnatic joined and sat down in their seats, it was thundering here in Rotterdam. The crowd definitely wants to see more games, but it's going to be a difficult task here for Fnatic that are going up a very dominant-looking Origin roster.
And for me, in this early game, I really want to focus in on both these Danish junglers, Cold and Broxa. They're both known for their heavy pathing. Talking to Yamato before this series, he was really respectful, obviously having worked with Cold in the past, formerly known as Trashy, that in a matchup like Jarvan Rek'Sai, when Cold feels like he knows both sides of this matchup, that he's played both the Rek'Sai and the Jarvan hundreds of times, that he just turns into a completely different animal. He is so good at saying, okay, I know exactly how Rek'Sai is going to path, I know exactly where I need to be, and opening up these timings to create plays for his team. So I'm all attention on Cold and how he's going to help snowball this early game for Origin.
Yeah, and you see it right there. He takes the red buff, hops over the wall, knows there's not going to be a Rek'Sai clearing away his blue buff early on, so he goes for the invade, snags that one away, and actually avoided Broxa entirely.
And now splits the map in such a way that it is going to be bottom side in favor of Fnatic. Patrick though in trouble. Wow.
But this is exactly what you expected, and this is what Origin drafted for. They knew that they were going to get kicked in the bot lane. That's why they have such a defensive bot lane, whereas Origin are now putting all of their eggs in the Alphari basket, getting him so much safety to again try to abuse Whippo, and now turning towards Nuke Duck. But here's the dive.
You see the dive. Broxa now stepping forward. Patrick has to be careful about how he's going to approach this one. Does move out now. The immediate knockup is going to follow. Patrick all but set to fall. First blood going over to Reckless. Just the start Fnatic wanted.
And the question was, can Patrick and Mithy hold the door against Reckless and Hilly? And Fnatic says no. Slams it shut. First blood to Vayne.
And it's a signature early bot lane tower dive here from Broxa. We saw it before on picks like the Nocturne, but the Rek'Sai looks so much better for him. Great start here for Fnatic.
Exactly the start they needed to build that confidence coming into Game 3 when their backs are against the wall. And this is what we talk about when we talk about Brox, is that yes, sometimes he does play stock standard jungle. Sometimes he's predictable, but sometimes he takes these risks. He goes for these big plays, and you look at the bottom side of the map. Nice elixir there in the inventory of Patrick, but the mana crystal not so nice. Using the TP, and that's all he's going to have.
That is such a painful back timing for Patrick. At this point, he really just wants to shove the lane in, try to get a reset, and he immediately backed so he can get something more viable like the tier. Fnatic at this point, which is why Hilly is starting to rush towards them, want to keep Patrick and Mithy in this lane to abuse that type of back difference, which is why they're pulling Cold here. They're like, you need to help us shove in this lane so we can actually get Patrick onto a useful item.
Yeah, Cold will be seen walking over the ward there, but again, it's not about the gank here. Although actually he cancels the reset. So because Broxa knows Cold was down here, he's going to walk in towards the top side of the enemy jungle. Raptors have respawned and Krugs are also up, so it means he can seal away at least one of those camps.
Good look for Broxa. Will match up now in the jungle CS difference as Cold spends a ton of time on the bottom side, gets that back, and immediately turns his attention towards the top side to pick up Krugs, to back up Alphari if necessary. But we check in on the rest of the lanes. Everything relatively even in the mid lane. Top lane, though, already heavily Alphari favored. We've yet to see Alphari be kind of a big threat on the Kennen. Didn't see it as much in game 1. Was so much about the rest of the team. Maybe this is the game where it changes, but for now, Nuke Duck in trouble. A perfect prison to stop Broxa from moving forward and finding the knock-up means that Nuke Duck can back away.
Mithy.
Ooh, spotted out by the Tremor Sense there.
Now Cold is up towards this top lane, uses the EQ over the wall, doesn't know there's a ward in this bush, so Whippo should be able to get the channel of the recall off unless Cold walks up to stop him, but he doesn't have the spells for it. Just came up.
And Whippo not scared. He is going to back off here, and Whippo has outplayed these tower dive situations before, but is he going to take the risk and step forward up against OG?
Look at the call, though. Broxa had the ability to walk up towards the top lane and prevent the dive, but he says, no, I don't think Cold's going to go for it. Cold ends up walking away. That means Broxa makes it toward the top side and can take the crab.
Yeah, and there's just limited information for Origin to play with there. They choose to play it safe. They don't exactly know where Broxa is. Again, that unpredictable pathing coming to fruition and saving Whippo. And again, Whippo, when he cheats forward like that, yeah, he's got the flash. He can look for the outplay, but you're like, okay, this guy's staying on the tower. Surely someone's behind him. And it opens up this type of window for Fnatic to look for a play bot.
And there's no doubt the top side is going well. The side of OG, but Fnatic are dominating the bottom side of the map. Reckless stepping forward, the chain CC comes out. Nemesis ready to just point and click down. Mithy is going to try to move out, but Mithy survives. TP burned on the bottom side. Alphari only level 5. No threat of re-engage, but absolutely a Fnatic favorite dive.
Yeah, Origin are able to stay alive, though, but at the same time, it's Whippo pushing down the top lane, trying to pick up some turret plates as well. So Origin spend a lot to not lose harder in this bottom lane, but you can see the CS is starting to get a little out of hand here as Reckless is up 15.
TP now back to the top side coming in.
That's a Braum.
From Braum to
All
hold
right.
the wave.
Give me some money. He still thinks he's playing Taric.
That's good.
I mean, you might as well.
Attack speed Braum. That's what we're going to see here.
He has
Final
the Unsealed
game.
Spellbook, of course, so it's not like he took the teleport himself. His flash was on cooldown from that dive, so just uses that summoner to cycle through, and maybe going to set
Stepping
up some
down.
vision here for Alfari. I don't think looking for the gank is possible.
We've been waiting for this one. Of course, Alfari does have the level 6 now, but difficult situation once again for the bottom lane. 61 CS to 38. You check at the level discrepancy. Reckless level 6 now to Patrick's level 4. Very, very difficult spot for the Ezreal to be in, and it feels like Fnatic will just probably try to rinse and repeat these dives.
I mean, the short and sweet of it is that Patrick and Mithy are in a bad way. This is not where they want to be. They're going to get dove repeatedly at this point, and it's just about what can Origin get on the other side of the map.
Yeah, Fnatic setting this up very well. They slow push this wave in bottom lane. Notice how Bwipo is pathing straight towards bot lane. Even without the TP, he's on the move. Nemesis waiting for them to return to the lane. Broxa in the river as well. So Origin are like, guys, we can't really do anything at the moment. Patrick still level 4 will continue to be denied.
And the reality is this is so much more punishing because it is something like a Mountain Drake that you're also playing
Oh,
control.
Mithy. Oh, Mithy gets deleted. The fight will immediately turn. Unbreakable has been used. Mithy's still alive. Now comes the flag and drag in. Hylissang has grabbed the kill. Cold and Nukeduck now on the tree. But Bwipo is stepping forward. Fnatic have the momentum in this fight. They're going to keep moving forward. 2 kills picked up for Fnatic.
I don't know why Cold jumped in right there. It was a brilliant setup from Fnatic, waiting inside their jungle for the pick, but then Cold just throws himself into the fire as well for 2 kills.
It's also just a bad read. You didn't have information about where Bwipo was. Origin should have just run it down the mid lane and tried to pressure the tower to force Fnatic to move out of that position. You didn't have TP on Thari. You were never going to win that.
Yeah, it really takes me back to 2018 Bwipo, who would constantly sacrifice himself in the lane, losing minions to make rotation plays. Back then, it was to help Caps in the mid lane. Now, Reckless back in full carry mode for Fnatic. He gets the support once more.
Oh, doubling the CS of the opposition. Incredible thus far, 82 to 43. Patrick, who has looked so good in the first 2 games, now put in a severe deficit. The luxury of late game scaling no longer the threat that it once was.
I mean, to be fair to Patrick and Mithy, their job was to kind of lose as gracefully as possible to Reckless and Hylissang this entire series, just by definition of the picks that they were put on. So I don't want to just slam him for that CS discrepancy.
No, I mean, after those first few plays, this man cannot approach the wave to auto-attack Froskern, and it feels like things are not going to get easier as Vayne gets closer and closer to that first item. When we look back on this play, it seems like OG had the wrong read.
Yeah, Origin have no idea where Fnatic are. They were like, I thought they were in the river. Why'd they do that? Mithy gets hooked up, and Cold, it's a huge blunder by him to go in.
But again, you had the vision and the information that they weren't on the Dragon. The minion wave was already forced towards the mid tower. Just hit it. Fnatic will have to respond or will have to move position.
What it was a little bit of greed from Mithy, thinking, I need to get bot lane to get towards Patrick. The fastest way possible is through river instead of looping around through his jungle, which would have been considerably more time. And maybe if he gets there, maybe if they aren't there, they can get the minion wave. But they were. Fnatic knew what to do and are now in a very good position in this game.
Good news, of course, for the side of OG. Still 2 strong points on the map in terms of top and mid lane. Cole being built by the Kennen, slowly stacking up 64 creeps, 60 rather, remaining now as it's 85 to 61, and a small CS advantage for Nukeduck, but Nemesis doing very well thus far on the Cassandra.
Now I look forward to the next minutes of the game. When is the next play around this bottom lane? You know, Origin have some summoner spells back up. Mithy, Flash, and Heal will be returning shortly, but the way Fnatic have been playing and the way they have been so successful, especially in the second half of the split, is Broxa starting his plays around mid lane. Walk up, that means Nemesis gets to go melee range to the minions, basically push up the wave, and then look for these rotations. They will constantly use their control wards inside of this river in key brushes like the Pixel or the bush Broxa is sitting in right now to make sure that that walkway down towards bottom lane is completely clear of enemy wards. And almost like Origin's best option in this case is just swap lanes and get out of this, because Fnatic will constantly be looking for the dive. The difference is Cold is under the tower.
Now pulling back here. Have to play this one perfectly or they will get taken out. Breakfast getting more and more threatening. Level 6 for the Pyke. The resets can come in, but they're trying to take down Nemesis before the fight even kicks off. He will make it back over the wall. Only 3 stacks of the concussive blow. The retreat comes in from Fnatic. Nothing else going to drop down here.
They managed to survive, but of course expending the TP there. But it was always a question of, are Origin eventually going to just trade this bot lane, sack it, and then try to get something else, trade objectives, maybe like the Herald, especially with Drake also being down, or were they going to try to set a trap? And unfortunately, I feel like they expended more, so despite the fact that they didn't die there, it still feels like a win for Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, they're constantly trying to bail Patrick out of this lane, but it's a level 6 Ezreal at 11 minutes. Reckless is level 8, Bwipo is level 9. I mean, he is hopelessly behind here with only 61 minions to his name, and now we actually see some movement. Alfari is very far forward, has the flash though, but Brox is behind.
Now pulling back, has to be smart about how he plays this one. Ulti coming out, trying to burn out the ulti from Alfari, but I just feel like it's not the right choice. The revival is there. Alfari now set to fall, does have the stopwatch, will not use it, and Bwipo grabbing the kill.
And finally, with Origin trying to give all these resources to bail out bot lane, it leaves Alfari exposed. And I'm almost curious if this is an issue where we know that Mithy is a big voice, we know that he's been shot caller in the past, if this is Origin's attention getting focused down here because you have someone like Mithy saying, no, 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 unlock me, unlock me, unlock me.
Oh, Cold looking to the engage, but Broxa quick on the fingers to use the tunnel and escape. It is looking rough now for Origin, and I like that you bring that up because it's like if Mithy has to focus so much on just staying alive in the 2v2, how do you make those calls that say Broxa is headed up topside?
And again, talking with Yamato, he was talking about one of the strategies was when you were facing the old school Mithy is you just camp his lane. You try to put Mithy behind because he was known as a shot caller and a very loud voice. And if you can distract him, you can slow down Origin, who are such a tempo-reliant team.
And of course, just shutting down that voice, shutting down the ability for them to make these clean calls feels like it opens up so many opportunities across the map. And Fnatic absolutely comfortable here in this game. 3K gold advantage, Reckless on the Vayne. You've got a near dream team on the top side in terms of Fnatic comfort picks. And Patrick has to be careful about how he approaches here. Still very behind in this game.
Yeah, but Origin did make the right call, I feel, to rotate up towards this top side. Unfortunately for them, Reckless is playing an AD carry that runs the teleport. So on the Vayne, he has the ability to side lane against the Kennen. Probably not great in the 1v1, or he can just reset TP immediately back top lane, look to gain priority, damage on tower, or potentially the Herald.
And there's just a big item difference. Reckless now has his completed item. When he pops his final hour, he's also going to have all of those stats behind him. So he is a very terrifying champion at this point, and that gives Fnatic to have confidence like that, to play for the tower and the Herald at the same time.
So for a second, Nukeduck was moving up, but he decides against it. Again, Origin are in full damage control at the moment while Fnatic walk all over them. They're trying to stop the bleeding, but the Herald goes down. Top lane turret may fall before plating even drops, so this gold lead will continue to balloon more and more for Fnatic.
And it's just the idea that Origin are just watching this happen instead of trying to set up maybe pressure around the Infernal Dragon, maybe clearing out vision to try to look for a pick. They're literally just watching Fnatic take the game away from them instead of trying to make proactive plays.
Well, here we go. We got one bot.
So I thought Alfari now needs to retreat. Nukeduck gonna step. Just block the creep wave, waiting to step forward now. They're gonna try to block it out the point, click CC. Nemesis gonna flash away to safety, but a TP now burned bot side by Bwipo. No ultimate available for the chase. Pyke now moving forward, uses the ulti. Ooh, almost gets Patrick on the shift out, but Hillsang definitely going to be in trouble. Has already dashed. Will dash out.
Wait, they got a kill.
Now going to get more on the bottom side. Alfari using the ultimate here. Cold now coming in as well. Ultimate comes in from the Ezreal. Not going to connect on anybody. Cold most likely set to fall here. Will use the Cataclysm. Immediately taken out as Broxa finds the kill.
Fnatic just running over Origin at the moment. They get all those kills with an Infernal Drake spawning one more time. They are playing so proactively in this early game. And Alfari even has to just kill himself. He doesn't know if Fnatic is chasing him or not, so he has to fall down. A Herald is dropped in mid lane as well, so Fnatic just take the entire map into their control.
An absolute dominance now from Fnatic in this game. We thought maybe their mental game would be broke, but you have to remember there are so many veterans on this team. The sheer amount of experience is baffling. Bwipo and Nemesis, the younger players in terms of LEC matches, but the rest of the team, veterans overall.
And it just goes back to that idea, if it's not broken, you know, don't try to fix it. Why did we even enter this best of 5 with so much priority over Sona Taric when Fnatic haven't been forced to show anything else? They go back to standard, they look so much cleaner this time around.
Putting that faith in Hillsang and Reckless, the two most experienced members of the team, and we look on the opposite side, and Fnatic now also set up to focus the youngest member of the OG lineup in Patrick, a guy who's just been repeatedly set up just to kind of survive outside of that game 1.
Yes, he has been. Oh man, still again a 2-level difference between him and Reckless. Reckless in prime position to carry, and now they're just looking for the flank here. Nukeduck doesn't have the flash. That is a fast Pyke and a Vayne coming in on the side. How do you get away from this?
So Hook gonna go. Nukeduck is gonna back away. Oh, he's just gonna get pinned into the wall. He can't stop the Vayne from hitting him. The chain CC is gonna be brutal here. Can he get anything else out of this? Nukeduck trying to sidestep, but you just can't sidestep it. The Vayne finds the auto attacks. Reckless grabs another kill.
You know, one of the things that Origin was so good at during the regular season was just trading objectives, especially when you have the slower early game, but they are not. They're just getting beaten everywhere.
Stepping forward once again, cannot push any buttons. The chain CC from Fnatic in this game is beautiful. We heard the Dex talk about how good OG is about playing this, but Fnatic now looking to match them here in this game. Alfari desperately using the ult, trying to find a kill back, but Rek'Sai goes out, comes right back up, and Bwipo now on a rampage.
Just bleeding across the map. Fnatic now, they have their pick of the litter, and it's the fact that they're taking kills and they're transitioning them into objectives, and that's why Fnatic are springboard and snowballing through this game so quickly. It's that it's a team fight onto a Herald, a team fight or a pick into a tower.
And Origin feel like they're playing on half speed right now, where play happens top lane, wait 20 seconds, then engage bottom lane. Well, Fnatic have already shown up and are ready, and they have no vision to see Reckless and Hylissang on the chase.
And it's devastating against this type of composition. Again, you keep talking about how far Patrick is behind, but with the changes to not having access to double tier, you don't have that same, scaling potential. Yes, Ryze will do a lot of damage, and Ryze's range can match someone like Vayne, but again, there's still so many damage threats on Fnatic's comp. I think at this point, if you're this far behind as Origin's composition, you're looking for a miracle.
Absolutely, Kay. I mean, you look at a champion like Pyke alone, and just how strong that champion is when he gets to snowball. And Alfari, unfortunately, does not have the luxury of focusing down a single opponent in this matchup, as both the Rek'Sai and Aatrox ult are going to make them relatively hard to kill.
Now, something that has plagued Fnatic so far in this series is overreaching for objectives and for kills. Well, right now they're just reaching because Nukeduck in the same position is getting caught.
Point and click, locks down. Hylissang here as well, throws out the death from below, donates a bit more gold over to Fnatic, but it is absolute dominance here in Game 3.
Just completely different look from Origin. Just rolling over and dying right now.
And this is the Origin that I feel like was criticized so much after the G2 series, that once they fall behind, they get a little lost, they don't take the big risks, but Fnatic also, you can't fault them. They've been playing fantastically in this early game.
So now the question was answered. If we go back to standard, Fnatic still have so much teeth, so much bite behind them, but will we get this option? Is this going to be now we turn into the rest of this best of 5, whereas as long as you don't or you deny the crazy picks, Fnatic can just walk through Origin.
Now coming in the claw over the wall, of course, POV stream for Game 4. Didn't know if we were going to have one, but now it's looking a lot more likely. Hylissang or Mithy if you want to vote. The action continues in the mid lane. Once again, an explosive game. Baron not even available yet, but already Fnatic have both a Mountain and an Infernal on top of a 2-item Vayne, on top of a snowball to nearly every member of this team. So OG, once again, in this miracle position that it felt like Fnatic were in Game 1, where maybe they could have made the Sonotaric work, but we're going to have to see if OG can execute.
Yeah, it's a commanding position here for Fnatic, and what we're specifically looking for is what have Fnatic changed in between games? Did they mend some of the issues that they had where they were diving towers, or when they get a big lead like this, can they close? They're answering that question now.
Alfari stepping forward was now pulled back to the middle of the team. They're trying to find all the kills, but they're diving a tower once again. Bwipo going to be resurrecting. Have to be careful here. OG not going to fall down. Flashing out to safety. Nemesis deleted. Nukeduck can now run forward here, and Fnatic overstay their welcome on the bottom side.
Towers are Fnatic's worst enemy this series. Just focus the objective. There's no need to look for these dives and give the opportunity, the chain CC or the CC potential of Braum and Ryze, as well as Alfari from Kennen. Like, don't do it.
I just don't get it. They're up 10,000 gold. They can literally just walk at towers and kill them, but Origin are just too much of a bait, I suppose. Fnatic, again, they see 5v4. It's so juicy, but there's still a teleport on towards this Ryze, and the Zhonya's means that Alfari does not get bursted down right off the bat.
Yeah, and huge credit to that Kennen ultimate. It basically split the fight and put Bwipo on one side of the Kennen ultimate and the rest of Fnatic on the other side. So while he is tanking and doing his job and underneath the tower, there's no follow-up.
Yeah, it's also like, how do you dive a Kennen and a Braum and Ezreal to get away? It's not easy.
Trying to find it. Ezreal, can they take him out? Hylissang now going to be forced to back off. He burned the flash in the earlier fight. Can they get more here? Have to be careful if that health bar gets any lower. We will see the death from below come out. Hylissang goes for a super aggressive play. He saw the flash burn in the last fight, and he wanted to find the kill, but no one is there to back him up.
Nukeduck again in the side lane. He's doing a good job of farming up. He's trying to play this Ryze when the rest of his team is behind and get minions. He's been caught out before, though, and now that Baron is live, this is where Fnatic can close. It becomes so much easier when you have an objective to play around that's not a tower. You know, if you force Origin to come to you, team fighting with this composition is much easier than it is by just running at them with 5 members.
I was just chuckling about that. I was like, it feels like Fnatic just get a massive buff around Baron because they just prefer to fight in jungle rather than fight in lane.
And even then in the last game too, there were questions we had about this Fnatic team. You know, with the Baron buff in particular, where they were split, whether or not they wanted to take it down or turn and fight. So there have been problems for Fnatic, even after 2 very impressive early games for this team. And we already saw a stumble here, giving 1 kill over to Origin. It's not a lot. It's not going to change the outcome of this game. But all the Fnatic fans that say they must win 3 games in a row see these cracks in the armor and wonder, can they actually do it?
Get more and more nervous, and obviously for OG 2-0 up already, they can afford to lose a game. They do not want to. They do still have the potential to come back in this game, especially if Fnatic continues to force their fight. But a spectacular series so far for OG. Well, the momentum could shift in the favor of Fnatic for the first time if they can find this game win.
Yeah, it's not just about the momentum, it's about the mind games. You know, if Fnatic win in this composition, it basically reinforces this idea of, let's just play standard. Let's just eliminate all of the variables and we can be the better team. That is huge, especially when you're Origin, which frankly they looked really tilted when they started to lose to G2, who have not shown the ability to kind of bounce back as consistently. They need to close this series.
Very much could be about bouncing back in this game. It's about bouncing back for OG in the series. It's about bouncing back for Fnatic. Vision will go down. Nukeduck is on the bottom side. Immediately you start to see him run up.
Yeah, he doesn't have the teleport himself, so Realm Warp is his only option to enter the fight. There is a flash on this cannon. They can look for the 5 versus 5, but it's a tough one to win.
Moving over the wall, immediately they try to get the fight kicked off. Cold so incredibly low. Eyes on Hylissang where the reset's going to come in. Death from below, he can aim for Mythy, but Cold stops the resets in its tracks, but Fnatic still winning the fight. Nukeduck off to the side. Reckless looking for the 1v1. He wants to take Nukeduck out. He sees the last damage that remaining. Brox is going to be ready with the ultimate, but they're just moving forward. Nukeduck going to get taken down here, and Fnatic free access to move down the mid lane. They already got the Baron, and they may just look to crush the base.
There's only 2 members of Origin alive. They will blast this one open. Fnatic finding the mark earlier than they could in game number 2, looking to close before Origin can come online.
Huge swing of confidence from Fnatic. They could just look to end here. Patrick and Alfari, rather, for Fnatic now looking to end. Cold going to be respawning shortly. Mythy here. It could come down to one final fight. Hylissang, though, caught out in the middle of the team and just dies. Diving the towers once again, turns against Fnatic. And OG will hold on. The Baron buff still backing Fnatic up.
Just not respecting the death timers, as well as the fact that Fnatic didn't have the cooldowns available to them. You look at Nemesis, he doesn't have the Lissandra ultimate. That's a completely different end if you can threaten with the potential dive from Lissandra. But again, underneath their own arrogance, Fnatic don't close the game. They just collapse.
They're tilting me with these turret dives. Like, come on.
Of course, still have a 10k gold lead. Still very much have enough time left on the Baron buff to try to end this game, but have to give a bit more respect to OG, and in that case, the death timers.
But how many times are we going to say you just got to give a bit more respect to these tower dives? You can play the game more methodical, a little bit slower here. The towers are yours. The game is yours, Fnatic. You don't need to be so greedy.
And of course, for Hylissang, has to respect the Braum a little bit more in those exchanges. Not the mobility of the Pike, not quite as fantastic once you have been stacked up on the concussive blows. And as we look back at the fight, you can see Fnatic playing this one beautifully.
Yeah, Origin know the only way they win is if they fully commit to a fight. So unfortunately, they just don't have the damage. It's Patrick there from the start. Nukeduck is zoned on the bottom. Reckless eventually chases him away, but there's no Alfari as well. So you're fighting 3v2 effectively at the start, so it's numbers favored for Origin, but you have absolutely no damage with this Ezreal that just got completely bodied in the lane phase.
Just shows the mindset from Fnatic and Reckless in particular. The fact that he's flashing forward at the rise because he knows he can go for the duel.
Yeah, and Reckless, of course, at an incredibly strong point, has the Phantom Dancer now as well. So in terms of dueling, this Vayne is terrifying. Nukeduck now 1-4. And after the monumental performance there in Game 2, surprising to see him knocked down so far, but that is the strength of Fnatic in this game.
Feels like the Phantom Dancer changes were really kind of what put the crit ADCs over the top, the fact that it gives you that lifeline passive now, and really took a lot of wind out of Ezreal sails. You know, it felt like Ezreal kind of sat in the same position on the tier list, but every other ADC jumped above him because he can't itemize into Phantom Dancer like they can and get all of these defensive and offensive benefits.
Yeah, especially for those shorter range carries like the Vayne here, as Fnatic press on forward towards this tower. They're teleporting behind Origin, are looking for the fight to try and keep their hopes alive.
Realm Warp now coming in with a position right against the wall. Far onto the backside, focusing down. Hylissang immediately turning back. That's a beautiful start to the fight. 2 members immediately deleted. Now is the time to turn, but Bwipo is alive and well. Broxa leaping forward, trying to lock down 1 member. He's going to try to take down Nukeduck. Now that's 1. Looking for Alfari next. The ultimate already burned. The fight turning against them. Fnatic, I cannot believe it. Reckless and Hylissang die immediately. But in what is a 3v5, Nemesis, Bwipo, and Broxa are going to try to find the turn. Alfari looking for the outplay. Smite comes in, looking for the knockup. Is going to get it down. 1, 2. That's going to be it. Fnatic right here, their backs against the wall. They find the fight. They turn the fight against Origin, and they are going to find the win to bring themselves back into the series.
The reverse sweep is still on the cards here for Fnatic. A dominant showing in the early game up against Origin. And at the end, they didn't even need their bottom lane. Their bottom lane that got everything in this match. It was still 3v5 and they pulled out the victory.
But it completely changes the dynamic of this best of 5. Are we going to see Origin now try to run back with a standard-oriented composition, 5v5, let's just play it out, everyone on their comfort picks, or is Origin going to try to put Fnatic again off the back foot? They saw how much success they had when you forced them off of their comfort picks.
And now Fnatic, you can see the smiles coming out on their faces. The pressure was on. They know they pulled out a big win. Say high five to the fans. For Origin, still in a comfortable position, still have a game advantage. It's still only going to take them one more win to close out the series, but have to be smart as how they approach this next game.
Yeah, Origin gonna have to clean up the early a little bit. I feel like that's 2 games in a row. In game number 2, they were able to outscale, they were able to hold the line. Game number 3 was not the same story here for Origin, so they must stop the bleeding early on, and then it's a very different series.
If you're going to take the standard no Sonateric, I think that you can't just have a defensive bot lane. Yes, I like that for Origin because they have been shown that they can play around utility picks on their bot lane, but if Fnatic are going to do that to you, I think you have to bring firepower. You need to try to take it to them, especially for how important Mithy is for trying to direct this team. Get him ahead, Origin look like a completely different team because you've unlocked one of your key voices.
Yeah, I also need to see Cold play for mid lane more often because this time around it was Brox and Nemesis just running bot lane and smashing 4v2 tower dives. If Cold can try to control mid lane a little bit more and put Nukeduck in a position where he can be the one to move or just to win that mid lane matchup, that gives them so much more ability to play in the early game.
And we saw early game that Cold was the one who split the map, top side. He thought he was setting himself up for success, but he set up Broxa perfectly to move down to the bottom side. And after what was an incredibly Fnatic level 2 trade where we saw so many sums burnt, where we saw so much damage going down on this Origin bot lane, it felt like Fnatic were just in complete control. And it seems like once this team is dictating the pace, there's just not a lot you can do.
Again, it's also that confidence. We talked about how Fnatic kept going for those tower dives, but it's also the fact that it worked early on. Fnatic now know, hey, if we play through bot lane, we can crack them. Like, Reckless and Hilly are probably thinking, we're the better 2v2. We will challenge you every single time. And with that confidence, we've already seen how terrifying they can be.
Yeah, and they'll be looking for picks like the Pike again, that they can be active with in their 2v2 bottom lane. It was something that was so strong for them in the regular season, counter-picking for support so that Reckless can find the engagements that allow Fnatic to win those trades, to make those dives happen, and just snowball through bot lane.
And it does feel like this is where we see the mismatch of these two teams in the sense that Fnatic absolutely want to play through their bot lane and OG need their bot lane to at least be doing okay because Mithy is such an important voice. And it feels like in that lens, bot lane can be so incredibly Fnatic favored. But to get more insight on Game 3, let's hear from our analysts.
Thank you very much, guys. Fnatic has entered the building. I think they were, I don't know where they were. I don't know what happened, but they got a game on the board, and now we have a completely different ball game here in the Ahoy. So let's talk about how they won this Game 3 with their backs against the wall, Maurice. You said it doesn't feel like Fnatic in the previous games. Was this the Fnatic you wanted to see, and what did they do well in this game?
It actually is the Fnatic that I wanted to see. Against OG, I think it's really important to shut down Mithy in general because he's obviously going to be the one that facilitates roams, that facilitates almost like how they play. So I think shutting him down and actually playing towards the bot side of the map is really, really impactful. And Reckless is also the one that has been the most consistent member on Fnatic and has always been to be counted on when it comes down to it.
I feel like this is the type of game that signifies what all the analysts predicted when we think of Fnatic beating OG. It is all about creating that pressure into the bottom side, Reckless taking over the game when he reaches his power spikes. We saw the early dive on bottom, and all of a sudden they were in a driving position because all of a sudden Hilly-san could be more creative, Reckless could take over the game, and all was good.
Yeah, as we take a look at those early replays, it kind of is a perfect fit because you want Fnatic to play to the bot lane, and you also know that was a weak point for OG versus G2. So then I asked myself the question, why didn't you do this the last 2 games? What enabled them to do it this game?
I mean, first of all, the Sonateric is out of it, so that helps a lot. And honestly, having this kind of setup, especially with Brox and Cole kind of trading sides, allowed them to play to the bottom side way earlier than they usually can. Whereas OG had no response whatsoever and couldn't actually respond to the early dive.
I feel like OG is very prepared for these cocktail situations when new champions appear because they are known for their versatility. Fnatic is known for their foundation. They have the same picks all over and over, and they make it work because they've actually achieved mastery on these champions.
Yeah, and one of the picks we highlighted in their dream composition is the Aatrox for Bwipo. And I also don't think he's had the best day so far, but now in this game, he goes absolutely off on his favorite pick. So that's good, because if you know that you're sometimes taking fights that aren't that favorable in games 1 and 2, and you need to be proactive, you want Bwipo to play like this. The problem is that it's a double-edged sword. So what do you guys make of this guy in Fnatic and how he's been playing so far?
I think he has been really volatile. In some games he has been carrying, in other games he has been feeding there's no tomorrow. But I think it's more about how they play around him. I think whenever he has some kind of resources coming into him, where Broxah or especially Nemesis roam towards the top lane, he's actually playing really well. So he needs some kind of advantage in the game to basically play off of. And if he doesn't have that, he's basically going to be too volatile for his own good.
Can that be himself in a good lane matchup or help from the jungler, or is it only by help from the jungler?
I think it's by the help of the jungler and by the help of the mid laner, because honestly, Alphari is too good in lane to actually do anything against, and I think given actually like having the Ken Aatrox matchup is maybe even bad for them, whereas I think they can opt into something like the Vladimir and basically just play a bit safe on the top lane, don't allow Bwipo to play into that.
I feel like it's so crazy because Alphari is one of the best top laners in terms of laning that we have in Europe. But I feel like the resources that he's getting from his team, they're just not there. We saw the Nemesis ganks, we saw also the Broxah ganks. Great timing ganks, but absolutely no impact from Cold in the top lane. And it makes me question the champion choice in Kennen, as Amazing just said.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the whole draft actually from the side of OG. And of course, the thing that jumps out here as well is it's the first time we see standard versus standard. In a position where it's standard versus standard, how much lower do OG's chances get?
I think plenty much lower, especially if they decide to pick the Braum into the Vayne. I think Vayne gets a free matchup. I feel like there's no creativity there. I want to see the Tahm Kench, I want to see the utility coming from the bot lane, and a kind of situation where the mid lane can transition the pressure into the bottom as well.
Yeah, I would not just like to see utility. Honestly, if you play against Fnatic, you have to shut down Reckless in some kind of way. So honestly, playing lane-centric champions like the Ashe, like the Varus maybe even would be good for them, instead of opting for an Ezreal who's just going to scale and be counterpicked, and then you give basically everything that Fnatic wants to them.
Now, Amazing, you were of course in the position where you played versus Fnatic in the summer finals. You guys won game 1 very convincingly. You also had Nukeduck, you also had Gyotto, but you guys lost steam. You also went for that Ezreal pick further in the series. Are you starting to see similarities, and do you think there's a problem in kind of the choices that OG makes when the series go on in confidence?
Maybe Gyotto is not as confident as he sometimes likes to say he is or should seem to be. I think in some kind of crucial things, and especially crucial situations like this one, he has to just put the foot down and say, okay, we're going to play the style that we've learned, we're going to continue to play it and not defer from it. And I think that's something that I've seen multiple times now, where he just honestly has to be more confident in himself, because his pick bands, when they're on, they're on.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's also why he's coach of the split. And I think, you know, the way we speak about Fnatic after only getting 1 win, I think goes back to how we talked about them at the beginning of the show, Yamato, because you said these guys, they have what it takes to take that step, you know, to go further. So if you give them 1 game, you have to be scared of them. However, I don't want to go too far, because OG crushed them in the first 2 games, and it's very hard for me to think about what's going to happen in this series going forward in that regard.
I feel like OG, probably they need to pick blue side. I don't know what side they're going to choose, but I feel like they need to free up some bans, because they're banning Kayle, Sylas, and all of a sudden Vayne is a big issue. They couldn't find a way to shut it down. Draven was also getting banned. I feel like they need to bring up another trick that they had up their sleeve, because always when they know what's coming towards them, they bring up the insane drafts that actually manhandles the enemy team.
Yeah, and if you're OG, you know that in game 4, they're going to pick something again from Fnatic that works for Reckless. And you know they're going to go towards that bottom lane. I think that's something that's a given. So do you then work specifically to shut that down, Maurice? Because Reckless is the guy that played out of his mind last game.
And you just got to do it. Honestly, Reckless, and there's so many things you can say about him. Yeah, maybe in the regular season he sometimes doesn't show up, or he has some kind of weird things happening where he's like too focused on certain champions. But when it counts, honestly, he is clutch. He will win you games no matter what. So if you don't attack him early and he basically just shut it down completely, where he doesn't feel comfortable at all, and he maybe has to scale into 3-4 items and cannot power spike as early as they did this game, Fnatic is a different team, and Reckless is a different player. So they have to do that and then see where that goes and where it leads them.
Is this all boiling down to what happens in the bot lane? Yes, if the jungles visit or not, but are those the matchups that are going to decide the series?
For sure, because if we look at the other side of the map, I feel like the impact that the kind of pressure they create towards Zafari is just non-existent. And then we speak about which players are going to enable the gameplay of course, OG is always Nuktak and Mythi. Right now, Nuktak is getting the good matchups, but nothing is happening for Mythi. Sonataric was fancy, the Blitzcrank was good, then all of a sudden you saw the Mythi that has those MVP performances with the Blitz, hooking everyone all over the place. I want to see something similar.
Yeah.
I personally want to see a Tahm Kench and an Ashe.
A Tahm Kench
With a
and
Vayne
Ashe.
ban. With a Vayne ban.
Tahm
With a
Kench
Vayne
is the
ban.
worst
Yeah.
performing support in Europe, and Mythi is 2 wins, 4 losses on it. So
Those
I don't
4
know.
losses were very early.
Okay,
Very
okay,
early.
it doesn't
Early
count.
OG.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count. So let's look ahead then. OG, they picked blue side for the next game. That's a change of pace, right? Now they find themselves on the blue side. Where are they going? Are they looking for the pick for Nukeduck? Are they waiting? What's the plan?
I think honestly, if I were them, I would just go for jungle pile. I basically just pick the strong jungle champion there is, maybe opt for the Rek'Sai again. Because honestly, I think in this series, especially against someone like Boxer, who is really, really good at the early game, especially when he has a jungle pile matchup, you have to take that away to a certain extent. I think on blue side, you can do that easily. The Kinner didn't look that strong for them either, so why not opt for the Rek'Sai if it's open?
I feel like blue side is the wiser choice because they need to free up some bans. They need to create space to ban because Silas is a permaban on red, and something that they've been banning the entire series is the KO. They have now room to ban the Vayne, ban the Lissandra. They can create situations where they can dictate the pace more. Because I don't think Nuktak will be in a worse matchup because he blind picks. I think it's all about just freeing up bans and creating a situation where they get a better bot lane draft.
Yeah, because mentality-wise, you know, you're still on match point, and that's a tough one because you know you just lost that game, and it seems like you're up against it. But you gotta remember, you're on match point, 1 game, and you're in that final. What are your gut feelings say? What does your gut feeling say? Is Origin closing it out, or are we going to Game 5?
I'm seeing a Game 5 coming. It has to happen too.
Ooh.
I feel like if I could see the draft before I make my prediction, I feel like it would be
That's
way
a lot
easier.
easier
Like
too.
if OG
That's
can
cheap.
like put up, like have another trick up the sleeve, I'm very confident in my prediction. But right now, Fnatic, if they can continue at the same path, we're going to have a Game 5, and we're going to have a beautiful series at their hand.
Fantastic. Well, it was do or die for Fnatic, and it still is. They did secure a crucial win to stay in the series, and Game 4 is coming up next. Don't miss it.
Broxa now stepping forward. Patrick has to be careful about how he's going to focus. One does move out. Now the immediate knockup is going to follow. Patrick all but set to fall. First blood. Unbreakable has been used. Mythi's still alive. Now comes the flag and drag in. Hylissang has grabbed the kill. Cold and Nukeduck now on the tree. But Whippo is stepping forward. Fnatic have the momentum in this fight. They're going to keep moving forward.
Is a drum here? Just kill these kids. I like it a lot.
2 members immediately deleted. Now is the time to turn, but Whippo is alive and well. Broxa leaping forward, trying to lock down 1 member. He's going to try to take down Nukeduck. Now that's 1. Looking for Alfari next. The ultimate already burned. They find the fight. They turn the fight against Origin, and they are going to find the win to bring themselves back into the series.
And welcome back everyone, Lohi, and this time I'm with the Physio. Thank you for joining me. There was no way we wouldn't talk to you when your team is playing on stage. So what are you doing backstage today?
Well, we obviously spend most of the time today, Expect and I, with the booth we have outside with all the fans. Then during the games, I was hoping to sit down and relax and watch Origin just win a bunch of games, and great start. But obviously last game was pretty rough for the guys, so hopefully we bounce back.
Yeah, great start. As you said, you're still a game ahead, and the next one could be the last. So what happened in Game 3? You looked so confident.
I mean, I think it seemed in Game 3 Fnatic got exactly what they wanted. The Vayne obviously got the first, or they dove the bot turret and secured like an advantage there, which is exactly what they want. Patrick was really far down. So I think Fnatic got to execute what I consider the Fnatic strategy, where you get Reckless going on something that can really take over the game. I think going forward, I'm sure the guys will adapt to that as well. And to me, this was just one-off game. I think the first two games have been really fantastic to watch. Game 1 on our side, amazing, and Game 2, the comeback, really showing strength there. So I'm looking forward to Game 4 right now.
Good to hear. I'm looking forward to it too. Now, let me throw you something. What is your take on Origin having a hard time getting the momentum when in difficult situations, like we've seen earlier?
I think it's obviously a very hard question. I don't think there is any issue there specifically. I think when you play against a team like Fnatic or G2, there's just so many skilled players on both sides that it's really, really hard to say that like one team should just get the momentum and then run with it or try and get it. I think in this case here, strategy is a huge part of it in the draft. I think we have shown now that we can beat Fnatic. I think Fnatic has shown in the last game they can beat us, which sets it up very nicely for the next game. But I think we actually have mentally very, very strong players, and we also have Fabian and our sports psychologist behind the team to always make sure that they can actually refocus, and I'm expecting them to bounce back super strong.
And we'll see about that in a few minutes. Now, you were mentioning some kind of booth, I think, before. Nice. So we got many team booths right now in the Ahoy Arena, but why should we pay a visit to the Origin booth?
There's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, first of all, it's the Origin booth, right? That should almost be reason enough. But both me and Expect are going to be there all the time from 12 p.m. and forward. So you come meet us, take pictures. We have a super sick photo booth where you can go in and do like a really fun experience where you have to pose like the pros in a funny way and see how good you are. Hint, hint, Amazing was actually really good, so go check out his Twitter for that one. And we also have a gaming station if you just want to come play. And you can also sign up for our new fan club that we have with Origin for free. So we have a bunch of stuff happening, and I hope to see everyone there tomorrow.
Great. Now you guys know where to go. Thank you, Martin, for your time.
Thank you.
And back to the casters for the game.
Physio trading out analysis for a distinct love of booths. Always interesting, of course, here's insight on the team. And I think exciting as we head into this next game to see exactly what the mentality is going to look like for both these squads, how exactly they want to draft. As a reminder, you can check out HUnggry's POV stream over at twitch.tv/RiotGames2. Maybe we get a Pike game again.
That would be
Maybe
sick.
not. It's always tough to tell with the POV streams. I feel like every time we swap to a player, they always immediately go play one of the more boring champions in their role. But since HUnggry is not a Tom Kench player,
you need to be a better sellout like Deficio.
Cautiously optimistic.
Okay, you can work on it.
All right.
I do have some answers about that draft, though, because you were kind of proposing, it's game 4. Fnatic now get that mental reassurance that, yes, if it is standard that they can win. Now, the losing team gets to pick side selection, so Origin have opted into the blue side. And we were actually talking about this before draft.
Exactly, because what we're wondering is, does Origin ban the Sona like Fnatic did on blue side? Right off the bat, I'm inclined to believe no, because when Fnatic ran it in game 1, Origin had absolutely no problem with that. So then that asks the question, does Fnatic ban it on red side because they can't play it up against Origin, who can shut them down early? You're wondering if they trade out a ban, potentially something like the Karthus, they could remove in favor of that pick, but no, they banned it away right off the bat.
Sona ban going to be coming out, but the Vayne ban as well, limiting some of those champions for Reckless to play, making sure he can't be comfortable.
So the kind of staple 2 bans from Red side from Fnatic have been Draven and Sylas. And with one of those bans being expended to the Sona, one of these champions is going to get through. And with the champion pool shrinking from Reckless by taking away the Vayne and the Sivir, I'm curious if they're going to take away the Draven just so Patrick can't throw down the axe and say, okay, what do you have to take this on?
Yeah, you almost have to ban the Draven because you're not going to pick it yourself for Reckless. He hasn't proven himself to be a Draven player. So with Sylas open, Origin, of course, are going to lock that in. There's so many options you can use with this pick. You steal enemy ults, have a great team fight, have a great laning phase. He just basically does it all.
And now I feel like we're forced into a situation where Fnatic have to pick an AD carry in these first 3 picks at some point. It might be the first rotation, it might be that last pick on Red side, but the pool for Reckless is shrinking by the minute now. However, we do get once again a comfort pick for Broxah in the jungle.
I mean, the pick that you would assume that Reckless is going to go for is something like the Kai'Sa in tandem with Hilly's Alistar, but I doubt that we're going to see those champions paired up together. They'll probably get one or the other, and then Origin will deny the rest.
Difficult here now already with the Sylas being locked in. We see Lissandra on the opposite side. When for Sylas first came out, I felt like a lot of times the answer was to just not draft useful ults, but already getting 2 that give him a ton of kill pressure in the mid lane, paired as well now with the Skarner.
Okay, so it's going to be the Skarner and not the Jarvan. Of course, this was banned in the last game, so Cold prefers to stick on this champion, force Fnatic to pay the QSS tax, and use that single target lockdown to initiate fight. Now for Nukeduck, the Rise is still open for him. He's proven that he's comfortable playing that up into the Lissandra, but has not been a pick that he's been able to overly dominate on so far this series.
And when it comes to support champion pools, there are very few unique individual picks, Pyke being one that goes into the pocket of Hylissang, but the Tahm Kench, something that's unique to Mithy in terms of this matchup, something Hylissang almost never touches, but we have seen OG, when they can get control of the early game, take over the map with a pick like Tahm Kench.
But they usually pair it in tandem with something like the Ashe or possibly even the Varus. So the thing that Tahm Kench lacks is, of course, the wave control and the wave priority down there, so you need an AD carry that can push quite safely, and then when you pair it with the Ashe, you have so much global utility between the Abyssal Voyage and the Enchanted Arrow.
Yeah, and what that plays into is the 1-3-1 style that we've seen Origin be successful with. You can have a Sylas in a side lane or a strong split-pushing mid laner for Nukeduck. The Tahm Kench is very good at just being mid lane and having the ability to show up in those side lanes if Fnatic were looking to collapse and punish a split pusher.
And with the top side of the map now locked in for Fnatic, I expect we will see more bot side focused bans. The Rakan not only taken away from Hylissang, but making the Xayah option a little less appealing for Reckless as a champion pool once again just continues to shrink.
And that's the idea. It's okay, what do we know Reckless will play? Well, he doesn't have access to the Sona this time around, so you're looking at the old school Xayah, the Kai'Sa maybe, and if they really just want to punch Reckless, then you ban something like a Kai'Sa here, or possibly even an Alistar to make the Kai'Sa less viable.
And you pointed out earlier the Ashe plus Varus picks that Patrick would potentially love to have here. The Varus does get banned away, but Ashe is untouched. The Ezreal also hasn't been found. I'm not sure if Patrick wants to return to that champion they just got messed with in that last game. That was not a good look for him on the Ezreal, but of course it has been a consistent pick for him that he's done pretty well on.
And
so
Ezreal Tahm Kench, though, does feel like hard conceding on the bottom side of the map. It means that we can expect Origin to play more around the top side, but these last 8 seconds, I think, are going to tell us a lot as we see Fnatic's 4th pick here. And the Pyke being locked in is a huge confidence statement from Hylissang.
Yeah, Pyke also not too bad into the Tahm Kench. You can blast through the shield. If he uses that too late with the ultimate, that'll just execute targets. And you can try to pull people away from the Tahm Kench with some of the utility in your kit.
But it's also the fact that they're giving last pick to Reckless, trying to get him more information about what he's facing in that bot lane. So this still tells me that Fnatic have the same strategy of it is going to be about the bot lane. We need all of the information possible to sculpt out a winning lane phase for Hilly and Reckless.
And this makes me think that it is going to be a Jinx or a Tristana, that they are trying to find one of the last remaining 3-item carries for Reckless to pick up, something that he can be comfortable on. This is why they would want that perfect information.
I actually really like the GP. So GP has been flamed a lot when the LEC top laners lock it in just because he is so diveable. But when you have a GP, when you have something like an Ashe, and when you're facing a team like Fnatic who like to play around the bot lane, GP's ultimate means so much there because he doesn't have to participate in the fight. He doesn't need the teleport available. And again, it's throwing down the gauntlet and saying, okay, Mithy Patrick, now you get a cannon barrage on top of it. Can you hold this Fnatic bot lane?
In the end, it will not be a 3-item period. It'll be the 2-item Kai'Sa. And of course, important for Reckless to find some comfort in that bot lane phase. But The GP now locked in, commits Nukeduck to the mid lane with the Sylas in so many potentially explosive matchups here in the early game.
Yeah, I do like the style here from Fnatic. Another game where they don't necessarily have the cleanest front-to-back team fight later on, but they have a super explosive mid game where they have many dive tools to try and catch you out. Because again, Origin with this composition are looking to spread out across the map and slowly burn you down. Fnatic are going to be trying to attack and stopping that from happening.
But again, the Origin have to survive the lane phase,
True.
and GP can be punished. He can be dove. Rek'Sai Aatrox is so scary and potent. My eyes are actually on Broxah and Bwipo to get some love this game and really try to put Alphari down.
Terrifying though, if we enter the mid game, the potential for global pressure with the Ashe ultimate, the Tahm Kench, the Gangplank as well. And in the nightmare scenario where OG could find a lead in the early game, Sylas with Pike ult is disgusting. But here we are, folks. Once again, it is match point. OG have built their advantage, and now they can look to cash it in with one final game. But I imagine Fnatic and the Fnatic fans in the audience will have something to say about that. They are waiting for a Game 5, for another Fnatic win, and for Silver Scrapes to potentially carry home a Fnatic victory.
And Origin staring them down. One win away from the rematch in Rotterdam up against G2. It's within their grasp now, Dracos. All they need is that one final Nexus, and they're going to the finals.
Pressure on both sides, no doubt. And it feels like both teams, to a certain degree, getting a lot of comfort in this draft. We've got the Ashe Tahm Kench, very quintessential Origin-style bot lane. And if you want to talk about them playing that Korean style, that clean macro style, you know, the Prey and Gorilla special showing up here on stage. But this is it, ladies and gentlemen. It is do or die once again for Fnatic. There is no rest for them after their first two losses, and OG going to look to close it out right here.
Level 1, eyes on Fnatic. You can see a trap possibly set up for Origin, so definitely doing their homework and scouting something out, and we'll see what Nukeduck's able to do here against Reckless.
This is a classic, the dash over the wall. Last time we saw it, it was Hylissang's Rakan, I believe. Abscond, abduct, ready and available. If they shut down Reckless early on, it very quickly can set the pace for this game. Dash forward, holding onto the stun. Nukeduck is just going to walk away. We'll give up a decent amount of lane pressure by starting with that instead of the chain lash into the mid lane.
Well, actually, a lot of the times with Sylas, because you get 2 casts on the E, you can access your passive twice on that first wave, so it's really not a bad spell to take. You also get the shield as well, so even as a melee champion, you're going to be walking up to the wave, approaching, and be able to soak up an auto attack or 2 incoming from Lysandra and try to contest for that level 1 push.
Alphari trying to sidestep here, but a lot of damage Bwipo is laying down. Corrupting Pot is going to help him heal back up to full if Alphari wants to do it. Grasp as well. But reminder that you can check out Hylissang's POV. Twitch.tv/RiotGames2 is the place as we talk about how important this bottom side is for Fnatic.
And for once, the POV stream didn't get baited. We finally have another really exciting champion on Hilly pulling out his Pike, so good work there. Now what I was curious about is which jungler was going to play for the top grab. I think it's really important for Broxah here to secure this for Bwipo, so again, you can try to abuse this matchup, and that's why it's also so important that Nemesis is fighting hard for that priority. But you see the on the way ping, Cold wants to stop that.
Yeah, and at the same time, Broxah is doing the path that Cold actually introduced to the LEC on Rek'Sai, where you start on the Wolves, go to red, go to Krugs, you get a very quick level 3 on the Rek'Sai, and also can confuse your opponents when you come up and look for a gank at awkward timings. He will see Cold walk into the river, so will not be able to contest for that top crab, and probably won't be able to find a gank either.
XP advantage for now, though, will go in the favor of Broxah, but we can see Cold now moving forward, moving into the mid lane. Nemesis has to be careful here, only level 2. Did he take the claw? We're not going to get a chance to find out. It looks like he will back off, and now eyes on the top lane. Alphari with almost no mana. Bwipo potentially in trouble. Broxah now ready to step forward. Where's the flash going to be from Alphari? Has to time this one well. Bwipo in trouble. The flash forward, but a perfect knockup from Broxah denies it right there. Cold needs to pick his target. Alphari's already dead. Has to get to Bwipo. Biding his time, but if he overcommits here, he will just die as well. Bwipo going to dash out to safety zone. Incredibly low red, but picking! Is it going to do it? No, regen is just too much!
So much expended right there, and Bwipo walks away, also has access to the TP, and the wave's in a great spot for him.
That gank should not have worked. We actually saw right before it happened, Cold used a danger ping on the top tri-brush. He knew where Broxah was, but was not able to show up fast enough. Alphari thought he could make the 2v1 happen, but unfortunately was just so close and couldn't finish the kill.
And how many Fnatic victories have started with Bwipo surviving when he absolutely should not? That was the story of the Vitality series. OG need to come back from this.
And the mentality is that once this top crab goes down, you think there's no reason for Broxa to be here. He doesn't have anything to farm. So again, it's that creative early pathing that the crab is down. Alfari, you're probably fine to be this far forward. Surprise, here's Broxa.
Yeah, I just don't understand because they literally called it out. They knew what was going to happen. Now Broxa really wants to shut down Alfari, but it's too far into the tower.
And you have to feel like Alfari just committed to the play, thinking he could find the kill and make it a 1-for-1 because he was 30 health away. And he was so incredibly close, but now it's turned this matchup against him. Despite that, though, managing to hold on to the CS advantage, and of course Gangplank will still be relevant at that level 6 across the map.
Yeah, I would be surprised to see Broxa dive. If you're remembering game number 3, then you're like, oh yeah, here we go. But without the flashes on these two top laners and with the remove Scurvy for Gangplank, it's not the easiest play to pull off. Also keep in mind that crucially, Nukeduck finally has the push in this mid lane. It's one of the reasons why we see Sylas banned so often, because even as a melee champion, he can very easily push through these waves and stop you from moving around if you're a player like Nemesis.
It's also the fact that you're dealing with multiple teleports, so you'd have to make sure that if you went for a top lane dive, it has to be on point and it has to be done quickly. Otherwise, multiple TPs, multiple people in your lane, and you're punished for overreaching again.
As we look across the map, it just feels like very high stakes in every single lane, and no one wants to be the one to mess up so far top. Just the big point is Alfari did kind of fail in that exchange, but the bottom side doing well so far, kind of waiting and biding their time. Ashe alone, getting a lot of that lane pressure early on with just the power of the volley, but Reckless and Hylissang firing back in the level 6 point for this bot side. On both sides, really terrifying.
Yeah, both sides just TPing back. Gonna get the push down now. Of course, Patrick gonna be itemizing into the Bladed Ruin King first. Get that extra sustain and the damage here on the Ashe, who, when she builds the Runans especially, that's an item you don't usually see on a lot of different carries. She gets a lot of AoE damage and can proc the slow onto multiple people. So good itemization here from the Ashe. Of course, top lane Cold is up here.
But once again, the focus, the TP's now coming in. How much time can he buy? He's almost immediately going to be deleted off the face. Alfari is going to pick that one up, and Reckless burning his TP now to the top side. We'll pick up some farm here, but not an ideal exchange.
Now I wonder, is Fnatic just going to full commit to the lane swap? Because Hylissang is running towards the top side of the map. They may just go ahead and do it, because if you look at the CS differential bot side, Reckless down a little bit. He's down 10 currently, and Patrick, Mithy are going to be hard pushing in. They may just be totally comfortable taking the lane swap and saying, we'll get out of the 2v2, we'll get out of the 1v1 and look to burn and trade towers.
The only scary thing there is that it is a Mountain Drake, and we've heard pros continuously talk about how fundamental that dragon can be for early Barons. No flash.
Sorry.
Good footwork.
Look at this bot lane, though. Broxa snuck down in here. There is an Aatrox. It's going to be hard to pull this one off, though, with all summoner spells in the OG duo.
Making sure that he can farm safely for now. We'll clear out that wave, stop any more tower plating from falling. 2, though, going in the favor of OG is going to give them a small gold advantage here early on in what was, honestly, a very chaotic series of play as we have the lane swaps coming out.
Now with Fnatic recalling, I think they might actually just go ahead and gun pack bot lane. They lost 2 turret plates and weren't able to get any of their own. So it wasn't ideal for Fnatic, it seems, to make this swap happen. Of course, they were in a tough position when Reckless was called up for the teleport, thinking maybe they could keep Whippo alive, but he was just level 5 and didn't have the ability to make it back. So they will come back bot lane, go even, and hope to maybe make a play in the coming minutes.
Yeah, and it's not about just absorbing the spells from Reckless and, you know, putting him a little bit farther, that step behind Patrick. It also then buys Alfari time. So it's really nice for Origin that they've now itemized into the Sheen, that Alfari is going to have his flash back up and available, and he will have the cannon barrage up soon. So there's more opportunity as Origin just kind of like absorb the last minute and a half with this weird lane swap type of situation.
It's a little bizarre, but both teams, I think, surprisingly comfortable in this exchange. I imagine that after we saw the lane swap kind of originate in that Splice series, that nearly every team was probably practicing it, if they weren't already, to figure out exactly what they could do in these quick-fire lane swap scenarios. But now waiting to see the level 6s come in. Patrick and Mithy still only level 5 each. Reckless with that solo XP top lane, already the level 6, so could try to use that to make a play here. Hylissang, Reckless moving in. Pyke, I believe, spotted as he was coming on the stealth up, and of course Nukeduck would have gotten a warning as he got closer, but they will back off, so no roam mid lane this time around.
Does feel like the game's maybe a little bit slower than Fnatic would have liked it to be currently. It's just 1-1 on the scoreboard, 8 minutes into the game. It's definitely felt like the slowest game we've had so far all series, which if that is the case, then you do give the scaling advantage of the ability to play 1-3-1 over towards Origin, as it has not been the same story in this bottom lane. Patrick is doing just fine. He has not gotten attention from Broxah to be shut down just yet.
I mean, for me, this Mountain Dragon is just so important for Fnatic specifically because you have someone like Kai'Sa. So if you have Mountain on top of Kai'Sa, your ability to just shred through objectives can completely change this game. If Origin try to play those side lanes and Fnatic just walk towards Baron and say, okay, we have Mountain, we have Kai'Sa, you must fight us.
Yeah, can definitely be the case sometimes. Now, I'm looking at this draft again from Origin. I actually really like the Ashe plus Tahm Kench, and it's one of those things where you usually talk about the Varus and Ashe as interchangeable, but specifically in this game, Patrick has been using the Hawk Shot to spot out Broxah in his pathing. And that is so crucial here if you are on the side of Origin, making sure that he can't find those plays around the bottom lane and that Cold can track him.
Reminder that Nemesis has no cleanse here. And he goes, he's going to look for the point. Click does lock him down. The Fawn not going to come out. They're just going to chain all the CC together. The Abscond, the Abduct, the Impale, literally everything they can throw at Nemesis has been thrown. But his own ulti now coming out to buy a bit more time. But OG are first on the rotation with the power of that Tahm Kench, and they will find the kill.
Broxah sneaking away the Dragon. Origin, I don't even think had priority in bot lane. They made the call to make the rotation up towards the mid lane. They say, we don't have to play through bottom lane. Nuke Duck is the primary carry of this team, and the solo lanes of Origin are doing so well.
Now Fari actually dominating on the top side of the map is huge for this team. I mean, when we look at Bwipo, he is absolutely the high risk, high reward kind of player, and it honestly just feels like right now Alfari has his number, and that's never usually a good sign for Fnatic.
Hold on, skirmish bot.
Both sides can back off.
Just a quick trade there from Fnatic. High risk, high reward, Bwipo, of course. A lot of isolated deaths. Lots of deaths to the 15s, but he gets some solo kills as well, so why not?
It's not just about, what top laner gets what solo deaths, how much you fall down in CS, because statistics don't tell the whole story. I think what's interesting about Alfari and Bwipo is so many pros talk about how potent Alfari is in his individual lane, how he is an incredibly smart laner, he knows how to manipulate the wave control, he knows a lot of different sides of matchups, whereas Bwipo, it feels like he's more focused on how he interacts with Fnatic as a team. He's fine to go down in the CS, he's fine to be the big tank, and kind of like his responsibility to the higher composition. And I think that's what matters more in finding the difference between these top laners.
Hold that thought. Patrick now stepping forward, has burned the ultimate. Rekkles now has to run. They're going to back off. The tongue lash is there. Patrick, flash out. Hillsang, not going to get the ulti there. They are going to return.
Really good trading, yeah. Mithy and Patrick. Mithy also using the Devour to make sure Patrick couldn't be flipped underneath the tower there and take any extra damage on the back end. So there's a very different story. And once again, it's cold around this middle lane. This is something I was asking for after game number 3. Put some priority, put some emphasis on allowing Nuke Duck to shove up and play forward. And all of a sudden, it's Origin with complete control over the other areas of the map because they can move first.
Now Broxah wants to get something back on the top side as he sees his bottom lane falling apart. Cold already moving down to the bottom side. They're looking to get that tower first blood. Broxah hoping to catch Alfari out. All Gangplank ultimate being used. This will clear the wave. This will stop any threat of a dive unless they can try to force right now on the side of Fnatic. But no, good play from Alfari, kind of sniffing out the dive and using that ult just to clear away the wave.
And again, it was a question about how confident they were going to be. Like you said, of course, Alfari could see the entire play before his eyes. Expertly played, says, no, I'm not even going to give you the opportunity. But also then Fnatic saying, we're not going to try to force this. Maybe 2 games ago, Fnatic would have tried for that play.
Yeah, that's been something that plagues them sometimes when they over-push for those advantages. Now, quietly, while Fnatic only have the 1 kill, is Bwipo gonna have to get away. He doesn't have the ultimate quite yet, but Broxah was able to sneak away both the Mountain Drake as well as the Rift Herald. So it's not the early game performance that I think a lot of Fnatic fans would have liked to see, where it's heavy kill early game, putting money into Rekkles' pocket, but instead is much more objective focused here from Fnatic, and they can hope to try and push back in terms of gold at the moment, because right now they are down, but the Herald should equalize that a bit.
But the game feels like it's kind of on this knife edge where we're just about to open up the map, where towers are going to start going down with kind of the next rotation of ultimates, and once we're on an open map, I really like Origin's composition. You talked about the power of Ashe and Kench. One of the coolest things about Ashe is when she decides to go mid, that she can fire the arrow from Fog of War and just completely kill the mid lane tower kind of in one go, depending on who your ultimate hits.
Yeah, and when you're thinking about Fnatic trying to force engagements of their own while Origin are splitting up the map, you wonder where is the hard engage from them. Yes, you have Lissandra, but she's relatively low range. Can you get on top of them? The Pike as well isn't the best tool necessarily. So in games where they have heavy leads early on where they have control of the map, it's very easy to execute on when the enemy has to come to you when they don't know where you are. But if Origin continues to play this slow style where they have vision advantages, they won't ever die to plays that Fnatic try to make.
Bot lane tower will fall in favor of OG, but the Herald has been used top, and Bwipo steps forward to proxy the wave to make sure he can get some damage down here. Now, while gold is going into the pockets of the OG bottom lane, Bwipo going to take a lot of solo gold on the back of this Rift Herald play. We'll start to balance out this lane matchup.
And you could see how vital that was between the gold difference that finally put him ahead of Alphari because he has been sitting behind, or step behind this GP.
Well, the thought hook does come out. Mythy has to be careful. Exactly there on the hill saying they're trying to disengage, but no, in the meantime, play coming out on the top side. It's just going to be Bwipo being deleted here. Alphari and Cold going to find the play.
Yeah, Bwipo didn't even get a chance to pop the ultimate. Now Fnatic wanting to make a play of their own in the mid lane. Broxa and Reckless are here, but can they make it happen?
Has connected on the Patrick, but now Mythy's going to try to save him. The flash out to safety. Patrick, the engage there, denied. The Tahm Kench coming in clutch.
Yeah, Origin are able to win 2 areas of the map at the same time. It's Cold going top lane and mid lane as well, taking a very good trade here. Origin have just a really solid grasp on this game.
But I feel like there's a tempo mismatch here because Origin just used a lot of their key ultimates and the Infernal spawns in 6 seconds. Whereas you look across the side of Fnatic, they have access to everything that they want as well as priority over the mid lane. So while it looked like Origin, we're picking up Bwipo, we're trying to make these plays into the mid lane, it's Fnatic who will have early rotation into Infernal.
It's true, but Origin do look like they want to contest. Cold and Alphari both went for a reset. Cold immediately pathing down towards this side. Alphari was not so sure. He went a little bit, then he's back towards this top lane, and Fnatic were not willing to pull the trigger without good vision themselves.
And right now, with Fnatic falling behind in this composition, it feels so difficult. It feels like OG get to play out what is a very nice, very simple game plan. They have the Tahm Kench, they have the Ashe, they have pretty much all the tools to dictate the pace, where the burden feels like it's on Fnatic to find a weakness, to find a hole in the armor and kind of exploit mispositioning.
So Mythy and Patrick did both reset. Mythy has the Abyssal Voids, there's a teleport coming in, but the drag is going down very quick.
This is immediately going to get deleted, but now Nuke Duck decide, will they find the engage? Has the Lissandra ult up and available? Will they commit for more TP being used mid lane? Patrick, the arrow will be up shortly. They can try to just delete someone off the face of the map, but Bwipo and Brox are waiting off into the flank. Nuke has to be careful here.
They're on a ward.
Out. Move backwards, is not going to get the dash over the wall, and uses the Lissandra ult as well and gets nothing.
And this is what Origin have needed when they want to push up on this mid lane, and they finally have it. Really nice, deep flanking vision, making sure that they understand their responsibility. Okay, we're here for the tower, we're here for the objective. Yes, we've lost the Infernal, but we can see that Fnatic are looking for that flank to the side and using pressure to zone them away to continue to chip at this mid lane tower. And now with the Ashe arrow back up, Patrick, this is your time to shine. You are looking at a key target to crack this tower.
Yeah, when you have the numbers advantage, when you can use these globals to start something off from afar, it looks very good from Origin. I think you watch them right now and you say, I sort of want the more cautious Origin that we saw a lot during the regular season, that we even saw a little bit in their series against G2, as opposed to one that really jumped out and surprised us in Game 1 here today.
Again, I just think this Origin comp really thrives on an open map, so I actually think that there's so much importance and so much riding on a really good arrow on this rotation of the cooldown. If Fnatic can absorb this, we talked about scaling. Fnatic also have a lot of scaling on their side. The longer this mid tower stays up, I still love the 5v5 potential with Fnatic's Kai'Sa.
And of course, going for the early Q evolve, Reckless. It's going to be a little bit slower to get the active E evolve, but he's going to be able to do a lot of damage still once he gets to 2 items. And I think no doubt in the late game teamfights that without an arrow, Kai'Sa easily going to outdamage this Ashe if set up for success.
And even with the arrow, see Hylissang's itemization. He immediately purchased the Quicksilver Sash. He knows that if he wants to play aggressively in any of these fights or skirmishes, there's going to be a Scar Impale coming through, the arrow as well. So there is a little bit of survivability on the side of Fnatic to absorb, as you mentioned, that initial engagement from OG.
Checking in on the mid lane though, OG going to take control here. Fnatic going to be forced to respond. And OG have their sights set once again on that mid lane tower. Hylissang just hovering outside of vision there on the stealth, on the Ghostwater dive, but not going to push for an engage here. Bwipo on the bottom side, Nemesis on the top side. They just do not have the members of their team to stop that one from going down.
Yeah, the biggest issue is that they don't have access to the TP from Nemesis, so anytime Origin have information on him on the top side, they know that he pulled the trigger on that for the Infernal Drake, and they feel confident that with their flanking vision on the bottom side that they can go.
Saying locked up. As the QS is available, he's just going to wait that arrow up, and Nemesis off to the flank, looking to find something. Is going to lock the Skarner, but now Fnatic trying to find the fight. Whippo off to the flank. They want to kill someone. Now Mithy's been forced to use the Devour onto Cold, trying to save the day. Cold goes golden. Whippo under the tower, trying to find something. Will get the kill right as the reset comes down. Hylissang now looking to keep it rolling, but OG respond with kills of their own. Patrick flashing forward fearlessly to find the kill.
Origin are able to punish Fnatic right there. It's a double kill for Patrick, and they once again maintain control over this map. Fnatic really pushed there, and Nukeduck might want more.
Is marked. Rek'Sai could come out. They're just going to hold off. They're just going to back off here in the exchange, but well played. Once again, tower diving. Feels like it is been the biggest risk across all of this series.
But that was just a separation that the back line of Fnatic couldn't follow the front line. And so I actually give credit to Whippo and Hilly at least picking up some kills there. But like you're saying, well played for Origin. My question is, what does this team fight actually mean for Origin? Because we're just posturing the mid lane. We weren't fighting for the objective here.
Yeah, they were just going for that 5v5 in the mid. You can see Fnatic in this really tough position. They didn't want to dive the tower, but they were put into that place. Because this turret has not gone down, the low HP bars where Pyke could get the execute were underneath that structure. So he had to commit if he wanted to trade those kills, but unfortunately it is not a winning fight for that overcommitment on Fnatic's side.
And now we see 2K gold lead in the favor of OG. The Dragons definitely in favor of Fnatic. To see what else OG can do. Prosper, you've talked about it, and it feels like we are waiting on that big play from OG. This time they were punishing Fnatic for making a play of their own. Will we see OG make a proactive play?
They got it, and so the mid lane has now opened, which gives them so much more access towards that red side jungle. But now kind of the next big objective for them is trying to get that top tower down, not just so we can play around the Baron, but so you can play around the Abyssal Voyage. Again, trying to pick out Fnatic members if they're off in these side lanes. The thing that's kind of slowing down that setup is the Infernal Drake about to respond. And you can tell that Origin really put emphasis on this because they don't want to give away double Infernal. Because, again, scaling, I'm not super decisive on who actually wins this in a late game.
Yeah, I think that OG have a lot of tools for the front-to-back team fight as well as trying to split up the map, but there's always the Kai'Sa and the snap-engage dive potential of Fnatic where if they can jump onto your backline, they can kill you. But watching Origin now, they have a lot of really good vision. Look at those control wards around the mid lane. They're just waiting for Fnatic to walk into them.
Hylissang, though, still fishing, still threatening constantly. Aftershock, though, burn if they do try to force a fight in the next few moments. We'll not have the free tankiness, and now OG posturing, ready to find a pick here. Nemesis has not overstayed. OG now turning their attention instead to this Dragon, but the Scuttle Crab is going to give Fnatic enough vision to know if they want an arena, they've got it. It's right here. Who is going to take the fight? Alphari stepping forward. The arrow does immediately come out now. Alphari pulled back in the middle of the team, but the Gangplank just going to cleanse away. Mithy going to save the day there. A lot expended and nothing going to fall. OG just going to turn back to this Dragon. They're trying to get it. Will they extend the play as well?
And the Cannon Barrage just delays so much. Fnatic can't walk through that giant slow field. Origin will take it. They have the Voyage. They want the kills.
Hylissang has to be careful about stepping forward. Whippo is going to get taken down here. Nukeduck now on a killing spree.
Can they move into Baron now? It's 21 minutes into the game. It would be very, very risky, but they have 30 seconds to play with.
It's about sweeping out the passageway around the Baron to set it up for later. And again, that ping on the top tower, that's the next kind of crucial point that needs to fall. Although Patrick
pulled, but does not care. He's happy to be pulled right back into the team. Mithy going to flash forward, gives Hylissang the tongue, takes him out, and now mid lane tier 2 is open to the OG team.
It's a massive punish right there from Origin. They're going to pick up 2 towers there in the mid lane, the top lane pushing, as well as you mentioned. And the game just exploded off of one Infernal play.
Yeah, Patrick just plants his feet and says, no, I'm not caught, you're caught. And he immediately turns around and again, that tower should still be there. That's a huge mistake from Fnatic. Origin now have so much control with an Abyssal Voyage, with a Cannon Barrage, to play around this jungle and to really start moving and speeding up tempo of this game.
And I mean, without the turret to fall back on as well, the long-range engage of Origin, whether it's the Cannon Barrage, the arrow, or just Cold running so fast at you, it means that you don't have a safety net to fall back on. If you are Fnatic, you have to be much more cautious in this game, and it becomes very difficult to get vision over the river, which will inevitably lead to Origin being able to try and sneak a Baron.
Nukeduck biding his time, doesn't want to go over the wall and try to force the 1v1. Not sure where the remaining members of the team are. Instead, will focus on pressure, but it's not just this comp advantage where they are set up for success. It's also this massive gold lead that they've been building up as we look back at this fight.
Yeah, watching this one more time, this is after all the damage came through, and the Abyssal Voyage just to zone Whippo back in towards the rest of the team. I feel like all the groundwork was what was really important right there from OG. They got so much chunk onto the enemy team inside of the river, and now Hylissang jumping forward without knowledge of where the other members are. This is a Hylissang that constantly looks for plays even when behind, and these are the situations that punish him and his team so much.
I mean, obviously just fishing there for something. Wasn't expecting probably the damage and the control that Patrick would have behind this Ashe, but you can see through her itemization, she's feeling very strong.
And once again, the more that this advantage extends for OG, the more these item spikes are delayed for Rekkles, who was the key carry for the team in the game that they did manage to win. OG going to grab a tier 2, uncontested completely by the side of Fnatic. Now using the Tahm Kench ultimate as well. Are they just going to go straight onto the Baron here?
They were seen on the ward, so Fnatic should know something is going on. There's also a ward outside of the pit that sees them leave. So now Fnatic know it was not started up and they don't have to risk anything by walking in.
I mean, the game plan was if that control ward spots any sort of vision, then you clear the vision, you back off. You're like, okay, this is fine. If it doesn't, you 100% go for that.
Absolutely the call, and that could have been hugely decisive, but luckily Fnatic, you have just enough vision there with the blue trinket to spot it out. Rekkles getting closer and closer to 2 items. Patrick on the way to 3. The Infinity Edge on Ashe, nothing to sneeze at. Very, very powerful spike. And it honestly feels like at this point, OG are in a position to just take this game and to take this series. And Fnatic, while they showed us so much in Game 3, it does once again feel like OG have been the team to outplay thus far in this game. Reminding people that this was not the expected result overall after the series versus G2. No one had a ton of faith in OG, but games 1 and 2 kind of changed our minds. And here in Game 4, they're reminding us, you know, why they are so good, why they were able to stand at the top and secure second place in the regular season.
And credit to Alphari and Cold to set this Gangplank up in a position of power where not only did he survive his own lane and really put Bwipo into a hole, but he was able to impact the map with that cannon barrage. You know, again, time and time we say, you can punish the GP, you can do something. It's such a, you know, an arrogant pick, if you will, to do it blind like this. But time and time again, our LEC top laners are showing their mastery over this champion and understanding the resources that he requires.
Ooh, Hylissang has to be careful here. Has the QSS, the luxury of getting out one time, but burning that before a major team fight could be a massive detriment. Patrick ready at the moment has his finger on the trigger here with the Ashe ultimate.
Fnatic waiting. Fight. They get the hook, but do they want to fight here?
Next on a Cold. They're now fighting in the pinch. Good for Nemesis, but also good for Nukeduck if he takes the ult.
Yeah, they need to be very careful. As soon as Nemesis clawed out, you didn't have a big cooldown, so Fnatic are just going to wait for that repeat. Here we go, claws back up.
Bwipo now trying to find a way into the fight, forcing out the Tahm Kench Devour early. This may be the chance to respond, but Nukeduck is on the backside. Lissandra ult also going to come in, going to disrupt the fight, going to start to cut through these members. Nemesis alive and well, zoning the team off, but Alphari now on a killing spree. Nemesis, no path to retreat, and OG take the fight.
Doesn't even matter that Origin are completely split at the start. They dominate the jungle of Fnatic, making it look easy. Now with Nemesis down, Hylissang as well, they can go for the Baron.
And their prep work has been done. The fact that they know exactly where Fnatic would try to come into this jungle, the fact that they denied the blast cone potential here, and now Mithy has spotted out Broxah, expertly set up from Origin here for this Baron.
They've got 3 members chasing him down.
3 stacks. Is just going to be able to eat him up as he tries to go through the tunnel. They're going to take down the jungler. Baron, of course, reset, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. OG going right back to the Baron, going to try to take this one down and continue to extend their lead. OG on the cusp of facing G2 in the finals. Fnatic need to find a way back into the game.
This is the Origin that climbed up to 2nd place in the regular season. Calm, cool, collected, and clean here as they jump up 11-3 in kills with an 8,000 gold lead. Baron buff, and they're looking to just move right along.
And the fact that they've done so over this best of 5 with so many different styles, showcasing why we respected this team, is Hilly probably going to be cheeky.
Maybe we'll look for a play here, but not connecting on the stun does limit the options. Of course, the execution for Pyke still very relevant, but only level 10 for Hylissang. You know, he's doing stuff. Doesn't amount to much, I think, on the map, but does let him get vision in the enemy jungle.
Again, but the idea that Origin have come into this best of 5, that they've shown so many different looks, so many different champions, and have also gone toe-to-toe with Fnatic, who were heavy favorites going into this in the standard League of Legends. So huge props to Origin in their comeback from their defeat against G2.
So this start of the fight looks good from Fnatic. Again, 5v3 right off the bat, but the Cannon Barrage zones the entire backline of Fnatic. They can't do much given this situation, even though the revive comes through from Bwipo. Origin are eventually able to group up as 5 and just push back against Fnatic because of the Cannon Barrage's zoning capability.
And we're once again in a situation where it feels like Bwipo, Broxah, Nemesis, they're all diving the backline, but that leaves no one to protect Rekkles, and it feels like he never gets to auto-attack in these fights. And it's a difficult position to be in as a Kai'Sa, because you're very short range, and when you're ahead with that ulti, it feels so good, but when you're behind, just not a lot you can do.
and now we're trying to figure out where the last stand is going to be for Fnatic. At this point, you're just trying to staunch the bleeding. You just want to slow down Origin's roll to victory.
Pressure, though, coming through. NukeDuck ready to steal a few more ultimates, is level 16. Can start to pressure out here with the Lissandra ult as well. Double cannon minions. No one really going to be able to approach that one. Instead, they're going to focus on clearing mid while those are not Baron empowered.
And Mithy's Tom Kent's just coming up clutch right there. Again, Hillsang, it feels like he can't do anything. He saw this matchup, but he walks up, he hooks. There's nothing else for Fnatic. They must give up their inhibitor. The stand will not be here.
They can't do anything. They just continue to move forward. They break one inhibitor. You feel like they're just going to move into mid lane and look to take another one. And once again, Fnatic, as you mentioned, Frost, have to choose their place to fight. They have to choose their last stand, and they have to choose it well, because this is literally their last chance. If they lose another fight, they will lose this game.
And that's the decision making. If you pick a bad fight, like you're saying, you lose the game right there. You either give up the gold lead and you live to fight another day, where your spring, split, and MSI spot is on the line.
Reckless, though, with the double daggers now has the Q and E evolved, just enough attack speed. They can look to get this fight kicked off, but the arrow goes in just to stop any further engage options. Hillsang now fishing off to the side. Fnatic, will this be their final fight?
No. Look at where Bwipo is. Now,
TP,
look at where Bwipo is.
Going to go in, but Nemesis doesn't commit. Feels like the TP may just be used for nothing. Will Bwipo continue to extend the play? Stepping forward with the ultimate, but he's the only one on the front line. The rest of the team can't move in. Hillsang trying to get something, but Bwipo has burned the ult for nothing. Reckless completely zoned out with the cannon barrage, and now they're just going to try to pick off Nemesis, forcing out the self-ultimate immediately. OG could look for the turn and burn here. They have the Aatrox ult. NukeDuck ready to run in. Scorned. Of Duck, where's it going to go? Hillsang has to sidestep, but OG now set to barrel down this mid lane and take even more from Fnatic.
They just can't touch Origin. Origin are unstoppable at the moment. 2 inhibitors down now. They can walk back up top lane after this reset. Origin are looking so good here in Rotterdam.
And again, another perfect ultimate coming out of Alphari to separate Reckless from the fight. There was no way that Fnatic were going to have any sort of follow-up. Fnatic are frankly lucky there that they did not get wiped and just lose the game.
Yeah, Fnatic need a new way to team fight, because running at them from the front is not working. Somehow they must come in on flanks. They have to try and dive Patrick and Alphari, but at this point in the game, when you're down 8,000 gold, it seems almost impossible.
But what are you supposed to do when you have so many fed members from Origin? Like, we keep talking about Alphari and Cold, and yes, they played the early game so well, they had that transition to mid game, but at this point, NukeDuck is also just a monster. 4-0-2 on this Sylas.
He's got 75% crit chance, sitting on 4 items plus those boots. There's just nothing you can do to stop this guy.
Patrick is terrifying, the Gangplank is terrifying. 3 items. Frost, you're mentioning NukeDuck, he's got the Proto Belt, he's got the Lich Bane, so much just innate burst coming in from the item selection. And if these team fights go long, then you're going to get multiple ults from this Sylas, and we still haven't seen a death from below. We've just seen the Lissandra ults coming out, and Fnatic, once again, huge burden of execution to try to come out on top here.
Origin, all they have to do is watch their flank. You see NukeDuck and Cold off to the side. They know that the only way Fnatic can approach is from the side. So Cold watches that, makes sure Hillsang can't get in there, Broxa can't get in there, and it makes the siege so safe. They're waiting for the minions to push through bot lane before they can break top.
Hillsang has to be careful. He continues to step forward. He continues to fish for one miracle hook that could try to win the game, but it feels nigh impossible with a Tahm Kench ready and waiting just to deny him in this exchange. 1 tower remaining. Now the minions finally crashing on the bottom side. This is the key for OG now to push forward. Will there be enough wave clear with 4 members standing, or will OG actually go for the dive?
Look at this. They're holding the wave too. Immediately when it crashes to the tower, that's when they pull the trigger.
Perfect wave timing. Patrick now stepping forward. Has to be careful, though. Still has to give them a decent amount of respect. Instantly cleared by Bwipo. Enough AD on that Aatrox. The second Q will clear the wave. Hillsang now fishing, seeing NukeDuck alone with the dash out with the abscond. Keep the hopes up alive.
Yeah, and Origin again playing with the wave timing, just trying to split up Fnatic, looking for the window.
Again, Nemesis not going to go in. The dash out. Hillsang on the retreat. Patrick starting to free hit onto this tower. Bwipo using the ultimate, massive cooldown to use, but not quite the fight that they wanted. Now stepping forward once again. The Frozen Claw not going to be taken. Bwipo using the ultimate for nothing in this exchange.
Still minions coming in towards the base. OG will not dive the tower. They know they can continue to push, and there's even a Baron spawning in 10 seconds. Fnatic have nowhere to go. Their backs are against the wall.
The patience, the control from Origin, this is not making the same mistakes that we saw previously from Fnatic. They came here for the objectives. They're now looking for the Nexus.
Looking to break that 3rd inhibitor. It's almost impossible to come back at that point, but now they have to force the fight. They have to try to find something. Whippo into the backline immediately, just trying to delete Patrick, but Mithy has now used the Devour. Fnatic, can they turn the fight? Nemesis is alive and well. Reckless is still okay. They're going to try to get a little bit more, but Nukeduck is simply too strong. Patrick not going to get taken out. Hylissang desperate to get it, but the flash is still there. OG, I cannot believe it. Dominant fashion game 1 and 2, but Reckless tries to make the hero play. Hylissang still alive, but there is no reset here. OG, will they end the game? Will they push for it here? They have 3 members.
They're approaching the tower.
We want to get a little bit more. 2 towers stand in front of them. OG on the cusp of making finals here. Nukeduck now leaving. Hylissang trying to buy as much time as humanly possible. There's no members left standing. It'll be Mithy and Nukeduck. Alphari as well to end the game. They were counted out, but here in the Ahoy Arena, OG have cut down Fnatic and will find themselves in a rematch versus G2.
Origin came into the arena today, and not a lot of people thought they would walk away with a win, and certainly not in the fashion they did it. Domination against Fnatic, only dropping 1 single game, and they look strong going into the finals tomorrow.
They are a team that are fundamental to their preparation. We've always talked about how Origin are the intelligent, the controlled, the methodical team. They didn't have the info to prep for G2. No one had seen what type of form they were going to be in. Against Fnatic, they had so much tape to look at. They knew exactly what they were going to do. They manipulated the drafts. They executed in the early game. They fought them in the late game. This is a completely different Origin, and we need to have completely different expectations.
And it seems fitting that the final hurdle will be G2. Once again, a team that they do not have the luxury of a whole week to prep for. They are still against the wall. G2 still has that first place advantage.
But they have the data of facing G2.
Very true. Well, if you want your favorite to win Kia Player of the Series, you need to head over to @LL Esports on Twitter and vote. 3 options, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what's going to come down to. It's hard to say, though. Who should be in the vote? It was such an incredible team effort, as it always is for OG.
I'm going to say Nukeduck definitely belongs there, as well as Mithy, and I think then you have a flip-up between Cold and Alphari.
Yeah, we'll find out pretty soon once that gets locked in, and you guys can go ahead and tally your votes. But honestly, on the other side of things, heartbreak here for Fnatic. They were at the World Finals last year, and they don't even have the chance in the finals in the LEC to go up and prove their worth to see if they can make it a spot to MSI. Instead, it will be Origin that has that honor, as you see them here on your screen.
Mithy, Nukeduck, Patrick, but no doubt the entire team. You hear the crowd cheer, and Nukeduck once again, second back-to-back final for this man. He hadn't made one in so many years, but now summer in 2018, spring in 2019, coach of the split standing with them.
And I hope that this restores some faith in this Origin squad from the audience, that this is not going to be Origin walking into another 3-0, that this was a very different look that they got, that they now have more experience across from G2, and then hopefully they can turn things around, and hopefully more people are behind Origin, and we have a very competitive final.
I think going into tomorrow, everyone expects G2 to be the favorites, but as you said, Origin put up a very strong performance. And I just love what we saw. There was so much different variety.
If you didn't have faith in Origin before, I hope you have some now after what was a nigh immaculate performance. Yes, Game 3 was one-sided for Fnatic, but every other game looked so good. And this man on your screen stepped up. He was clutch in every single one of Origin's wins. And OG were not the favorites heading into today. What did they do? They smashed expectations. And now coming in tomorrow, I feel like they can contest G2.
And it's also about backing up the lens and looking at when Origin first came into the LEC. You look at this roster, people are excited to see the brand Origin. People are excited to kind of see the return, but there was still a lot of question marks, specifically about a guy like Mithy. This roster is littered with the woulda, coulda, shouldas of the LEC. You got a guy like Nukeduck, you have a guy like Cold, you have a guy like Mithy, who have seen their highs, but you've also seen very low lows. So I think it just means so much that they found their redemption arc, at least against Fnatic, and now they get that second chance at their revenge arc across from G2.
It's just, it's the rematch in Rotterdam. It's the rematch.
They literally played here.
They played this game. They played this match last week. They played it 3 years ago, and now they're going to play it again. This time, though, Mithy versus Perks.
Give me Blitzcrank Mithy and not
though.
NA Mithy.
Yeah. This was right before Mithy joined G2. This was OG Mithy once again versus G2 Perks once again, but how much the stories have changed. Well, for more on tonight's semifinal, let's head over to Laura and Origin's mid laner and coach.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you for joining me. Congrats on making it to finals, and also, Gilotto, congrats on stopping Young Bucks' winning streak as a coach. How proud are you right now?
I'm super proud of the guys and especially our week of prep. But at the same time, the job is still not done, and tomorrow is a even more important match than today. So even though I'm super proud of them, I know that I will be even more proud tomorrow.
We'll get back to this later on. Now, Nyugdak, I surely wasn't expecting such a result today, especially based on what we've seen last week against G2. So talk me through what happened. What did you guys work on to be so good today?
I think when we lost against G2, we realized, a lot of more mistakes. And we were way more familiar playing against Fnatic, because obviously we practiced against them the whole week. We know what they're good at, and we know what they're not so good at. So yeah, it's just an easier matchup for us now. We have more experience against them.
Yeah, as you say, you came in well prepared. I mean, we saw during the draft being ready to the Sona, Tariq, and you guys being so proactive later on during the game. So is it easy for you guys to read Fnatic's draft and play style?
For this series, it was easy to read their drafts, kind of, because we knew that both teams would contest Sona Tariq. So after the first two games, I kind of had an idea that one team would have to permaban one of them, depending on who was more successful with it. And that was kind of what happened. And then we knew that blue side was also more predictable, or red side for Fnatic was more predictable. But I still think that Young Buck did a really good job in preparing his team, and their drafts were extremely good.
He did, but you were the better team in the end. I mean, top 2 during the regular season, top 2 here tomorrow, because you'll be playing in the finals. So how do you reflect on the progress you made as a team during the whole split?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, so we understand each other much better now, and we have built up that trust because we went through, a bad patch first, and then we started winning a lot. But even when we were winning a lot, we still won because of some things, and we were not good at everything. And then now when we lost against G2 very hard, we kind of bonded more together, and we realized how exactly we want everyone to play.
And it's going to be a rematch. I mean, you played in the last EU LCS final. You will play in the first LEC final. We know how it happened last time for you in a final and you against G2. So how does the story end tomorrow for Origin and you?
Yeah, it's time for Origin to rewrite history. And we're going to win tomorrow.
Well, I wish you good luck on that. Thank you very much for you both, for your work. Give it up for the finalists, please, guys.
Thank you.
Now back to you, Shax, for PGL. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Laure. And welcome indeed to the LEC post-game lobby after our first series in Rotterdam. I'm Shax. I'm joined by Amazing and by Yamato to break this down. And we have a lot to talk about. First thoughts, Origin defeating the odds, I think evolving throughout the series and killing some of their demons to make it here, Yamato.
I love the fact that they, in the final game, they picked the blue side and they were willing to just ban out the AD carries.
Yeah.
Why not, That is the usual problem when you run into Fnatic, and I think they solved it pretty well in the last game draft.
I just like how cold-blooded they were. Honestly, against Fnatic, a team that is able to punish every single mistake, you have to keep on coming, and even after losing game 3, they didn't back down and just closed it out in the end.
That for me is the single biggest point to remember for me so far, because we all said it. If you give Fnatic a game, you have to be very careful what they do with it. If you're OG, you're dealing with your morals that aren't as high as they were before. You're dealing with the fact that maybe you've shown everything in draft and you may have to make a confident decision going into game 4. And that is where I feel they have taken a huge step forward today.
I feel like, the Tam Kench, we said it's 2-4, now 3-4.
Yes, this
I'm
is
really
the one
happy
you gotta
about
win,
it.
man.
Of course, it's the most important one. And Ash Tam is such a strong lane, especially with those AD carries banned, the Vayne and the Sivir. All of a sudden, there's a lane that you can get Prio with. They pinched the support in the second wave. They had to play against Pyke. And when Mythian is in a position to get Prio and he's playing the Tam Kench, he's going to be all over the map.
I mean, I have to say kudos to you. I doubted it because he was 2-4 on it, but it did work out fantastic. And there's going to be a lot of people we highlight throughout this for OG who got to say, Mythy, man. He was coming back, of course. He had some very good games this split, but this was simply astonishing. How was it that he played so well today?
Like, I personally feel like this is the type of performance that you get from the best support in Europe. I think the Blitzcrank game was absolutely nuts. The Taric ultimates were on point. He didn't get much credit for it. The third game was rough for multiple reasons, but fourth game, once again, driving position, Tam Ken.
Best support in Europe, do you agree?
I honestly, in terms of crunch time, when it comes to crunch time, he is the best support. Like, it doesn't matter what happens throughout the split. If this guy gets to a playoff stage and he has to perform in the best of 5, he will try it. Like, he will actually win. He will just get to the finals no matter what. There's no stopping him, and it shows every single team he has been on. He has had such a good impact on it, and actually makes the team better. He's actually a player that you would call an MVP in some kind of ways. Whereas, like, you always usually like focus on the carry players, but this guy makes every team that he's in just so much better and so much more consistent come playoff time.
Yeah, and I actually think his story is so crazy. You know, he came back, and when we had him on one of the first PGLs this year, he wasn't feeling that confident. You know, he was kind of second guessing it, and probably also second guessing all the choices he'd made in the last year, ending up on this team. But he completely committed to this Origin lineup, and he took something from every game they won, from every game they lost. And maybe we haven't seen the best of Mithy yet, which is really exciting to even talk about.
For sure. I remember back in the day when I played with him on a team. It was back in season 3.
What was it? Hammered against Colossi?
Hammered against Colossi. Those were some good times. And Mithy, even back then, he was the person that was willing to take responsibility for everyone. Everyone always focused on their own thing, and he was always like, I want to be the shot caller. I want to practice being the shot caller. And that's very rare.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, he's shining right now. But there's a lot of people we need to talk about when we talk about this series. Let's take a look at how things worked out in Game 4 on match point. And, well, the top lane, it looked shaky. It didn't start great. But I think also when you're playing versus Fnatic, you know this is going to happen in one of the games. Weepo is going to overcommit and still escape. You just got to brush it off.